Dying hurts a lot more when you're a god. I'm standing on the edge of the void, one breakthrough away from becoming the strongest being my world has ever produced, and the 7 people I trusted most are putting their swords into my back, in order, like they rehearsed it. The malign scourge goes first, because of course he does. 10,000 years of calling me brother, and his blade knows my spine like a signature. Then Ling Hua, the woman I built half a continent for, steps through the smoke, smiles the smile I crossed a war to see once, and twists hers in next to his. I remember thinking, very clearly, this is going to be awkward at the next banquet. There is no next banquet. There's light, and falling, and the extremely rude sensation of 10,000 years of cultivation leaving my body like air out of a punctured wineskin. 7 of them. It took 7 gods and a betrayal timed to the exact heartbeat of my breakthrough, and even then I heard the malign scourge's voice shaking when he gave the order. Good. Hold on to that shaking. I'll be back for it. They called me the Thunder God. 12 mysterious thunders answered my call. Heaven's whole arsenal in one spine. And I died the way every overpowered idiot in every story dies, trusting people at the exact moment I couldn't afford to. Then I open my eyes, and the ceiling has water stains. I lie there cataloging the situation like a man waking up in the wrong hotel. Item 1. Alive, which contradicts several recent stab wounds. Item 2. This body has a fever, a cough, and the muscle tone of boiled celery. Item 3. And this is where it gets interesting. The memories soaking into me say my name is Ren Ji now. I'm 17. I'm the grandson of a butler in the Gu family of Wutan City, and I have been politely dying of frailty my entire life. Wutan City, Gu family. If those names are making your eye twitch, congratulations. You've read the same novel I did in my first life. Oh, right. That's the other thing. Before I was a god, before the Second World and the Thunder Throne and the 7 Swords, I was a college student on Earth with a web novel addiction. And the book I read cover to cover 3 times was the one where a kid named Gu Chen drops from genius to trash, picks up a ghost teacher in a ring, and punches his way to emperor of an entire continent. I have died twice and landed inside my own bookshelf. The universe is either apologizing or escalating, and with my luck, it's both. The door bangs open, and an old man rushes in and starts crying on my blanket. Elder Ren, my new grandfather, my only family in this world, a butler with a bent back and hands like old rope, who has apparently been spooning medicine into this body for 9 days straight and praying to every tablet in the ancestral hall. When I sit up under my own power, he grabs my wrist to check it's real, and the relief on his face does something unfair to a heart that just got stabbed by everyone it loved. Fine, okay, one person on the trust list. The list is now full. Applications closed until further notice. He runs off to boil something medicinal. I sit in the quiet and do what any professional would. Inventory. Cultivation. Gone. Obviously. I'm starting from a body that loses arguments to staircases. Divine sense. Gone. Techniques. In my head. All of them. A god's library behind a sick boy's eyes. And then I reach into my soul space, expecting the echo of an empty vault. They're here. All 12 of them. 12 mysterious thunders. The source seeds of everything I was, curled up in my soul like stowaways who slept through the shipwreck. Dormant, starving, weak as candle flames, but here. I start laughing so hard Grandpa comes back to check if the fever's turned. Old man, the fever's fine. It's just that somewhere across the void, the malign scourge and Ling Hua are dividing my estate and toasting my memory. And what they actually accomplished was mailing a fully loaded god, batteries not included, some assembly required, into a world where the local currency is face-slapping. So the plan writes itself, and I write it lying down, because the body still needs naps. 1. Get strong, which in this world means climbing the ladder. Dou practitioner, Dou master, on up through ranks this city only knows from bedtime stories. 2. Get back across the void. 3. Teach 7 specific people that group projects have consequences. And along the way, since I'm here anyway, since this world stacks its heavens with the same thunder mine did, become the Thunder Emperor of this continent too. A man should have hobbies. Now a word about my thunders, because they're the whole show and the rules matter. In my old world, mysterious thunders were ranked the way this world ranks its heavenly flames, 12 of them, numbered, each one a natural disaster with a personality and a diet. I can't wake them all. A baby soul in a baby body wakes one thunder, maybe survives it, and raising even one from a seed is like adopting a tiger by swallowing it. So I spend 2 days going down the menu like a man choosing his starter for a very long game. The heavy hitters are out. A top 3 thunder would use my corpse as a chew toy. The tacticians tempt me. And then I stop at number 10. The vermilion bird burning heaven thunder. Fire and lightning fused in one seed. As pure violence, honestly, the runt of the combat litter, and I pick it without a second look back. Because fire means alchemy. Fire means artifact forging. Fire means that on this continent, where every economy runs on flame-refined pills and flame-forged steel, my thunder isn't just a weapon. You don't pick the biggest sword off the rack. You pick the one that's also a printing press. Waking it nearly kills me, which at this point in my biography is just Tuesday. The manual's minimum for surviving the process is 4th stage Dochi. I'm under it because the manual was written by cowards. I barricade myself in a woodshed, bite down on a towel, and swallow the seed. It goes down like a live coal. My meridians file a formal complaint, then a lawsuit, then just scream, an hour of crimson light leaking through the shed boards while the thunderseed and my bloodstream negotiate who lives here now. When the smoke clears, there's a warm spark coiled behind my sternum like a banked hearth, and my cultivation has been dragged 2 stages up its own ladder by pure spite. 6th stage. The sick kid who couldn't climb stairs now radiates gentle heat. Grandpa finds the shed door blown off its hinges and me grinning in the wreckage and cries again. I'm starting to suspect he has a quota. Days later, the Xiao family holds its talent test, and I get to attend a scene I once read lying on a dorm bed with instant noodles. You know this one. The whole clan in the courtyard, the black stone tablet on the dais, and the main attraction nobody will admit is the main attraction, Gu Chen. 3 years ago, the greatest talent in family history. Today, the boy the tablet keeps humiliating. He walks up with his shoulders squared like it costs him nothing. It costs him everything. You can see the price in his jaw, puts his palm on the stone, and the tablet announces 3rd stage to a courtyard of people pretending not to smirk. The pitying murmur has had 3 years of rehearsal. It's very polished. Ming-er tests right after, the quiet girl in cyan who moves like the courtyard belongs to her and everyone else is renting. 9th stage. Monstrous. The elders applaud and dream of dowries. I watch her walk off the dais and note privately that the most dangerous person in this city just tested, and it wasn't close, and none of these people know it. Then it's the butler's grandson's turn, and the courtyard settles into charitable boredom. The sickly one, nice boy, coughs a lot. I put one chopstick arm on the tablet. 7th stage, advanced. The silence has texture. Then the elders start doing arithmetic out loud. The tester grips my shoulder and asks my age twice, and somewhere in the crowd a teacup finds a flagstone. A second genius from the servants' quarters. I do my best humble face, the one with the modest little bow in it. Internally, gentlemen, you have no idea how much worse this is going to get. I find Gu Chen afterward because there's a debt in this body and I intend to honor it. Here's the thing about the original Renjia, the sweet sick kid whose lungs I inherited. For 3 years, through every trash, every smirk, every day the family's golden boy ate dirt, the butler's grandson was the one person who still talked to Gu Chen like he was human. Every single day. I inherited that friendship along with the cough, and of the two, it's the asset. He's on the back wall where the story always puts him, feet dangling over the drop, watching the sunset like it owes him money. I climb up, slowly. This body negotiates every rung and sit and tell him the proverb my first world kept for exactly this. The river flows east for 30 years, then west for 30. Don't bully a poor youth. And personally, I add, I'd rather not be on record as the guy who mocked the future strongest man alive, so consider this me getting my bets in early. He stares at me, then laughs, the real one, the one 3 years of tablet readings buried. We sit there talking nonsense while the sky goes purple, and from the courtyard's edge, Ming-er watches us with an expression I recognize from librarians who've caught you hiding a book inside another book. That girl's file on me just opened a new folder. Letter. We're going to be great friends. Eventually, in the way of people holding matched sets of secrets. Because here's what Gu Chen doesn't know that I know, courtesy of 3 read-throughs and a highlighter. The ring on his finger woke up last month. There's an old man asleep in it who used to be the #1 alchemist on this continent, and my cousin's 3 lost years weren't failure. They were tuition, paid in advance, to a teacher he hasn't met yet. Gu Chen is going to be fine. Better than fine. I've read the ending. My job was never to save the main character. My job is to make sure that when the story's rocket launches, the cousin's rocket is already in the air beside it, waving. Rockets need fuel. Fuel needs money. And that's when Grandpa does the thing I'm never going to forget. He knocks on my door at night. Knocks on his own grandson's door, because the man apologizes to furniture and puts a cloth bundle on my table. It clinks. 700 gold coins. I know what a butler earns. I've seen his ledger, neat as scripture. This is decades. This is every coin he didn't spend on my medicine, every festival he worked through, every new coat he didn't buy, folded into a rag and pushed across a table at a boy who got healthy 9 days ago. Men need money to become men, he says, and when I push it back, he gets genuinely angry for the first time in this body's memory. The towering fury of a small old man defending his right to give. I stand there holding 30 years of another man's life, and something in my chest that 7 swords couldn't reach gets reached. While he's there, I ask about my father, and I watch a talkative old man turn to stone in real time. Your father is gone, he says. Don't ask again. And his face closes like a door with weather behind it. Not grief alone. Grief plus fear plus something with teeth. Noted, Grandpa. Filed under, questions this family will answer later, whether it wants to or not. The 700 gold becomes seed capital because there's one thing I was in my second life, even before I was a god. A grandmaster artifact refiner. The best one alive, and I'm including the ones who called themselves my rivals at conferences. On this continent, refiners are an afterthought. Everyone worships alchemists. Pills, 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 which means I have just been reincarnated into a market with no competition. I'm not a genius here. I'm a monopoly with legs. I buy junk, thundercloud crystal, fire saltpeter, fire iron, materials so cheap the shopkeeper throws in the sack. In a rented shed, over 3 sweaty days, I cook up 10 Leihuo beads, thunderfire grenades, my own old design, simplified for local conditions the way you'd simplify a symphony for a kazoo. Then I walk into the Gree Arms House, the biggest weapons brokerage in the city, put one bead on the counter, and invite the appraiser to throw it at the practice wall out back. He throws it. There's a crack like the sky clearing its throat, and then the yard has significantly more sunlight in it because the yard no longer has that wall. The appraiser turns around very slowly, holding his singed eyebrows with his dignity. 300 gold apiece, he offers. I nod like it's fair. It's robbery. In my favor, these cost me 9 gold each, and by the time the dust settles, I've sold all 10, and he's begging for a supply contract with the desperation of a man who just watched money explode. 3,000 gold. Grandpa's 700 quadrupled in an afternoon, and his coins are going home with interest, whether he likes it or not. But the money was never the point. The money is a spoon. Here's the meal. Magic cores. The crystallized violence out of a monster's chest. Fire attribute, lightning attribute, pure wild energy that no human on this continent can absorb raw, because it's like chugging lava out of the tap. Humans can't. I buy 4 Tier 1 cores, carry them home like groceries, sit down cross-legged, and let the vermilion bird thunder off the leash. It eats them. Not slowly refines the ambient essence over months of careful circulation. Eats them. The thunder in my chest unhinges its little jaw, inhales a core like a grape, burns the wild violence into clean feedback, and hands me the profit as smooth, digested cultivation. My thunder is a stomach, and every monster on this continent is walking around with a snack in its ribcage. And let me kill the obvious question right now, because I know this genre, and so do you. No, I cannot buy every core on the continent and ascend by dinner. The bird eats slow, days per meal, sometimes longer. It's picky. Cores below its rank get a beak turned up at them like a cat with wet food, and cores too far above its rank would burst us both. And every single meal costs gold I have to earn first. It's not a cheat code. It's a very hungry business partner with a rank-gated palate and my wallet in its talents. But 4 cores in, over 2 weeks, I climb to 8th stage, and the Gu family quietly sends someone to check whether the testing tablet is broken. While the bird digests, I work the body, because in my past life I learned the hard way that a glass cannon is still glass. Lei Gong Body, an Earth-rank body refining technique from my library, the kind of scroll this continent's empires would start wars over and lose them. It works in lightning patterns. Every pattern you condense into your flesh is another layer of monster stacked onto your bones, and every condensation feels like being struck by lightning, because that is approximately what it is. 4 patterns. 5. A month of daily self-electrocution, and my skinny inherited arms start lying about their size. Naturally, this is when the family sends me my first clown. His name is Gu Feng, the Grand Elder's grandson, hair like an expensive rooster, the kind of young master who's never heard the word no from anything softer than a wall. I walk past him in a corridor without bowing, on account of being busy and him being nobody, and by sundown the whole compound knows the butler's brat insulted the Grand Elder's bloodline and has been summoned to the Dou Technique Hall for instruction. Instruction. That's young master for a beating with witnesses. The hall fills up because free entertainment is free. His sister Gu Lin comes to watch, pretty and bored. Hu Feng rolls his shoulders, announces that servants' kin need reminding of their place, and, in front of everyone, against every family rule about seniors sandbagging juniors, opens with a yellow rank claw art he is absolutely not supposed to know, shrieking in on my face with his fingers hooked like he's planning to keep souvenirs. I hit him once. Open palm, 5 lightning patterns behind it. There's a sound like a drum falling down a well, and then the hall referee is performing the only duty left to him, which is announcing Gu Feng defeated over a boy lying at the base of the far wall in a dent shaped like his own ambition. Gu Lin's hands are over her mouth. The crowd files out, having learned a new fact about the servants' quarters, and up in the gallery, Gu Chen grins like a man whose family got interesting, while inside his ring, I'd bet Grandpa's gold on it, a ghost teacher is murmuring the line he murmurs in the book. Watch the cousin boy. Even I can't see through him. Old man, you have no idea. Keep watching. The clan's official response to me denting their golden grandson is, naturally, a dinner invitation. Head table, family banquet. Clan chief Gu Wei pouring me wine himself, who, the memories inform me, is technically my uncle, my late mother having been born a Gu. He spends the evening studying me like a farmer who found a war horse in the chicken coop and can't decide whether to ride it or fence it. I eat well, toast politely, and collect the evening's one useful sentence. The Middle Family Auction House is running a grand auction this month. That night, I feed the bird its remaining cores. 9th stage, 3 weeks in this body. The original owner took 17 years to get where I started, and I intend to spend that inheritance loudly. Auction day. I go in a black cloak with the hood up, which in Wutan City is the universal costing for, I am somebody, please speculate about me. The middle auction hall is the one place in this backwater with real money in the room, and the crowd sorts itself by perfume budget. Fun fact from the cheap seats. 3 booths over, there's another suspicious teenager in a disguise, quietly consigning foundation elixirs to fund a comeback. Hi, cousin. I don't wave. Main characters need their secret identity phase. It's load-bearing. My own listing goes up mid-session. One hand-transcribed movement technique, profound rank, called 9 Flashes of the Soaring Dragon. To me, a page from a library I carry in my skull. To this empire, a grade of scroll that surfaces maybe once a decade, usually over somebody's body. The auctioneer's voice cracks reading the rank aloud. The room does its impression of a kicked beehive. The Gree house outbids two families with generational grudges, and the gavel lands at 150,000 gold. I sit under my hood doing pleasant arithmetic about how many magic cores that buys. Then I spend 3,000 of it on a lumpy gray rock, mountain, and river stone. The auctioneer can barely give it away, some estate sale curiosity, a paperweight with delusions, except that a grandmaster refiner is the only person alive here who knows it's the core material for a beast ring, a storage ring that holds living creatures. The room pities me for the purchase. I love shopping in a world that doesn't know what it owns. Afterward, the auction house deploys its crown jewel, Lin Hua, the middle family's velvet negotiator. All warm eyes and warmer smiles wrapped around an abacus that never sleeps glides into my private room to charm the mysterious, rich stranger into becoming a regular client. It's a good routine, polished. What she doesn't know is that I did my first life on Earth, where flirting is a competitive sport with published strategy guides, ranked ladders, and coaching. 10 minutes in, the professional charmer has lost the thread of her own pitch twice. 20 minutes in, I've bought a storage ring and 2 Tier 2 cores at what she'll have to explain to her uncle as relationship pricing. And she's fanning herself with the receipt. I leave her my name, my real one. First mistake or first investment, time will tell. And the distinct impression that this meeting went differently than her briefing predicted. First stop with the profits. Grandpa's room. 1,000 gold, stacked on his table, face down and non-negotiable. He calls me a disrespectful brat with no concept of thrift. He's beaming so hard the candle's redundant. The next 3 months run on a rhythm I could set music to. Forge in the shed, sell through channels, buy cores, feed the bird, stack lightning patterns at dawn. 10 patterns now, profound rank force living quietly in my skin. At the family spring pretest, the tablet reads me at 9th stage, and the courtyard does the math against the calendar and produces a phrase that's going to follow me around this continent. The twin dragons of the Gu family, me and Gu Chen, who just clawed back to 7th stage in front of everyone and is climbing like a man with a private tutor nobody can see. Because he is. Ghost coach, cousin, best kind. Success breeds paperwork. The third elder gets so excited about my trajectory that he tries to betroth Gu Lin to me on the spot, mid-ceremony, like a man claiming a mine. Gu Wei blocks it, thank you uncle, and Gu Lin, who has watched me turn her brother into wall art and has feelings about it, takes her wounded pride across the courtyard and points it at Gu Chen instead. Everyone in this family plays chess with marriage certificates. I've started checking my tea for contracts. Core budget replenished, I take a private trip to a cliff cave outside town for a proper binge. 2 Tier 2 cores, 2 days of the bird gorging with its metaphorical elbows out. On the second night, the wall between the mortal stages and the real ladder cracks straight down the middle. Dou practitioner. In local terms, I've stopped being a promising child and started being a small strategic asset. In my terms, the ladder finally reaches the ground floor of the tower I used to live in. Which brings me to the gamble, and I want to walk you through it because it's the biggest bet of my third life, and I make it alone in a cave like a responsible adult. A cultivation technique is the engine you bolt your life to. I have a library of them, safe heaven-rank classics, smooth as rivers, proven across 10,000 years of other people's careers. And then there's the other scroll, the Extreme Spirit Thunder technique, an unfinished maniac of a manual whose pitch is that it doesn't strengthen your mortal body, it demolishes it, storm by storm, and rebuilds it as a celestial thunder body. The physique I had as a god, the chassis that made 12 thunders obey. Fine print. The technique was never completed, ignores entirely whether your soul can carry the voltage, and its historical success rate is a smell. Most men who tried it are weather now, but most men didn't spend 10,000 years marinating their soul in celestial thunder. Mine speaks the voltage natively. I read the fine print twice, laugh at it once, and sign. First practice session, middle of a storm, top of the cliff, at night, because if you're going to do something this stupid, do it with production values. The technique doesn't gather energy, it invites the sky in. The storm notices me the way a crowd notices an open door, and the first bolt walks down my meridians wearing boots. Then the second. My heart stops twice. The technique restarts at both times, rudely, like a foreman kicking a generator. Somewhere in hour 3, I stop being able to tell which screaming is the wind's and which is on my payroll. And through all of it, my old soul holds the frame steady, recognizing the voltage, answering it. An old sailor's legs on a heaving deck. Dawn finds me in a crater, steaming, alive, and different. My Dou Chi has turned the color of a drawn blade. Thunder Battle Chi, first of its name on this continent. And under my skin, cell by cell, storm by future storm, a god's chassis has begun reassembling itself around a 17-year-old's bones. Here's the part I don't find out until much later, so enjoy your head start on me. That night, the awakening let out a pulse, a bloodline ping, one flicker, gone in a heartbeat, and half a continent away, past 3 empires, in Zhangzhou, where the real monsters keep their addresses, the Thunder Clan felt it. One of the 8 ancient clans. The people who own lightning the way emperors emperor's own land. Their clan chief, an 8-star Dou Sheng, a rank so far above this empire's ceiling that the words don't translate, opens his eyes mid-meditation, tastes the air, and says to the dark, somewhere in the northwest continent, a god-grade thunder bloodline just flickered. Find its owner. And the black demon army starts marching. I'm in a crater, feeling proud of surviving a thunderstorm. The thunderstorm has already mailed my address to heaven. Keep that in your pocket. It's going to matter. Back in Mutan City, the Twin Dragons talk has metastasized into scheduling. The clan sets a date for my coming-of-age ceremony, the formal stamp on the family's newest asset. And the night before it, I meet my future wife. Neither of us has been informed, which is very much the theme. She marches into my courtyard at dusk like a complaint made flesh. Jia, the Grand Elder's granddaughter, home on break from Xiao Yan Academy, long legs, longer temper, the girl every boy in this clan writes bad poetry about, and every auntie schemes around. Also, in a twist neither of us enjoys, the elder sister of Gu Feng, the rooster I folded into a wall. She's heard the family is floating rumors about matching the two of us, and she has come, personally, at speed, to inform me that she would rather marry the training dummy in the East Yard. I tell her the training dummy could probably take her. The noise she makes is not a word in any language I know, and I know several dead ones. She lists my crimes, arrogance, violence against her brother, existing, and I agree with all of them pleasantly, which turns out to be the one defense she brought no weapons for. She leaves angrier than she came, boots striking sparks, and I'm told by everyone I've ever read that this is how these stories start. I refuse to believe it. Narrator's note from the future. Believe it. The ceremony itself is a public relations massacre, and I'm the massacre. Full courtyard, visiting dignitaries, the retest before the toast. Gu Chen goes first and posts 8th stage. The comeback is official gossip now. The smirkers conspicuously quiet. Then I touch the tablet, and it says 1-star Dou practitioner, and the courtyard makes a sound like a kettle reaching a pinion. 17 years old, Dou practitioner. The visiting VIPs start using the phrase 2 future Dou Huangs in the tone of men calling dibs, and the Gu family stock ticks up so hard you can hear the neighboring clans grinding their teeth from here. Inside a certain ring, a certain ghost delivers his verdict to his student, and I'd frame it if I could. That cousin's physique may stand at the peak of the 8 ancient clans themselves. Sir, flattery will get you everywhere. Wait till you see the eyes I'm growing. Perks of adulthood. 1 free technique from the family's Douchi Pavilion. The shells are a museum of mediocrity. I take a yellow rank thunderclap manual as my official souvenir for the paperwork. The real prize is holding up a bookshelf. The pavilion keeper has been using a slab of black lightning stone as a stone platform for generations, presumably, because it's heavy and ugly and won't burn. It is also the signature material of the Divine Might Black Lightning Spear, my weapon, the one I carried as a god, whose forging recipe is engraved somewhere behind my back teeth. I ask, very casually, if I can take the old platform as a keepsake of my beloved family pavilion. The keeper looks at me like I asked to marry his broom and says, "Take it, strange boy." Some men inherit kingdoms. I inherited furniture. We'll fix that. Meanwhile, my own family fixes something else without consulting either victim. Grand banquet, everyone invited, wine flowing, and Gu Wei rises, taps his cup, and announces the engagement of Ren Jia and Gu Jia. Sealed by the Grand Elder and by my grandfather, who I now realize have been shaking hands behind our backs for weeks like a pair of geriatric war ministers. The dowry, 5 Tier 2 lightning cores. They bribed me with bird food. It worked instantly, and I'm furious about how well. Gu Jia receives the news of our engagement with her signature diplomacy. She stands up in front of the entire assembled clan, points at me across the banquet, and issues a duel. Terms, hers. If I win, she honors the engagement. If I lose, direct quote, in front of both our grandfathers, she divorces me. I got engaged and threatened with divorce in the same minute, before the soup course. Grandpa toasts to young love. The Grand Elder toasts back. These two are enjoying this far too much for men their age. We fight that night on the back mountain. No audience, which turns out to be a mercy for the audience there isn't. She's good, genuinely. 3-star Dou practitioner with Xiao Yan Academy polish on every form, and her whirlwind shadow kick arrives with the sincere intention of removing my head for postage. But I'm wearing 13 lightning patterns under my skin, and the arithmetic is just unkind. Her best palm strike lands flush on my chest. The only thing that breaks is her composure. I answer with a half-strength push, and she's suddenly airborne, off-balance, tumbling toward the cliff edge that neither of us checked for, and I 9-flash across the whole gap and catch her out of the air. Princess carry. Her fists still balled up mid-swing. Long pause. Wind. Moonlight unhelpfully romantic. Her, glaring up at me from inside my own arms, running the full audit of her remaining dignity. I concede, she says at last, in the exact tone of a war criminal signing surrender papers under protest. I set her down with ceremonial care and do not smile. I want the record to show I did not smile. This restraint is, I believe, why I'm still alive. What follows is a month I didn't plan for and wouldn't trade. We spar at dawn, every dawn. She steals my techniques with her eyes, no shame, all appetite, and the girl who wanted to marry the training dummy starts arriving early and staying late. Somewhere in the middle of it, over bruises and stolen breakfasts, she tells me the real stories. The Xiao Yan Academy senior, a boy named Duan Kai, who won't hear no and has the rank to make no expensive. And before him, further back, the first love, who targeted her away with a shrug and a sentence she recites flat, like a weather report from a bad year. I liked you before. I like him more now. She says it and watches my face to see if I'll flinch or pity her. I do neither. I add Duan Kai's name to a list I keep. It's a short list. It is not a nice one. Oh, and the 5 dowry cores go straight down the bird's gullet because they were addressed to me. 2-star Dou practitioner by month's end. My engagement is literally making me stronger. The romance novels criminally undersold this. Money next, because grandmaster habits burn gold like incense. Back to the shed. I forged 2 tier 2 weapons, a tiger's mouth blade, honest work, and a wicked slim thing called the Dark Nether Serpent Shadow Sword. Remember the sword. I'm telling you now, in front of witnesses. The sword comes back later, and when it does, you'll want to have remembered it. Lin Hua auctions both pieces for a combined 160,000, takes her commission with a predator's grace, and pours me celebration tea. Somewhere in the pouring, my earth reflexes produce a joke shaped exactly like a marriage proposal. She goes very still. She does not say no. She files it. I spend the walk home explaining to myself that this is fine, this is contained, and this will definitely not compound at interest. Narrator's note from the future. It compounds. Then I lock the shed for 3 months and do the real work. First, the beast ring. Mountain and riverstone, folded and refolded around a pocket of tamed space until it can hold living things. The auction hall's 3,000 gold paperweight, reborn as one of the rarest artifacts on the continent. On the inner band, where no eye but mine will ever read it, I engrave 2 names. Malign Scourge, Ling Hua. My betrayers riding on my finger so that every time I reach for power, I remember what trust costs at the god level. Second, the spear. The pavilion's bookshelf slab goes into the fire and comes out as the Divine Might Black Lightning Spear. Tier 4, black as a debt ledger, humming at a frequency that makes dogs leave the district and doesn't apologize. When I take it into the hills to reintroduce myself to my own arsenal, the 9 heavens lightning cloud split comes off the spearhead like the sky filing a grievance, and a stream that has run since before this empire had a name briefly stops existing. I stand in the steam, holding my past life in both hands, listening to the thunder roll off down valleys that have never heard my name yet. 5-star Dou practitioner. The bird's been snacking all quarter, the spear is warm, and down in the city, someone has finally decided the Gu family is getting too comfortable. The Jia Liye clan, Wutan City's other big family, and lately its hungriest. Their opening move isn't an army, it's an alchemist, a first-rank pillman named Wu Fan, imported at ruinous expense and wearing the fact like cologne, who floods the market with cut-price rejuvenation powder until the Gu family shops are bleeding out on their own counters. Trade war, no blades drawn, just prices, and prices, it turns out, cut deeper. The Gu elders hold emergency meetings where the main agenda item is looking worried in rotation. Revenue halves, then halves again. You can watch the clan's confidence deflate by the week like a slow leak nobody can find. So the twin dragons go to work, and this is where having 2 cheats in one family stops being fair. Gu Chan arrives at the War Council first, towing a mysterious black-robed senior who bows to no one and donates, I counted the manifest, 1,283 bottles of blood-clotting powder to the family cause. Hello, ghost teacher. Love your work, love the costume budget. The elders nearly weep. And then the butler's grandson stands up and announces that his own master, a wandering refiner of tremendous reputation and total untraceability, whom I invent in that exact sentence, has pledged 500 Leihuo beads to the family's defense. 2 teenagers, 2 imaginary mentors, 1 warehouse of very real product. The Gu family now has the medical supply chain and the munitions industry, and what happens next is less a war than an audit. Our shops flood the market back at prices Wu Fan can't chase without bleeding his patrons. The family's market spies, reorganized by me over one evening in a pot of tea, because in my second life I ran intelligence networks the way other men run orchards, start reporting Jia Lai price moves before the ink dries on them. Every discount they plan, we undercut the day before it launches. Every supplier they court, we've already overpaid to keep loyal. It takes 1 month. The Jia Lai commercial empire contracts to 30% of itself. Their genius alchemist's genius is suddenly looking very rentable, and their clan head has developed a facial tic that the whole market imitates behind his back. One person in this city is not fooled by the puppet theater, by the way. Lin Hua cross-references the auction records, the bead supply, my shopping list, and the timeline, and arrives, over tea, sweetly, with the delivery of a woman laying down a winning hand, at the truth. The mysterious master and the boy with the pretty fiancé are the same person, and that person once proposed to her by accident. I have never seen anyone look so victorious and so ready to invoice me at the same time. Her silence has a price. Her price has a smile. We understand each other perfectly. The Jia Li clan, down to its last idea, chooses violence. but with a scheduling twist because even their violence is passive-aggressive. Bait. Wu Fan and the young master John Ao corner Gu Jia and Ming'er in the open market. Loud insults about Gu women, a hand closing on a wrist, a crowd gathering on cue, all of it engineered so the Gu juniors come running hot and do something challengeable. We come running. Of course we come running. I arrive to the sight of a stranger's fingers on my fiancé's wrist, and the market goes very bright and very quiet in my head, and I hear myself say it out loud, evenly, to the whole street. They dare touch my woman. The challenge is issued before my brain finishes the paperwork. 2 duels, formal, public square, no takebacks, me against Wu Fan, Gu Chen against John Ao. The Jia Li side accepts so fast you can smell the script they think they're running. Duel day. The square is packed to the rooflines. Wu Fan turns out to be a 6-star Dou master hiding behind an alchemist's smirk, a full realm over my head, on paper. The opening exchange corrects the paper. His fist meets mine, and his fist loses the negotiation, knuckle by knuckle, and the smirk comes off with the skin. So he escalates. He reaches into his robes and unveils his life's crown, a beast fire. The dark wolf fire, a shrieking violet flame torn from a monster's corpse and tamed over half a lifetime, the treasure that makes him an alchemist worth importing. He hurls it at me like a verdict. My vermilion bird thunder sits up in my chest like a dog hearing the fridge. I inhale his life's work, on purpose, in public. The wolf fire funnels off his hands, across the square, down my throat, a violet river reversing course, and the last ember disappears with a pop like a soap bubble. Silence. Then, from the middle of the square, the sound of one grown alchemist making a noise I can only describe as financial. And while he stands there, bereaved, my thunder quietly leaves something behind in his emptied meridians, a crimson seed. A parting gift. Armed, patient, and keyed to one trigger, the next time Wu Fan channels fire chi, he and the fire are going to have a very brief disagreement. Beside me, Gu Chen concludes his own appointment, an 8-extremities collapse that folds Zhanao like laundry and relocates several of the young master's organs to new addresses within the same young master. Clean sweep. The crowd is mid-roar when the Jialie clan head, Feng Li, decides that duels are for losers whose sons are conscious, and comes over the barrier at both us juniors with killing intent out. He gets exactly 1 step. Gu Wei hits the square like a landslide with a schedule, and the 2 clan heads stand nose to nose over their children's bodies, one bleeding, one bored, while the whole market recalculates Wutan City's org chart in real time. The aftermath is quiet the way avalanches are quiet from far away. Wu Fan leaves town with his career in a sack, tries to cultivate through the grief a few days later, and channels fire chi. My seed keeps its appointment. The Jialie clan doesn't even get the deposit back on him. Their last elder receives a house call from a certain black-robed senior that I am officially unaware of and unofficially delighted by. Inside the month, the Jialie family is selling its shops to the Gu family at funeral prices, and the trade war enters the city's gossip as a cautionary proverb. The bird and I hit 7-star Dou practitioner during the cleanup, which feels like applause, and because I'm leaving soon, the road has been tugging for weeks, I do something quietly enormous before I pack. I copy out 2 scrolls from the library in my skull, 1 cultivation art, 1 sword art, earth rank, both of them, the kind of manuals that empires field armies over, and I hand them to Gu Jia like vacation homework, with a straight face and instructions not to show her teachers until she's practiced. She has no idea what she's holding. She's going to find out at Xiao Yan Academy at approximately the moment her instructors start hyperventilating into paper bags. Consider it dowry, returned with interest. My fiancé is going to be terrifying, and I want the receipts to show I helped. Then Xiao Yan Academy comes to town, and my exit paperwork walks in the front gate. Recruitment season. The academy sends instructor Ruo Lin, gorgeous and dangerous in the specific way of women who grade people for a living, plus a bubbly classmate of Gu Jia's named Xuan Ni, plus riding along like a bad smell with a rank, Duan Kai, the senior, the one from Gu Jia's stories, the list boy. He takes one look at me standing next to Gu Jia, hears the word fiancé travel the courtyard, and does the thing his whole life has trained him for, proposes some friendly sparring with the country bumpkin, smiling the smile of a man who has never once been hit properly. Gu Jia's hand tightens on her sleeve. I peel her fingers off gently, hand her my outer robe, and accept. 1 punch. I'd love to dress it up for you. Footwork, feints, a duel worth the ink. It was 1 knock, and Duan Kai experiences the entire campus legend life cycle in reverse, ending as a rumor with a nosebleed. The friendly spar is ruled complete. Gu Jia looks at the boy who spent a year making her school life a corridor of dread, now horizontal and dreaming, and then looks at me, and something in the ledger between us settles with a click. Promise, paid, receipt, her face. Then Roland tests me because that's what she came for, and her testing crystal announces a 17-year-old 7-star Dou practitioner to a courtyard that's already out of gasps. She gets the look, the career-making, must-recruit SSS potential look, and makes the full pitch on the spot. I decline. Politely, with regrets, family matters, a road I have to walk, revenge to schedule, the usual. And this magnificent woman, rather than take no, invents a category, enrollment in name only, indefinite leave. A Xiao Yan Academy student badge in my pocket, no attendance required, come when life permits. That's not admission, that's sponsorship. The Academy buying a future option on me at today's prices. I take it. A student badge from the continent's most neutral institution opens doors that a wandering refiner would have to melt. Gu Chen and Minger test too, A-grade talents both, on paper, and the paper has no idea, and my cousin bargains himself a year of leave before enrollment, citing the family crisis. Ruo Lin, drowning in Gu family special cases, mutters that this clan is double trouble. Madam, you've met two of us. By the end of the week, you'll be renting a courtyard here, and I'll let the historians decide who recruited whom. With the city settled and the leaving date real, there's one door left, and it's been locked my whole stay. I go to Gu Wei's study after dinner, close it behind me, and ask the question Grandpa's face keeps slamming shut on. How did my father die? My uncle looks at me for a long time. Then he pours 2 cups of wine, pushes one across, and opens the family's ugliest ledger. We're not from Wutan. My grandfather and my father were Salt City Ren family, a real power, one of the 4 great families of the northeast provinces. Grandpa crossed the wrong elder decades ago. They crippled his cultivation and expelled him, and he carried his son here and became a butler and never said the city's name again. Years later, a letter found my father. Come home, all is forgiven. The main bloodline needs its own. He believed it. Men want their father's houses to want them, and he went. The Salt City Ren family had started a program by then. Demonic beast limb transplantation, grafting monster parts onto human cultivators to manufacture stronger soldiers. Wings that shred the spine that carries them. Arms that outlive the heart. They needed test subjects with family blood, close enough to the main line for the grafts to take, expendable enough that failure filed no paperwork. They didn't invite my father home. They ordered materials. He came back in a box with no explanation. Grandpa's spine bent another inch that year and never straightened, and he taught his grandson to be small and sickly and beneath notice, because beneath notice is where this family lets you live. The strongest man in Salt City is the program's patron, Grand Elder Ren Hong. They call him Butcher Ren, a Dou Ling, a rank this whole city treats as mythology, with friends in the Cloud Mist sect, the first sect of the empire. I thank my uncle. I finish the wine. I walk out into the night air and stand in the courtyard for a while, and somewhere in my chest, next to the bird, something colder settles in and starts building a nest. Salt City. Add it to the itinerary, near the top. But before revenge, groceries. There's an item on my shopping list no auction stocks. A heavenly flame. A real one, off this world's ranked list. Because my vermilion bird Thunder has a ceiling, and the only way through it is for the bird to eat something in its own weight class, a strange fire. Yes, I am planning to feed a ranked natural disaster to the natural disaster I keep in my chest. No, nobody in the history of either of my worlds has done it. That's what makes it a plan, and not a tradition. Finding a strange fire is the hard part. They surface once a generation, usually under a mountain of corpses. So I go to the one person in Wutan City whose information network outclasses most empires. Minger, the quiet girl with the ancient clan behind her. I know exactly what she is. I've read her family tree. It has its own throne, and she doesn't know I know, which makes every conversation a polite minefield where we both pretend the tea is the point. I ask if her people can locate a low-ranked flame. Nothing ambitious, a starter flame. She studies me for a long, level moment, recalculating me, shelf by shelf, and then agrees, and burns a privilege she's only allowed to invoke once every 2 years to do it. As I leave, I catch what she murmurs to her teacup, soft as filing paper. One day, my clan may need this man's goodwill. Smart house the ancients. They hedge in both directions. The answer comes back in 9 days, sealed in wax I don't recognize and won't ask about. 10,000 beast spirit fire. Rank 22nd. Still young, a seed flame, barely conscious, squatting in a place called the Valley of 10,000 Beasts in the Mulan Empire, 2 borders west. Weak enough to catch, far enough to make a proper journey of it. Perfect. The farewells are quick, because long ones are expensive. Lin Hua gets a hug that runs 1 second past professional, and a promise to write that we both know I'll keep irregularly. Gu Jie gets a sparring date with a 5-year horizon and steals one more technique on my way out, with her eyes, like always. And Grandpa gets the real one. We stand in front of my father's memorial tablet, and I light the incense, and I don't promise him anything out loud, because out loud, he'd worry. The promise happens anyway. Tablets count as witnesses. Ask anyone dead. At the city gate, Gu Chen and I split roads, and I commit my first premeditated act of literary vandalism. I loudly, specifically claim the eastern route through the Magical Beast Mountains, which forces Canon's main character to shrug and take the northern one. Why? Because the eastern road is where the book had him meet a poison girl and a certain sect master, and I have personal plans for both encounters. Sorry, cousin, the script called for you. The script is under new management. What the new management doesn't know, the Salt City Ren family reads newspapers. A talent like mine, surnamed Ren, publicly demolishing clowns 2 provinces over, their council has been meeting about me for months, in rooms with thick doors, because the boy whose father they dissected is starting to look less like a loose end and more like an invoice. They sent an assassin half a year ago, a 4-star great Dou master named Ren Kui, who has circled Wutan City all this time finding, mysteriously, no opening. The mystery has a name, Old Ling, Minger's hidden guardian, A Dou Zun whose ambient presence perfumes this city the way a sleeping tiger perfumes a cave. The best bodyguard I've ever had, and I didn't know he existed, and he wasn't even guarding me. But now I'm walking out of the tiger's cave, on foot, alone, and advertised. Good, I've been wanting to meet the family. First stop east, Qingshan Town, gateway to the Magical Beast Mountains, where I have 2 errands. Errand 1, amethyst, a specific spirit-grade amethyst, one of the key materials for a little net I've been designing in the back of my head. The fire-restricting cover, a woven trap purpose-built for exactly one heist that I'm not announcing yet, but you can probably hear the shape of it. Errand 2, unplanned. I see a girl in gray robes with a medicine basket, and the whole street forgets what it was doing. I know that face from a book. Gu Anxi, the little doctor fairy, the gentlest soul in the original story, and, some chapters later, one of its most terrifying, because sleeping inside that gentle girl is a calamity poison body, a walking apocalypse on a slow fuse. In canon, the fuse burns down, a village dies, and the world spends years hunting a girl whose only crime was being born a weapon. In canon. We'll see about canon. She's signed on as a healer with the pharmacy caravan crossing the mountains. 50 escort slots, full up. I expedite my application by open palming their loudest mercenary into a cart when he tries the newcomer hazing. Application accepted. The caravan master even carries my bag. The road does what mountain roads do. It introduces people at knife point. Bandit trouble on day 3, handled briskly. A washed out pass, a shared watch rotation. And then the weather turns feral and the 2 of us end up sheltering in a cliff cave. Just the healer and the polite young monster. And the cave handles the rest. She tries her signature move on me first, the knockout powder she doses strangers with, gently, so she can slip away before anyone gets attached. It doesn't work. A celestial thunder body in progress metabolizes her whole apothecary like breakfast tea. She stares at her powder, then at me, mortified to the roots of her hair, and I do her the courtesy of pretending to yawn. She laughs before she can stop herself. It's the first real laugh I've heard from her, and I'd bet the spear it's the first she's allowed in a year. She cooks, actual cooking, herbs and snow hare, the kind of meal you make for someone, not just near them. A rock snake interrupts dinner, and I interrupt the rock snake, permanently, without standing all the way up. And in the cave's back gallery, we find the luggage of men who sheltered here before us and had worse luck. Skeletons, a rotted pack, and treasure the mountains kept in escrow. Herbs, which I shovel at her wholesale, a scrap of map with a purple lotus inked in one corner, which I pocket with a completely straight face, because I know exactly which future emperor spends years collecting the rest of that map, and purification lotus real estate is the kind you buy early. A flight technique, eagle wings, profound rank, the actual jackpot. Legs are fine, but wings are policy. A spear art called Roar of the Lion, compatible with my whole personality. And a poison manual, 7-colored something, which I hand to her like a cookbook. For her, it is one. Then the cave stops being cozy, because our shelter turns out to be on somebody's itinerary. The Wolfhead mercenary group pours in out of the storm, a proper ambush, bought and sold in advance by a maid in the caravan, aimed at the young noblewoman traveling under our protection. A dozen wet, armed men with drawn steel funneling into a confined stone room, grinning about their luck. A confined stone room, containing me. I want you to picture a lightning bolt with opinions, ricocheting. It's over in the time it takes their torches to gutter. 11 men down, smoking gently, variously alive. Their young leader, Han Lei, holds the 12th position and immediately opens negotiations from his knees. Spare me. My group will pay. I was following orders. Mercy, mercy. Gu Angxi, kind to her own detriment. Always. It's the whole tragedy of her. Touches my sleeve and says, let him go. So I say, okay. And as he stands up, weeping his thanks, I break his knee sideways with my heel. Because mercy and stupidity are different organs, and only one of them regrows. He drags himself out into the rain with his life, a limp and a grudge. Remember the grudge. Grudges in this genre have delivery schedules. We ride out the last leg on her Blue Hawk and part at the tree line, and the parting takes longer than either of us plans. She gives me the Hawk's feather whistle routes in case. I give her something with more teeth, a rescue token. Paired stones from my own forge, crush yours, and mine burns, and I come. No questions, no distance clause, no expiry. She turns it over in her hands like she's never been handed anything before that didn't have a price tag facing her, and then she says it, quietly, to the trees more than to me. Maybe you'll be my only friend in this life. Yeah, about that, Canon. I'm keeping this one. Adjust your outline. Then it's just me and the deep mountains, and the deep mountains are a buffet with no staff. Weeks of clean, violent routine. Hunt, harvest, feed the bird. A Tier 2 core bumps me to 8-star and drill the cave loot into muscle. Eagle Wings takes me 3 minutes to subdue. The eagle's remnant soul inside the scroll takes one look at the thunder wearing me and files for early retirement. Wings surrendered in full. Suddenly, I can fly. Actually fly, crimson light unfolding off my shoulder blades, wind with structure under it, the whole sky turned from ceiling into floor plan. Roar of the Lion sinks with the black spear in half a day and turns every thrust into a sound that argues back. 2 months of this, and I'm 20 lightning patterns deep, brown as a nut, talking to birds, and happier than I've been in 3 lives. which is exactly when the family finds me. Both mean it as a compliment. It starts with dogs. The wolf-head mercenary group, out in force, sweeping the ridgelines for the boy who folded their heir's knee, but they're not the problem, they're the leash. Walking behind them, unhurried, in gray that matches the rock, is the problem. A man with a face like a closed ledger and a killing intent so old it's gone room temperature. Ren Kuei, 4-star Great Dou Master. The Salt City Ren family's house assassin, 6 months on my contract, finally holding an opening. On paper, an 8-star Dou practitioner against a 4-star Great Dou Master isn't a fight, it's a funeral with extra steps. So I skip the paper. The vanguard goes first. Their 9-star tracker Gon Mu is 40 meters out in closing when my spear takes him through the chest, thrown, flat, no wind-up, because the roar of the lion works just fine as a javelin art, if you're rude enough. The hunting party's morale develops a hole the same size, and Ren Kuei stops walking, looks at the spear standing in his tracker, looks at me, and finally does me the honor of taking this seriously. Last mistake in a long career of them. He's good, I want that on the record, professional respect. He fights like a shadow with a payroll. Every angle a blind spot, every retreat a hook with bait on it. His blade comes out of places light doesn't reach. But I've got the 9 flashes making 4 of me, instant flash stitching the seams between them, and when he finally corners the real me against a rock face, I put a 9 heavens lightning cloud split down the middle of his ambush. The ravine is briefly daylight, and follow it with a thing no assassin in this backwater has ever eaten. The spiral soul imprint. A soul attack. My spirit, drilled to a point, driven straight between his eyes. Armor doesn't matter. Technique doesn't matter. For 1 white second, his brain is a struck bell, and in that second, my spear takes his sword arm to the bone. Then his leg blurs wrong, too fast, jointed wrong, and kicks me across 30 meters of clearing into a tree that loses the argument. I come up coughing blood, and I see it. Gray fur through the torn trouser. That leg isn't his. It's a windwolf's. Transplanted. My family's little program, walking around on the man they sent to kill me. They dissected my father for this, and the assassin wears the product line. Something goes very calm in me. The eye of a storm is also weather. He closes to finish it. Wounded arm, monster leg, all business. And here is why I told you to remember the dark nether serpent shadow sword. Ren Kuei bought it. My sword, my forge, my auction, resold along the channel's blades travel, and it hangs at his hip right now, drawn to open my throat. And every weapon I have ever sold on this continent carries, folded into the steel where no appraiser can read it, a weapon explosion mark, a refiner's insurance policy. I look my father's killer's errand boy in the eye and I snap my fingers. The sword remembers its maker. His right arm leaves the conversation at the shoulder. I go off the cliff edge on eagle wings while his scream is still climbing. And on the way past, I hook his drop storage ring out of the air because looting is a discipline and I am disciplined. Contents inventoried mid-glide. Tai Xuan golden silk thread, forge material, lovely, a tier 3 magic core, and an assassin's tidy savings. From the far side of the gorge, I look back at the gray man kneeling one-armed in the wreck of his own ambush, and I give him a delivery date, loud enough to carry. Half a month. I'll come collect the rest of you in half a month. Assassins hate scheduling. It ruins the whole genre for them. I hole up in a hollow with Gu Engshi's herbs working shifts in my bloodstream, feed the tier 3 core to the bird, and emerge 9-star and mean. And that's when the eastern peaks start shaking. A real fight, high tier, close, and I follow the noise like an idiot, because in my experience, the sound of monsters fighting is the sound of loot changing hands. What I find is a cannon scene with a hole in it. My hole. I dug it. A 6-tier amethyst-winged lion king is defending its cave mouth against a woman in green, graceful, furious, and losing. She fights like a masterpiece playing at half volume. A Dou Zun, 3-star at least, operating under a sealed cultivation that's throttling her to a fraction, trying to bargain/burgle her way to a purple spirit crystal and getting mauled for it by the amethyst seal formation. In the book, a boy named Gu Chen was on this road for this scene. I rerouted him at the gate, remember? Which means the woman taking a wing blade across the ribs and dropping out of the sky into the ravine is my responsibility now. Her name, though she's traveling under a fake one, is Lin Jie, sect master of the Cloud Mist sect, the first sect of the Jia Ma Empire. The organization, I note for the file, that Butcher Ren counts as a friend. I fish her out of the ravine anyway. You don't leave masterpieces in rivers. She's unconscious, fever spiking, seal strangling her chi so thoroughly she can't close her own wounds, and her inner armor is in the way of the actual injury. Gentlemen, there is no dignified procedure for providing battlefield medicine to a legendary beauty who will absolutely kill you when she wakes. You do the work, you keep your eyes clinical, and you prepare your legal defense. Her defense of choice, on waking, sword to my throat before her eyes have finished opening. Standard. We negotiate, me explaining triage, her explaining execution, and arrive at a wary ceasefire renewable at knife point every morning. What follows is the most dangerous week of cohabitation in 3 lifetimes. Her chi is sealed. My hands are medically compromised by prior use. The cave is one room. She critiques my bandaging, fishing, I critique her survival choices. Her attempted cooking produces something that I, a man who has eaten tribulation lightning, declines seconds of. A Tier 3 Thunder Rock tiger drawn down the mountain by the scent of her bath meets me at the cave mouth and gets punched back up the mountain with soul reserves I was saving for emergencies. Apparently, her bath water is an emergency now. And through all of it, between insults, she keeps looking at me sideways. This backwater teenager who reads her rank, dresses her wounds, quotes classics her own library mislabels, and is not afraid of her. She can't file me. It's driving her quietly insane, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't performing a little. And then the mountains, which have been writing this farce all along, delivered the punchline. Dinner. The boar I roast turns out to have eaten a he-snake somewhere in its idiot life, which turns the meat, in the professional literature, into an aphrodisiac with a body count. Add one fire-natured young body mid-rebuild. Add one sealed sect master with no chi to burn it off. Add a week of saving each other's lives in one room. The night resolves the way you're afraid it resolves, and morning arrives with a very long silence in it. The slap arrives on schedule. So does the sword, third time this week, but this time her hand isn't steady, and that's new, and we both hear it rattle. And I look at this proud, furious woman with her whole life pointed at her own reputation, and instead of apologizing, I make the worst bet of my new life. Be my woman. 5 years. In 5 years, I'll stand in front of you as a Dou Zun, her rank, from a boy who isn't yet a Dou master. Or you can come collect my head yourself, and I'll sharpen the blade. She stares at me for a long time, long enough to remember which sect she runs, and then, visibly, catastrophically, forget it again. 5 years, she says finally, in a voice she denied under oath. Come find me. And that's how I got engaged for the second time this year, at sword point, on a mountain, to the master of a sect that is going to feature very prominently in my future. The 5-year clock starts now. Sect master, keep the calendar clear. She pays her debts before we part, because she's the kind who does. I asked to borrow a high-tier fire or lightning core for my master's research. She hands me a tier 5 core, a Vajra fire ape's heart, casually, the way you'd lend a pen. I mention, delicately, my family's connection troubles, and she severs the Cloud Mist sect's ties to the Salt City Wren family in one sentence. From now on, there are none. One sentence. Somewhere northeast, a Grand Elder's insurance policy just lapsed, and he doesn't know it yet. And then she does me one better, because I tell her about the Lion's Cave and the Cub inside, and she volunteers for the distraction. The sect master of the Cloud Mist sect spends an afternoon leading a 6th-tier amethyst-winged Lion King on a chase through the peaks, wounded, sealed, magnificent, while I burgle its home. Inside, 6 vials of liquid purple crystal source, which I bottle like a milkman on commission. Her purple spirit crystal, the whole reason she nearly died this week, which I leave gift-wrapped where she'll find it, because I settle accounts in full. And a tier 3 cub with amethyst wings and enormous offended eyes, who puffs up at me like a very small avalanche. I put a divine soul seal on him before he can decide I'm food. A beast tamer's art from my old world, the gentle kind, partnership rather than chains, and name him Lei Bao. He sulks about the beast ring for 1 full hour, then discovers the ring comes with meal service, and his loyalty transfers to me with an audible click. The Lion King comes home to find its savings gone and its son enlisted, and its opinion of me registers on distant seismographs. Lin Jia extracts us both ahead of the tantrum, and at the last tree line she does 2 things that are going to cost her sect dearly, though neither of us says so. She takes off her Heart of the Sea armor, the inner armor she was wearing, tier 5 at least, still warm, and puts it in my hands and closes my fingers over it. And she kisses my forehead, once, like a woman sealing a letter she isn't sure she's allowed to send. Then she flies home to her mountain, and I pretend not to see her stop on the far ridge to watch me go, and she pretends not to know I saw. 5 years. I'm ahead of schedule, and she has no idea how far. 1 vial of purple crystal source goes down the bird's gullet that same night, because moderation is for people without deadlines. The feedback hits like a tide with a grudge, and the wall I'd been leaning on for weeks caves. Dou Master. A 2nd vial before dawn. 2-star Dou Master. And deep in my chest, the vermilion bird burning heaven thunder crosses into its infancy stage, meaning, for the first time in this life, it cries. An actual phoenix scream of thunder, rolling off the cliff and down the valley, emptying 3 square miles of everything with survival instincts. My cheat just found its voice. I am raising a natural disaster with a feeding schedule, and it has started talking back. Then I come down out of the mountains, and a stranger's campfire hands me a bill I did not order. Trade road gossip, between mouthfuls. The Wolfhead mercenary group's got a big public event coming, an execution. Some poison girl they caught, and the one-armed gray man bankrolling them wants a crowd, because it's not an execution, it's bait with a date on it. Ren Kui lived. Fine. I'd left him alive on purpose. We had an appointment. But the assassin didn't wait to be collected. He allied with what was left of the wolf heads, and together they went shopping for leverage. And they found the girl in gray robes with the medicine basket. They have Gu on Shi. And here's the part that takes the air out of me. Sitting at a stranger's fire with my knuckles going white around a cup. She had the token. My rescue token, paired stones. Crush yours and I come. No questions, no expiry. 3 days in their cage. Interrogation. They wanted the boy who folded Han Lei's knee, the boy the token points to. She never crushed it. She sat in the dark, keeping her mouth shut and the stone whole, because using it would aim them at me, her only friend in this life. She meant it as a fact, not a plea, a fact. I don't remember most of the walk to Wolfhead headquarters. I remember deciding, somewhere on the road, that subtlety was a courtesy this organization had not earned, and that the town deserved to see exactly what it had been hosting, so they get a show. At noon, in front of their own gates, I release Lei Bao, Tier 3 battle lion, wings out, purple fire dripping off his jaws like an opinion, into the front yard, and while 300 mercenaries process that information at various speeds, I walk up the middle of them. One lightning sweep, wall to wall. 100 of their elite drop where they stand, smoking, before the gate bell finishes its first swing. Lei Bao takes the flank apart with fireballs, methodical as a cat with a paid grudge. And when the crowd thins enough, the gray man is standing in the courtyard center with his remaining arm and his wolf's leg and nowhere left that shadows reach. And I give him exactly what I promised in the clearing. The vermilion bird takes him. Thunder and fire, one column, straight down through the noon light. Half a month, I'd said. By my count, I'm 2 days early, and I hope it ruins the afterlife's paperwork. Their leader, Han Tu, the founder, the one who signed off on all of it, tries the classic, drops to his knees, surrenders in tears, and unloads a hidden blade at my back the second I turn. I don't turn all the way back. One punch, over the shoulder, no eyes. The Wolfhead mercenary group is now a historical topic, and local historians are welcome to interview the crater. She's in the cellar, chained at the wrists, 3 days of their questions written on her in bruises, and when the last chain comes apart in my hand, she doesn't cry and she doesn't shake. She looks up, takes clinical inventory of me, doctor first, always, even now, and says, "You're hurt. I'm hurt." She was tortured in a cage for protecting me, and I have a scratch on one forearm, and her first sentence is about the scratch. That's the whole person. Right there. Cannon wanted to make this one a monster. Cannon can get in line behind the Wren family. Her blue hawk carries us up and out to the place she's never shown anyone. A hidden valley in the high peaks. A green bowl of terraced herbs and absurd quiet. The kind of place maps apologize for missing. We stay a while, recovery leave, both of us pretending it's for the other one's benefit. She gardens. The herbs grow for her like they're showing off. I hit a 3-star bottleneck and sulk about it professionally. Lei Bao spends his days digging at the north slope like a dog with a secret, and eventually his secret files a report. The reason this valley's herbs grow like propaganda. Buried under the meadow, wrapped in centuries of soil, is a skeleton, 7th tier, 2-horned, lion-framed, from no beast clan I can name, and I can name all of them. That's the unsettling part. A dead king of a species I've never read about, feeding the ground its leftover divinity, one growing season at a time. Lei Bao, who has been gnawing this national treasure like a chew toy, promptly falls over into an advancement sleep, wings twitching toward tier 4. I excavate the entire skeleton and store it in my B-string, every last bone, because I don't know what this is. From me is the rarest sentence on this continent, and rarity like that appreciates. And then there's her secret, which picks its own night to surface. The valley air goes wrong after midnight, sweet and dead at once, like flowers over a grave, and I find her at the meadow's far edge, mealing, swallowing something dark from a clay jar, veins running black under her skin while she shakes through it. The calamity poison body, taking its scheduled tithe. She manages it alone. She has always managed it alone. The doses, the suppression, the arithmetic of how many years she has before the arithmetic stops working. When it lets her go, she wakes to find me sitting beside her, and the first thing she asks, the very first thing, before water, before excuses, is, "Are you afraid of me now?" No. And I can do better than say it, because for 3 days, something in my soul has been pacing. My 8th-ranked thunder. The mysterious yin poison demon thunder, born in my old world from devouring the corpse of a calamity poison body. It's been stirring since we landed in this valley, drawn to her the way sharks are drawn to a heartbeat, because she is, walking around in a girl, the exact substance it was weaned on. It eats poison, her poison specifically. It is, in the entire catalog of 2 worlds, the one predator whose diet is her curse. So I lend it to her. I'm going to say that again, because I want the size of it on the record. I hand a mysterious thunder, one of the 12 seeds of my godhood, to a mountain herbalist on the cover story that it's a gift from my master, whom I remind you I invented, and whose address is fiction. We seed it in her meridians through one long candlelit night of very careful work. From tonight, every outbreak her body brews, the thunder drinks. Her curse feeds my thunder's growth. My thunder holds her fuse. The village massacre in her future just lost its author, and in exchange, the poison demon thunder gets the richest food supply either of my worlds ever offered it. Economists call that a win-win. Cannon can call it vandalism. Cannon's opinion stopped being load-bearing several chapters ago. We part at the valley mouth with the exchange rate of people who don't say the big things. She presses a Tier 3 Thunder Shadow Leopard Core on me for the road. I leave her Renque's storage ring, an assassin's savings, redistributed to his final victim, which has a justice to it. There's one night under the stars that we file away untouched, because some doors you leave closed on purpose so they'll be there later. And at the ridge, her hawk banking away, she calls down the last thing. I'll wait for your promise. Everyone's collecting my promises this year. Good thing I forge in bulk. silk. 3-star Dou Master Peak, eastbound out of the mountains, and the road signs start saying Black Rock City, Northeast Provinces, auction season. Where the guest list, the campfire gossip says, includes a clan head of the Tang family, one of the 4 great families of the Northeast. The other one of the 4 is the Salt City Ren family. Time to go meet the relatives. Black Rock City's auction is the Northeast in miniature. Old money, older grudges, and everyone watching everyone over the rims of their paddles. The local celebrity is Arthur, the Alchemist Guild president, 4th rank, holding court at the front with his disciple at his elbow. Frostine, a silver-haired first-rank alchemist with a face like the concept of winter, commissioned a portrait. I note them, file them, and turn my attention to the real reason I bought a seat, which is carried out mid-session on a velvet cushion like a sick relative. A broken sword. The 6 Harmony Taishu sword, cracked down the spine, Chi's signature guttering like a candle in a draft. The room sees a damaged antique with a famous name and bids accordingly, which is to say, timidly. I see what a grandmaster sees. That crack pattern isn't damage, it's symptom. A sword control technique of that grade, decaying in that rhythm, means the sword is soul-bound, and its owner is wounded, dying slowly, and burning the blade as fuel to stall the bill. Somebody in the Tang family is selling their family's distress signal in public, on purpose, to see who in the Northeast is smart enough to read it. I raise my paddle and buy the Tang family's darkest secret for 200,000 gold. On the way out, I feel the room's most careful pair of eyes attached to my back and start taking notes. The clan head himself, Tang Hao, comes to my inn that evening. 8-star Great Dou Master, silver at the temples, pretending this is a courtesy call about auction etiquette. I pour him tea and skip us both to the end. Your old ancestor Tang Lin is soul-bound to that broken sword. He's been dying for a decade. When he goes, the Tang family drops from the 4 great families to a probate dispute, and your neighbors have already ordered the forks. He goes for his blade on pure reflex, good reflexes honestly, and my spiral soul imprint puts him on one knee with his sword arm asleep at the table. Now that we've established the seating order, here's my offer. I can repair the sword, which means I can repair the man. My price isn't gold. My price is the Tang family's spears, pointed where I aim them, at the Salt City Ren family, until there is no Salt City Ren family. He stares at the teenager rewriting the Northeast over a tea tray, and because trust is a product you demo, I hand him a freebie on my way to bed. The Cloud Mist sect is about to drop its protection of the Ren family. Watch for it. He blinks. That's insider knowledge from an altitude he can't see into. 4 days later, his spies confirm it word for word, because a certain sect master keeps her promises to me, and my credibility with the Tang family goes vertical overnight. They bring me to the compound, to a shuttered courtyard where the old ancestor sits like a portrait of himself. Tang Lin, 3-star Dou Ling, propped in a nest of formations, doing his dying in installments. I lay the terms out for the man himself, because men like this despise middlemen. Alone, your family lasts 2 generations past your funeral. With me, you get your body back, your blade back, and first pick of your worst rival's estate. Tang Lin looks at this child doing mergers and acquisitions over his deathbed and laughs until the formations flicker and signs on with the enthusiasm of a man who's been bored of dying for years. My one add-on to the contract, a beast soul blood fusion pill, 4th grade, for the sleeping lion in my ring. The Tang treasury sources it through Arthur, and Arthur's asking price is its own genre. He wants me to pose as Frostine's lover, publicly, convincingly. Her family sold her into an arranged engagement with the Liu family, artifact refiners out west in the Mulan Empire, and the only exit that saves face all around is a pre-existing romance with teeth. So, inventory. I'm being hired to be a fake fiancé, to break a real engagement, for the disciple of the man selling me a pill, while my 2 actual fiancés remain blissfully unbriefed. Somewhere, the concept of Ouyang Yue felt a disturbance and doesn't know why. I'm going to Mulan anyway for my strange fire. Deal. For the paperwork, I invent my master a name. He's now officially called Booth Yuan, and he is officially unreachable, being fictional. The sword takes me 3 days. The continent's best refiner would need 3 years and a prayer budget. I need a sealed forge, my thunderflame, and privacy. The Tang family stands in the courtyard watching the crack close like people watching a sunrise happen indoors, and when Tang Lin rises out of his chair unassisted for the first time in 10 years, the courtyard's composure fails by seniority, eldest first. And in the sword's spine, folded where not even a resurrected old ancestor will find it, I leave my usual signature, a weapon explosion mark. Nothing personal, new friends. I've been betrayed by closer, at higher altitude, with better catering. Lei Bao eats his pill and deepens his advancement sleep, dreaming his way toward Tier 4. And 2 weeks later, the Northeast receives a save-the-date. The Salt City Ren family announces Grand Elder Ren Hong's birthday banquet, early, lavish, and doubling as the founding ceremony of a grand alliance of Northeastern powers, with the Ren family at its head, naturally. Every family in the region summoned to attend, which is alliance speak for kneel in nice clothes. The Tang family RSVPs with a smile, plus 1 guest. We roll toward Chen City in caravans that ride a little heavy, 20-plus great Dou Masters hidden across 10 covert squads, a resurrected old ancestor traveling as cargo under silk, and me me and Tang Hao up front in the open like respectable people. First impressions of my ancestral home, a Ren family's second miss trampling a market street on horseback while vendors dive and the street bows. Killing intent, I find, travels well in caravans. It arrives fresh. At the inn that evening, the second miss herself, Ling Lin, whip on her hip, face like the family crest, overhears a comment she dislikes from our table and takes the whip to me across the common room. Because in Chen City, that's apparently how the Ren bloodline says hello. The whip meets my lightning a foot from my face and comes back to her as ash and a burn line up her forearm, 1 inch shy of scarring that sneer permanently. The Ren stewards materialize, bowing to the honored Tang guests, hustling her out, apologizing in the plural. Enjoy the banquet tomorrow, cousin. Seating is about to be rearranged. And then, because fate has a subscription to my itinerary, the inn's next arrival is Ouyang Yue. Yes, that Ouyang Yue. Gu Chen's runaway ex-fiancé, the Cloud Mist sect's star disciple, swanning into a northeast backwater with a Dou Ling escort and a cover story thinner than the inn's soup. Her actual mission, which I extract over one dinner because she hides feelings the way lanterns hide light, she's hunting her master's mystery man. Her master, the sect master of the Cloud Mist sect, serene and untouchable, has lately been distracted, sighing at ridgelines, murmuring a name in her sleep, a name that starts with Ren. So the devoted disciple has come to audit every promising Ren in the provinces, and tonight she's auditing me. Where I trained, whom I serve, why my aura won't resolve under her escort's inspection. The escort, Wei Song, stares at me all dinner with the deepening unease of a professional who cannot see through a teenager and knows what that usually costs. I answer everything warmly, truthfully, and uselessly. Young lady, the man your master sighs about is refilling your teacup and complimenting the pickles. Also, running the seniority math on your sect, that technically makes me your Shimu's intended, which technically makes you my junior, which means this dinner is technically a family meal. I say none of this. She'll work it out at the worst possible moment. They always do. It's load-bearing for the genre. Banquet morning. The Ren compound wears a coronation's worth of silk. Every family of the Northeast in attendance, gift tables groaning, hired cranes actually circling the towers because subtlety died out here generations ago. Up on the dais, in white and silver, stands the host, Grand Elder Ren Hong. Butcher Ren. My father's murderer, beaming like a man whose ledger only has one column. He declares the founding of the Ren Alliance, himself at its head, to applause that sounds like a region surrendering in installments. Then he spreads his arms and asks, magnanimous, whether any honored guest would care to speak. I stand up. The Tang tables go still on cue, 20 great Dou masters remembering their marks. And I give the Northeast the shortest speech of its season. No need for the alliance. No need, after today, for the Ren family at all. My name is Ren Jia. My father was Ren Qing, the man you invited home with a forgiveness letter and fed to your transplant program. As of this morning, this family is erased. You can hear the wine settle in the cups. Ren Hong's face attempts 3 expressions and completes none of them. And outside the walls, right on schedule, the Tang squads take the gates. The Battle of Chen City takes an afternoon, and I'd like to itemize why, because every line of this invoice was prepaid. 10 Tang squads breach the walls and sink. At the hour the guards rotate, on routes mapped by 3 weeks of merchant traffic that was never merchandise. Lei Bao makes his public debut, awake, tier 4, fed on purple crystal source, hitting like a 5-star Dou Ling with wings and a temper, and his opening fire pillar removes the gatehouse from the conversation without consulting it. Ren Hong, reading the arithmetic faster than his guests, tries diplomacy at the worst possible moment. 10 cities, shouted across the courtyard, to Tang Lin personally, to switch sides. Tang Lin's answer is the 6 Harmony Taishu sword picking up speed. There's a poetry to watching a man bribe the weapon that's descending on him. And me? I stand in the main courtyard of my father's family, and I let the spiral soul imprint off its leash in waves. 3 great Dou masters and a dozen Dou masters drop in the first half minute. Not dead, switched off, minds rung like bells in a burning temple. And the defenders watch 100 of their elite fold around a teenager who isn't visibly doing anything. That's the point. That's the whole show. Soldiers don't rally around a family whose strongmen fall over quietly. By the second wave, half the courtyard's defense has discovered urgent business elsewhere in the compound, and the Ren family's fabled discipline is a rumor about the past. In the middle of all this, Ouyang Yue, who crashed the banquet on her audit tour, because of course she did, gets her answer the worst way available. A blade opens my robe from hip to shoulder, misses the skin, and exposes what I'm wearing underneath. The Heart of the Sea armor, her master's armor. The inner armor Lin Jie has worn since before Ouyang ever joined the sect, famous inside those walls the way a queen's ring is famous, gone from her master's shoulders and living on the chest of a Ren. I watched the girl's entire worldview reboot in real time, mid-battlefield, lips parted, sword drifting offline. Miss Ouyang, this is genuinely not the moment. She spends the rest of the battle staring at me like a scandal that hasn't finished loading. Then, Ren Hong stops pretending and shows the Northeast what the transplant program was for. He sheds the elder's robe, and his right arm is not a man's. Manhattan-breaking rhino, grafted at the shoulder, gray-plated, wide as my torso, veins like tarred rope, human cultivation driving monster chassis. The courtyard stones ripple away from his steps like pond water. My father's death, refined, armored, and walking down the dais at me with a smile on it. I'd love to tell you I killed him myself. Here's what actually happens, and it's better. Lei Bao hits him first, a fire pillar that cooks the rhino arm inside its own plating until the graft screams louder than the man. And while the executioner staggers, cradling my family's sin like a burned child, Tang Lin arrives. 10 years of dying in a chair, delivered at the speed of a sword control technique with its blade restored, and the 6-harmony Taishu sword takes Ren Hong's head off in one harmonic note that hangs in the air after the body drops. The man who dissected my father is killed by the ancestor I resurrected, with the sword I repaired, in front of the alliance he built. I didn't land the blow. I built the machine that did. That's the job description of a god, and consider this my letter of application for reinstatement. Clan head Ren Lan tries to surrender mid-plea. Tang Lin executes him mid-sentence, because roots left in ground grow back, and the old man has buried enough neighbors to know it. By sundown, the Salt City Ren family, the whole poisonous tree, root and branch and grafted limb, is annihilated. The Northeast's 4 great families are now 3, and the ledger in my chest closes one column with a sound only I can hear. Dad. It's done. Sleep on your side of the tablet. One Ren survives the afternoon on purpose, a smooth-faced scion named Ren Li, who buys his continued breathing with one interesting sentence. There's a prisoner in the deep cells you'll want to see. He leads me down past the transplant labs, past jars I'm going to pretend I didn't inventory, past tables with drains, past my family's real crest, to a warded cell at the bottom of everything. And inside is a girl. 13, maybe 14. Green hair matted to her cheek, and when she lifts her face to the torchlight, her eyes, snake-slit pupils, 3 to each iris, jade-green flowers blooming around them. Triple jade-green snake flower pupils, a bloodline the snake clans would crown in the body of a child my family kept as a specimen. Her name is Lin Lin. In the book, Gu Chen saves this girl from slavers, years from now, cities from here. In my edit, the rescue got moved up, and the slavers were my relatives, and the rescuer is standing in their basement holding a torch and an apology. I burn the wards off the bars, crouch to her eye level, and offer the first kind sentence anyone's aimed at her in months. What a beautiful little one. She stares at me for a long 3 seconds, cataloging tricks and finding none. Then she attaches to my sleeve with both hands and does not let go, then, or on the stairs, or for the rest of the week, and informs me in a voice rusty with disuse that she is now my maid. Tone closed to negotiation. I've been claimed. The smallest, most venomous creature in this compound has adopted me, and I sign where she points. Ren Li, escorting us out, makes one last bid to matter. A corridor trap, triggered behind my back, a scion's reflex to the end. Tong Zhen's blade goes through him before I finish turning around. Some purchases refund themselves. The treasury split is friendly, which is rare for treasuries. The Tong family takes the techniques, the deeds, the trade routes, the empire-building materials, useful to people building empires here. I take every magic core in the vault. 1 tier 4, 10 tier 3, a drawer of tier 2s that the bird eyes like a wedding buffet, and behind a space-warded false wall that only silver eyes and suspicion could find, the real bottom of my family's soul, 2 items deep, the transplantation manual itself, my father's murder weapon in book form, flawed at the root, its graphs corrupting body and mind in exchange for power, which explains generations of this family in one diagram, and a pair of golden beast eyes in preservation fluid, 6th tier at minimum, source unrecorded, looking back at me through the glass with an expression I decline to interpret. I take both. The manual because burning it is too easy, and understanding it might someday fix what it broke. The eyes, because Lei Bao might want an upgrade one day, and unlike this family, I'll ask him first. The aftermath writes itself across the empire in a week, in everyone else's handwriting. In Stone Desert City, 3 brothers of the Gu clan's main line read the newsletter. The cadet branch's boy just erased one of the 4 great families, and the one with the ghost teacher audibly accelerates his training schedule because cousins keep score even when they love each other, especially then. In the Cloud Mist sect, Ouyang Yue delivers her report and hits the armor detail with the emphasis of a girl watching for a flinch. Lin Jie's face, I'm reliably told, does nothing at all. But that night, the sect master stands alone on her mountain for a long time, and what she murmurs to the wind is that she'll wait for a certain Dou Zun. 4 years left on the clock, sect master. I'm ahead of schedule, and gaining. Me? I lock a door in the emptied Ren compound, feed the bird its inheritance, and come out 6-star Doughmaster Peak, with a tiny green-haired shadow standing guard at the threshold, like a very small, very venomous lion statue who has decided the job is hers now. Westward, then. The Mulan Empire. A fake engagement to break, a real fire to steal, and a bird that's outgrowing its cage. Logistics first, because heists run on paperwork. At the Black Rock City Alchemist Guild, I meet the rest of Arthur's circle. Otto, the region's other fourth-rank alchemist, dignified as a teapot, and his disciple Lin Fei, the city lord's daughter, who treats flirting as cardio and me as new equipment. Useful people, and they drop a useful date. In 6 months, the imperial capital of the Jiama Empire hosts the Alchemist Convention, the continent's Pill Olympics, every guild and power in attendance. 6 months. That lines up, almost to the week, with a certain 3-year promise involving my cousin and a certain runaway ex-fiancé on a certain mountain. The capital then, in 6 months, for both shows. Calendar, marked twice, in ink, underlined. Arthur pays his half of our arrangement up front like a gentleman. A tiger strength pill, 4th grade, permanent strength enhancement. The kind of pill that families mortgage estates over and then lie to the neighbors about. Then our merry troop lifts off for the Mulan Empire on a chartered flying beast. Me, Lin welded to my sleeve, glaring the horizon into compliance, Frostine, maintaining a professional frost at a professional distance, and Lin Fei, who invited herself and considers that binding. 2 days of flight, during which I refine the tiger pill into these inherited arms, and my Lei Gang body jumps to 30 lightning patterns. My arms now have opinions, and the opinions have knuckles. Mid-flight, we take on a passenger, and the universe tips its hand. Wu Lang, 4th young master of, savor this, the exact Xiao family we are flying west to insult, boards at a way station with a brace of guards, takes 1 lap of the deck, and decides the 2 beauties in my party are a buffet with no line. His hand gets about a foot from Frostine's shoulder. His 9-star bodyguard absorbs 1 punch as an educational aid, and Wu Lang himself receives the full curriculum. I pick the heir of the Xiao family up by his collar, walk him to the rail, and throw him off the flying beast. Everyone screams. It's wonderful. What only I know, there's a Chi-Gauze parachute knotted into his robes from the moment I grabbed him, and we're over the low rice terraces of the approach. He lands in a paddy, alive, unhurt, and permanently rearranged as a personality. The girls stare at me in 3 registers of horror. Lin applauds. I'd apologize, but we are literally en route to break an engagement with these people. Consider it a preview of terms. West Desolate City, the Liu family's seat. At the inn, before the main event, I clock something genuinely rare. A drunk old man at the corner table whose spilled wine keeps missing his sleeve. Keeps missing, every time. Under the fumes in the theater, his aura carries weapon lightning, forge resonance of a grade I haven't smelled since my last life. A 7th rank plus artifact refiner, drinking alone in a border town, disguised as furniture. His name is Patriarch Bai. I sit down uninvited, stack his empty cups into a tower a hand high, and talk shop. Real shop. Alloy ratios and soul tempering. The conversation refiners can't fake. He sobers by exactly 1 degree, laughs like a bellows, and writes me a letter of introduction to an organization I'd only half believed existed, the Weapon Alliance. The refiner's answer to the alchemist's guilds, quiet, continental, headquartered somewhere no map admits, with a branch in Beast Desolate City not far from my route. An entire hidden industry of my own profession, and I've just been handed a door key by a drunk. New questline, accepted, framed, hung on the wall. Then, the show we came for, the engagement breaking. The Liu Manor is a palace with a forge attached. You can hear the family's priorities in the architecture, and the reception is exactly as warm as you'd expect, given that I airdropped their 4th son into agriculture on the way in. Clan head Wu Tong, 2-star Dou Ling, is glacially correct. The fiancé himself, 2nd young master Wu Jian, a 2nd-rank artifact refiner wearing the confidence of a 4th, takes 1 look at Frostine's hand resting on my arm, acting, we are acting, and challenges the interloper before the tea cools. The fist clash goes badly for him, publicly, wrist first. My apology gift, a tiger strength pill, which is me being genuinely, extravagantly polite, is mid-presentation when Wu Lang limps into the hall, points at me with a shaking finger, and delivers the aviation story to his assembled family at volume. The room does arithmetic. The arithmetic files charges, so we settle it the family's own way. A stake stool, refiner against refiner, at the forge. If I win, the engagement is annulled with all courtesy and no debts. If I lose, and I want credit for keeping a straight face while agreeing to this clause, I get thrown off a flying beast. Symmetry, I respect it. The Liu Forge is a cathedral with bellows, and Wu Jian plays the home crowd like the heir he is, hammering out a genuinely respectable Tier 2 fiery spear to sustained applause. Then I set up, and I let the vermilion bird into the furnace. The fire turns crimson white and starts singing, actual harmonics, the thunder flame finding the forge's resonance, and the applause dies into the good kind of silence. What comes off my anvil, an hour later, is the thing I've been assembling in my head since Qingshan Town, the fire-restricting cover. A woven net of spirit amethyst and golden sunwood, thunder-tempered strand by strand, Tier 3. Purpose-built for 1 heist I'm still not announcing, though the smarter faces in the room can see it's built to catch something alive and burning. The house appraiser confirms the grade with his hands visibly shaking. Grade 3, against the heir's Grade 2. In the Liu family's own forge, with the Liu family's own coal. Wu Jian gets dragged out mid-scream about cheating, which, from the family whose son gropes guests in transit, is a bold choice of theme, and the engagement is annulled by dinner. Frostine is free. She thanks me with a look that lasts half a second too long, which is a problem I'm returning to Arthur unopened, postage due. And Wu Tong, clan head and pragmatist, pulls me aside for the real transaction of the visit. He wants the fire-restricting covers formula, and he's willing to pay in the one currency I can't forge, his late father's life work. A survey map of the 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, decades of a refiner's obsessive fieldwork, marked with 3 candidate sites where a strange fire might nest. He spreads it on the table, taps the northern mark, and adds, free of charge, the warning that makes it real. That site sits in the territory of the Black Lizard Demon Snake King, 6th tier. Whatever you're planning, boy, do not go north. Sir, the formula is yours, and thank you for the itinerary. Half a month on Lei Bao's back brings us over the 10,000 Beast Mountains, a green ocean from horizon to horizon, with weather made of wings. Site 1 on the Dead Refiner's map, cold, long cold, scorched shadows a century old. Site 2, colder, which leaves, everyone say it with me, the map practically says it, north. As we bank that way, Linlin goes very still against my back and says, in her small, dry voice, that there are snakekin ahead, many, and under them, something older. Her pupils know things mine don't yet. Noted, little one, weapons hot. We overnight near a mercenary way station at the range's edge, and the local drama finds us before dinner does. A man crawls into the firelight with 3 arrows worth of holes in him, a runner named Liam, gasping out his last errand. His team, the Magic Mountain Mercenary Group, leader's daughter Isolde among them, is pinned in the rocks 2 valleys over by the Crazy Lion Mercenary Group. The dispute? A dig site find. An earth core soul fruit, a soul-tempering treasure, the kind of thing that ripens once a century and gets buried under bodies within the week. My spiral soul imprint, which runs on exactly that kind of fuel, develops an appetite on the spot. I intervene, in the sense that a weather event intervenes. The 3 Crazy Lion squad leaders, 8-star Dou masters, all die in the opening seconds, one of them via spear throw through the tree he was hiding behind, which I maintain counts as cover only in the past tense. The rank and file scatter into the rocks, and the last one out, a triangle-eyed creep with good lungs, screams over his shoulder the name he thinks is a shield. The little beast king of Mulan Valley will hear of this. I'm sure he will. Mulan Valley is this empire's resident superpower. Beast-taming sect Dou Zun elders, the works, and its core disciples collect titles like Beast King the way other boys collect knives. The rescued Magic Mountain crew braces for the traditional rescuer's fee, which in these mountains is usually everything plus the boots. Instead, I offer to buy the fruit, full market price, 350,000 gold, counted into Isolde's stunned hands while her surviving people check the coins for curses. Why rob people you might want as witnesses later? The Northeast taught me the accounting. Build machines, not grudges. The mountains, we'll see shortly, grade that philosophy on a curve. The northern site is a cave system under a mountain of bones. Literal bones, a shrine of them, tier upon tier of dead beasts activated into architecture, offerings to something that's been fed for a very long time. Crazy lion tails follow us into the dark to recoup their losses and get electrocuted in a group, which improves both the lighting and the ambiance. At the shrine gate proper, the local management makes its case. A tier 4 rock serpent giant lizard, all plate and patience, unfolds out of the wall like the wall had a spare wall inside it. Lei Bao takes it to the ceiling in a dogfight, and I put my hand on Linlin's shoulder and hand her the moment she doesn't know she's been waiting for her whole caged life. Those pupils of yours, little one, they weren't made for reading in the dark. Scaled things answer them. Command it. She steps forward, terrified, 12 years of cage in her spine, and opens her eyes all the way. 3 jade flowers bloom in each iris, and the shrine goes green. The tier 4 lizard stops mid-lunge like a switched-off machine, wobbles, walks over, and puts its armored head on the ground in front of a girl who barely clears its elbow. She names it Little Nian on the spot. Little weirdo, because children name things. And just like that, my tiny maid has a war mount the size of a barn, and I have to renumber every plan I own. The shrine's inner chamber is where the map's north mark points. The altar, with a 10,000 beast spirit fire, has burned for 1,000 years, fed drop by drop on the essence of the bone mountain above it. The altar is cold, empty socket, scorch ghost on the stone, residue a month old, maybe less. Someone took my fire. The Black Lizard Demon Snake King, 6th tier, the landlord Wu Tong warned me about, got tired of sharing a mountain range with an unattended treasure and dragged it home to its own palace, a month before I arrived. A month. I crossed 2 empires, broke an engagement, and started a mercenary feud for an empty candlestick. All that's left on the altar are 13 fire beads, crystallized droplets of the flame's overflow, each one warm as a coal, which I pocket the way you pocket a receipt for something the universe now owes you. And then, from behind the shrine's back wall, something old and dry starts laughing, and a voice like paper burning asks whether the little human would like to make a deal. Behind the false wall is a second chamber, and in the chamber, wrapped in chains of black light bolted into the living rock, hangs a man-shaped shadow with snake eyes and 10,000 years of bad mood. He introduces himself as Viper Jin. I introduce myself as skeptical. And then he unfolds what he is, rank by rank, and I stop breathing for a moment, because chained to a wall in this backwater mountain is a Dou Zun, or the ghost of one. A soul body, no flesh, no core. The ember of a being from a class of power this entire empire knows only from scripture. His story checks out on details no liar would bother inventing. He's a seven-winged amethyst serpent, the apex evolution of the Medusa line, the snake clan's once-in-an-era miracle. Powerful enough that the spirit race itself, and if you don't know that name, keep it, it's a load-bearing name, came hunting him in his prime. He detonated his own heavenly flame to break their encirclement, crawled across a continent as a dying soul, and got jumped at the finish line by the local landlord, the Black Lizard Demon Snake King, who chained a dying Dou Zun to a wall and has spent years trying to squeeze Medusa evolution secrets out of him. A mugger, interrogating a comet. He wants out. I want everything a Dou Zun's head contains. We deal, and it's the best contract I will ever sign. My side. I burn his soul-locking chains off with thunder, the one force in this mountain his jailer never planned against, and the lynx scream when the vermilion bird bites them. I hand him the Earth Core soul fruit, 350,000 gold of soul-mending medicine to stop his fraying at the edges, and I put my forge on the record. One day, when my craft catches up to my mouth, I will build him a body, a real one, and bring him back for true. His side. 15 years. 15 years of a Dou Zun riding in my beast ring as tutor, advisor, quartermaster of 10 millennia of secrets, and, when I truly need it, the single worst surprise on this continent. The chains come off. The old snake stretches inside his own tattered soul like a man taking off a coat made of years, looks down at the teenager who just hired a calamity on layaway, and starts laughing again, warmer this time, with the rust falling off it. I've acquired a grandpa-shaped weapon of mass destruction, and he's already criticizing my breathing technique, my grip, and my life choices, in that order. My cousin has a ghost teacher in a ring. I have Viper Elder. The twin dragons are now symmetrical, and my half is bigger, and I will be mentioning that at family dinners forever. We fly back to Lannister Town to regroup, and the town greets us with a mood and a smell, smoke. The Magic Mountain mercenary group, Isolde, her father, the people I saved and paid in full, exterminated overnight, their compounds still smoldering, their sign face down in the street. The Crazy Lion's revenge, executed while I was underground making friends with a comet. Bought revenge too. You don't wipe a licensed group inside town limits without a blessing from above. And standing in the town square, waiting for me specifically, is the above. A young man in beast hide finery with a lion's swagger, a bought crowd at his back, and a face that has never once paid retail for anything. The Little Beast King, Jin Feng of Mulan Valley, core disciple, 5-star great dough master, collector of other people's belongings. His opening statement delivered to the square at large is a masterpiece of the genre. I took his Earth Core soul fruit, his, you understand, by right of wanting it, so I may return it, kneel, and enter his service, because my talents amuse him. An assassination spear comes at my back mid-sentence, just to establish the meeting's tone. I catch it without turning around, because tone matters to me too. There's a whole choreography to these young master confrontations, and I know it by heart from a previous life as a reader. You trade insults, you take the slap, you nurse the grudge into the sequel, everyone's stock rises. I skip to the part where his enforcer steps up. Jin Hu, leader of the Crazy Lions, exiled kinsman of the Jin family, 2-star great dough master, and the signature on last night's smoke. Him I fight fair, on purpose. My first even-rank duel in this life. In front of the town, his people burned, because some receipts should be issued in public. We trade 30 blows, and the square loses architecture it will not be reimbursed for. He's strong, vicious, tournament-trained. And then Lei Gong body collects its tuition. My fist goes through his battle armor, through the chi plate under it, through the chest wall behind that. He's dead before his knees get the memo. The square is silent, except for the sound of a bought crowd re-evaluating its purchase. The Little Beast King recalibrates on the spot, because boys like him own exactly 2 settings, threat and purchase. Threat has just died in the square, so out comes purchase. Join Mulan Valley as my first-class guard, princely stipend, glory adjacent to mine. I decline both retail and wholesale. His face does the young master thing, chi rising off him like heat off a griddle, and this is where I unveil the actual plan. The one I whispered to a small green-haired girl an hour ago, on our way into town, when I saw the smoke and understood what it was going to cost somebody. The wall of the square explodes. Little Nian, Linland's Tier 4 rock serpent giant lizard, all plate and momentum, takes the Little Beast King in its jaws like a heron taking a frog, and leaves. Just leaves. Through the opposite wall, out into the wilds, at a Tier 4 sprint, with the air of Mulan Valley screaming muffled administrative threats from inside a mouth. The square is very, very quiet. His Douling bodyguard tears off in pursuit of the dust cloud. I look around at the witnesses with my best stunned bystander face. Terrible thing, wild beasts, no respect for rank. While inside, I'm doing the arithmetic on what I've just manufactured. A Mulan Valley core disciple, publicly abducted by a rock lizard. And rock lizards, as every tracker in this range will swear on their license, belong to one ecosystem, the territory of the black lizard demon Snake King. The snake stole my fire. So I've mailed the snake a lion. Let the two biggest powers in these mountains explain the misunderstanding to each other, loudly, with artillery, while a humble bystander inspects whatever's left of the vault. From inside my ring, Viper Elder, who has listened to the entire design in silence, finally speaks, in the tone of a man updating his own resume. 10,000 years, he says, and I have never watched a Dou master talk two Doujin powers into a war. Uncle, stick around. I've died twice. I don't do small. We stash the unconscious little beast king deep inside lizard country, positioned where his rescuer's own tracking will tell them exactly the story I want told. And I take a cliff cave on the range's shoulder for the last piece of prep. Lin Jie's tier 5 core. The Vajra fire ape's heart she lent me like a pen. Down the bird's throat. The bird chokes. Too much. A tier 5 core into a thunder that's only mid-growth, feeding into a body straddling the great Dou master wall. The feedback comes in like a spring flood through a garden hose, and the hose is my spine. My Dou crystal, the seed of everything. The little sun every cultivator orbits, starts hairline cracking from the inside. Not a bottleneck. A burst pipe, with my name on the invoice, and Viper Elder's voice going sharp in my skull with instructions I'm too busy screaming to follow. What saves me isn't technique, it's rage. 10,000 years of it, banked and waiting. The 7 swords, the shaking voice, the wolf leg, the box my father came home in, the cold altar. All of it comes up at once like a debt called in, and my soul plants its feet in the flood and roars back. The crack becomes a door. The door opens outward, great Dou master, and riding the shockwave of it, my soul vaults a rank of its own. 4th rank soul power. Alchemist Grandmaster territory in the skull of a teenager with a spear and a grudge portfolio. Viper Elder's assessment, delivered dryly from the ring once my pulse agrees to exist. Perhaps, he says, the 15-year contract undercharged. On the horizon, right on cue, the mountains start making weather that isn't weather. Mulan Valley has come for its air, with everything it owns. The War of the 10,000 Beast Mountains opens with a parade I designed and don't attend. Lion Old, one of Mulan Valley's 3 elders, Dou Jin Peak, a man whose sneeze reroutes rivers, marches north at the head of the Jin clan chief, 10 Dou Wangs, 30 Dou Lings, and a grudge riding in a sedan chair. The pre-battle parlay is a masterpiece of 2 parties reading from my script without knowing they've been cast. The Snake King, guilty about exactly 1 theft, assumes the humans have finally come for his stolen Strangefire, and hides nothing about having it, which reads as taunting. Mulan Valley, missing exactly 1 heir, assumes the snake took their boy, and reads every denial as venom. Both sides are telling the truth. Neither is answering the other's question. I could not have written it better, and I did write it. I park Lin Lin safely in town over her triple-pupiled protest, and go to war as a spectator with a shopping list. The valley curdles on schedule. Hundreds of lizards against Mulan's column. 6 or 7 tier 5s in the vanguard grinding against Dou Wangs. A gray lizard blood serpent mauled 3-on-1 above the tree line. And then the ground itself opens, and the black lizard demon Snake King comes up out of his palace like a black river standing up to file a complaint. 6th tier. The air pressure changes for a mile in every direction, and every beast on the mountain lies down without being asked. Lion Old takes him head on, and the sky over the range turns into 2 gods arguing in punctuation marks, which means the palace under the mountain is now the least defended treasury in the empire, and its owner is upstairs, busy being punched by a lion. I go in through the service entrance, so to speak. The corridor guards are big lizards with small imaginations. My soul return trick turns their own tail strikes against each other in the dark, and the survivors flee from what they conclude is a ghost with a grudge against lizards specifically. The deep corridor holds the real lock, an energy restriction older than the palace above it, keyed to kill anything without the blood of its builders. Viper Elder takes the wheel. My body floods with purple gold light. Ancient serpent bloodline borrowed straight from the source riding on my finger. And the restriction reads me as family and holds the door like a butler. The inner shrine is worth the whole war, and I say that as the man who priced the war. Item: a drift of ethereal ice crystals, heaped like frozen moonlight. Space attribute treasure, inert to almost everyone alive. Dessert course for a certain 11th ranked thunder I've been saving room for. Item: a furnace carved from a single beast skull, which I take because it's the finest refining furnace I've seen on this continent and it's free with any burglary. And item: on the center altar, coiled in a nest of scorched gold, breathing like a small sun with opinions, the 10,000 beast spirit fire. The strange fire looks at me. I look at the strange fire. Somewhere above us, muffled through a mountain, its kidnapper is having the afternoon I arranged for him. I unfold the fire-restricting cover, the net I forged in the Liu family's own cathedral, woven for this exact minute. And here's the beautiful part, the part I'd underwritten and didn't dare count on. The net carries my vermilion bird's aura in every strand. And the young fire doesn't fight. It noses the thunder scent like a stray meeting a friendly hand, tastes kinship, and settles into the weave with something adjacent to relief. No battle, no collapsed shrine. The single greatest heist of my 3 lives goes down in the time it takes to fold laundry. The Snake King feels the theft from the middle of his duel. Witnesses say his scream bent trees, and I choose to believe the witnesses, and then the war performs its final service on my behalf. Line old, no fool, reads the snake's sudden anguish, cross-references it with a missing heir who was never here, and realizes mid-swing that some third party has played both armies like a two-string fiddle. The two commanders actually stop fighting to compare notes. Truce on the spot, cemented by the only emotion that crosses species lines cleanly, the fury of the had. And both apparatuses, valley and palace, lion and snake, 10,000 claws with one new hobby, turn to hunting a single polite teenager currently exiting the region at maximum sincerity. It gets close. I want honesty between us. It gets very close. Viper Elder pilots my body with the canyon country, with the purple cloud wings burning triple speed and purple gold light streaming off us like a comet with debts. And it still isn't enough. A Dou Zun's perception is a searchlight the size of a county, and two of them are sweeping in overlapping arcs. At dusk, they box us against a cliff line with nothing behind it but geology. And I stand there on the ledge, wind pulling at the wreck of my robes, doing the calm arithmetic you do when the math is finished. Well, third life. Short, but eventful. Good catering. Then the sky to the south fills with wings, the heavenly serpent mansion, the snake people's hidden power in these ranges, the holy house every scaled thing genuflects toward, descends in force. A Dou Zun elder named Bai Ju at the point of the wedge. Behind her, wingspan by impossible wingspan, an 8-winged black serpent emperor, riding rearguard like a moving eclipse. They fly straight through the standoff, scoop me off the ledge mid-heartbeat, and pause, just long enough to invite the exhausted lion and snake coalition to make it a three-way. It declines to be a three-way. I ask Bai Ju, mid-flight, the only question that matters. Why? And she looks at me with something complicated moving behind her eyes and gestures back along the column. And there, wrapped in a rescue blanket 3 sizes too big, sitting very straight and very pale and not meeting my eyes, is Lin Lin, my tiny maid, whom I parked safely in town. She heard the war turn into a manhunt with my name on it, so she walked into the Heavenly Serpent Mansion's mountain gate, the holy power of her own blood, the people her 3-flowered pupils mark her as royalty to, and she bought me. The price was herself, permanent residence, their future saintess, the greatest treasure their clan will hold in 1,000 years, signed over in exchange for 1 flight of cavalry. 13 years old, and she liquidated her entire future for a boy who told her she was beautiful in a cell. Bai Ju, to her credit, tries to make the invoice painless. She even extends it to me. Join us alongside her, saintess consort treatment, honors fit for royalty. I decline, and we both hear what the declining costs. The goodbye happens on a wind-scoured platform in the high peaks, cloaks snapping, her escort pretending not to listen. Lin Lin finally looks up at me, 3 jade flowers blurred to smears, and tells me she'll grow strong. That when she's strong, she'll protect me. Me, the one who couldn't protect her from her own decision. I put my hand on her green head one last time and give her the only true thing I have on me. This is a loan, little one, not a goodbye. I pay my debts with interest, and as of today, the Heavenly Serpent Mansion is the single largest creditor of my third life. She's still standing on the platform when the wind takes them, small and straight and not waving, because waving is for goodbyes, and she's chosen to believe me. I file the shape of her next to the 2 names engraved inside my ring, but on the other side. The ledger has 2 pages now, debts of vengeance and debts of love. I intend to pay both columns in full, and I am not known for small interest. Then I find the deepest cave in the tallest cliff on the far side of the range, and I take out a net with the sun sleeping in it, and Viper Elder seals the entrance behind us with the last of the day's light. Because the bill for all of this, the war, the theft, the girl on the platform, only balances if I finish the job it paid for. Time to feed the bird a god. Nobody has ever devoured a strange fire with a thunder. I want that stated plainly before I describe the attempt, because nobody ever has is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and most of the work is screaming. The safe method doesn't exist, so I invent the least suicidal one. I don't feed the fire to the bird directly. 2 apex predators meeting in open air ends with a crater and no witnesses. Instead, I swallow it myself. My body, half rebuilt toward celestial thunder, tempered by 100 small agonies, the only vessel on this continent rated for both voltages, becomes the cage and the negotiating table, with the vermilion bird waiting inside like a debt collector in the lobby. The 10,000 beast spirit fire goes down my throat, discovers where it is, and objects with everything 1,000 years of bone-fed flame can object with. I burn from the inside for 3 days. Skin cracks and reseals in tide patterns. My meridians become a map of rivers in flood season. The cave walls glaze. Twice the fire nearly wins outright and makes a run at my soul itself, and twice Viper Elder pours his purple-gold bloodline over me, like a man wrapping a grenade in wet blankets, hissing commentary I'm too busy convulsing to appreciate. And through all of it, patient, ancient, hungrier than anything so young has a right to be, my thunder circles the intruder. closer with each pass, herding it out of my meridians, out of the corners, into the center of me, and then it takes it. Not a clash, a swallow. The vermilion bird burning heaven thunder closes over the strange fire the way night closes over a bonfire, and for one endless hour there are two suns in my chest. I can see my own ribs from the inside, backlit, and then there is one sun, and it's mine. The first thunder in the recorded history of this continent to eat a ranked heavenly flame. The bird's scream of triumph, matured now, past infancy, punched straight through to its peak stage in a single meal, rolls out of that sealed cave through solid rock, and every beast within 100 miles lies down flat and reconsiders its life. What's left of me gets rebuilt by the overflow, and that's not a figure of speech. The feedback flood is so far beyond what my Dou crystal can hold that I have to invent storage on the fly. A divine chi seal, forged in my own chest in real time, an inner vault with a surplus lightning gets packed, compressed, and banked. Fuel for future breakthroughs, sealed behind my sternum like a payroll I'm not allowed to spend yet. And even after banking the bulk of it, the loose change alone pushes me to 5-star Great Dou Master before the cave stops glowing. That night, because the heavens apparently respect momentum, a storm rolls in off the peaks, and I climb to the cliff top and run the Extreme Spirit Thunder Technique's first stage to completion in the rain. The change it buys is in the eyes. When the last bolt finishes with me, my eyes have gone silver. Pupil, iris, all of it, molten metal with a pulse. Lightning extremity silver eyes. Illusions die when they look at me. Lies get measurably harder to sell in my presence. Hidden things develop a shine. And when I need it, this part I save, folded away like the sword mark trick. The silver can spit a soul bolt straight through a man's eyes into his mind. In my past life, these eyes arrived with godhood. In this one, I'm 17, and the reflection in the rain barrel is already someone I remember. One more piece of business while the vault's open. The ethereal ice crystals from the Snake King's shrine. Space attribute, inert as jewelry to anyone else alive, and the exact and only diet of my 11th ranked thunder. I wake it, the second thunder of my 12 to open its eyes in this world, the flash void piercing sky lightning, the spacewalker. I pour the entire crystal drift down its gullet and it matures to juvenile peak on the spot, coiling through my meridians like a seam of silver stitched into the world's fabric. I test the result at the cave mouth at dawn. One step, a fold, a sensation like the universe blinking on my behalf, and I'm standing 10 meters to the left with my sleeves smoking and my stomach arriving a beat late. Teleportation. Crude, short, costs like a wedding. But from this morning forward, there is no cage on this continent with me in it. Ask the last people who thought they had me cornered. Oh, wait, you can't. They signed a truce about it. When I finally come down out of the ranges, my face is up at every way station from here to the border. Mulan Valley wanted posters, 500,000 gold, plus an inner disciple seat for information leading to. The artist has given me villain's eyebrows and a cruel mouth. Under the circumstances, the kidnapped heir, the burgled palace, the two-power war with my fingerprints on the match, honestly, fair. I buy dumplings directly underneath one of the posters, and the vendor looks from the drawing to my face and decides, wisely, that art is subjective. Then I point myself east, because 3 days' ride from here there's a reinforced building in a border town that certifies people like me, and I'm carrying a letter from a drunk. So you're the little junior brother the old drunk mailed me. The woman blocking my way into the Weapon Alliance's Beast Desolate City branch is holding my letter of introduction between two fingers like a fish she isn't sure about. Red robes, gold trim, a smile with a business license, and enough presence that the queue behind me has gone quiet and started studying the ceiling. Shui Ling, she says, branch president. Second disciple of Patriarch Bai, which means that if this letter is real, you and I are family, and if it's fake, you and I are going to have a very educational afternoon. I hand her the sealed half of the letter and watch her read the part the drunk added at the bottom, the part I haven't seen. Her eyebrows do something complicated. When she looks up, the business license is gone, and something hungrier is wearing her face. He says to test you at second rank. She folds the letter. He also says not to be surprised. About that, I put my hands in my sleeves and give her my most reasonable expression. I'd like to test for third. For context, I've walked into this city as a man named Jia Nan, wearing a face that is legally somebody else's, because 200 miles east, there are posters offering 500,000 gold and an inner disciple seat to anyone who can point at me. I'm carrying a Dou Zun in my ring, a battle lion in my beast pouch, and a thunder that ate a heavenly flame, and I have come to this reinforced compound in a border town for one reason. The Weapon Alliance is the only organization on this columns that certifies people like me. Alchemists have guilds, halls, conventions, and entire empires competing to feed them. Artifact refiners have this. A quiet building, a branch president, and a testing hall that smells like cold iron and disappointment. On a continent where everybody worships pills, my entire profession is a rounding error, and I intend to buy the whole thing at rounding error prices. Third rank, Shui Ling repeats. She looks me up and down. 19, travel-stained, borrowed name. Little junior brother, third rank refiners in this branch are older than your city. Then it'll be a short test. She laughs, delighted, and that's when the vice president decides to join the conversation. Han Yun arrives the way middle management always arrives, from behind, with an audience. Green robes, thin mouth, the kind of man who spent 15 years being the second most important person in a room and has developed a philosophy about it. He's a disciple of some Han Zu I've never heard of, which he mentions twice in his opening sentence, and he's heard the phrase third rank from the doorway and taken personal offense at it. The branch's reputation isn't a toy, he says. If this child fails, the record shows Beast Desolate City certifies beggars. Then let's make it interesting, I say. If I pass, you apologize, out loud, in this hall. The queue behind me stops pretending to study the ceiling. Han Yun's smile arrives about a second too late, which tells me he's already accepted and is now trying to look like a man who accepted casually. And when you fail? I'll leave the city, and you can tell the story at dinners for the rest of your life. They put me in the testing hall with a furnace, a materials allowance, and 4 hours. The rules are simple. Produce a weapon, a panel will grade blind. Han Yun takes a seat where I can see him. Shui Ling takes a seat where she can see everything. Here's what nobody in this room knows. In my second life, I was a grand master of this craft. Not the local kind of grandmaster, the kind that gets carved on foundation stones. This continent's refining is a rigid, sad little art. Melt, hammer, insert a magic core, seal, pray. Each step separated, each step supervised by fear. I've watched 3 of their masters work, and every one of them refined materials one at a time, like a man washing dishes. So I do it my way, which is to say I do it all at once. Every material goes into the furnace together. 12 substances with 12 melting points and 11 mutual incompatibilities, and I hold them apart inside the melt with soul power alone. 12 threads, 12 temperatures, 1 hand. And I light it with the vermilion bird. The hall's temperature drops when the crimson thunder flame comes up, because that's what a fire of that grade does to a room. It takes the heat out of everything else to feed itself. Somebody's tea freezes. Han Yun stands up without noticing he's doing it. The flame doesn't roar, it sings. One clear note, and the 12 threads inside my furnace start to move in it like fish in a current. 4 hours later, I put a blade on the table. It's called Bloodthirsty. It's grade 3 by any measure the panel owns, and 2 of the 3 graders spend a long time arguing about whether it's actually verging on grade 4, which is a conversation those men have not had about anything in 11 years. Record youngest third-rank refiner in the Alliance's regional archive. 19, under a fake name, which is going to make the paperwork fun forever. Han Yun gives his apology to the hall in a voice like a man reading his own eulogy and leaves before the applause finishes. Shui Ling watches him go with an expression I recognize, the look of a woman who's been managing that particular tumor for years and has just watched someone lance it for free. Then she takes me to a back room, pours wine I decline and tea I don't, and says, Renjie, I don't put the cup down, because putting the cup down would be an answer. Jia Nan, the letter has your real name in it. Patriarch Bai thought it was funny. She props her chin on her hand. 500,000 gold, little junior brother, plus a seat in Mulan Valley's inner circle. Do you know how much of this branch's budget that is? All of it, she agrees, and drinks her wine. I'm not going to collect, partly because I'd have to explain to my teacher why I sold his last student to a bunch of beast tamers. Mostly because in 30 years, I have never seen a furnace do what yours did, and I would like to know what happens next. That's how I get recruited. Not to a branch, she can't do that alone. A third-rank refiner joining the Alliance proper needs confirmation from headquarters, which sits somewhere in the central continent's western regions, 6 months of travel and a world away. She sends the letter anyway, and while it's traveling, she starts feeding me the thing I actually came for, intelligence. The Weapon Alliance, it turns out, has a spine I can climb. Patriarch Bai's first disciple, my nominal senior brother, a man named Long Wei, is deputy head of the Alliance's foundry, which manufactures roughly 60% of the storage rings in circulation on this continent. 60% of every ring on every finger, and the foundry runs on a material called nailing, spirit-gathering crystals, which are also, and this is the part that makes me sit up, the perfect food for a certain space attribute thunder currently sleeping in my meridians at juvenile peak. I trade her a vial of accompanying purple crystal source, the Lion King's cellar, still paying dividends, for 17 NA stones, one of them high grade. She thinks she's fleecing me. She's fleecing me by exactly the amount I intended. And on my way out, standing in the doorway of a quiet building in a border town, I look back at the hall where 3 graders are still arguing about my blade, and I let myself think the thought I've been circling for a month. This organization has no great grandmaster. It has branches and archives and a foundry and a vice president problem, but no one at the top who can do what I did in that room. Pill Tower rules this continent's alchemists like an empire. The Weapon Alliance rules nothing because nobody strong enough has ever wanted it. I want it. Not today. Today, I'm a wanted man with a fake name and one bag. But I fold that ambition up small and put it in the pocket where I keep the Thunder Emperor thing, and I walk out the gate, where 4 people are waiting for me. Han Yun, first, standing off to the side with his arms folded, wearing the specific serenity of a man who has arranged something and would like credit for it later. Then the reason he's serene. A tall young man in beast-hide finery who has spent the last month having a very bad time and has come here to redistribute it. The little beast king. Jin Feng of Mulan Valley, last seen departing a town square headfirst in the jaws of a Tier 4 rock lizard, courtesy of a small girl and a whispered instruction. He looks rough. Not injured, rescued, which for a young master is worse. Somebody had to go into lizard country and pull him out of a hole, and everyone in his sect knows it, and he has been living inside that knowledge for 4 weeks like a man wearing wet clothes. Flanking him, 2 more of the same species, a tiger-marked bruiser and a bare-shouldered slab, disciples of Mulan Valley's other 2 elders, dragged along for the purpose I'm about to find out. Jie Ren, says Han Yun, savoring it. Or should the branch record show Ren Jie? There it is. 4 weeks of grudge and 1 afternoon of professional humiliation, converted into information and sold to the only buyer in the province. The street starts emptying at the speed of people who've heard the number on the posters. You cost me a month, the little beast king says. He isn't shouting. That's the thing about him. The swagger's gone and what's underneath is worse. A young man who has been laughed at by his own sect and has decided the cure is arithmetic. A month in the dark, with lizards. Do you know what my sect calls me now? I could guess. Don't. He rolls his shoulders and beast chi comes off him in a wave that cracks the flagstones. 5-star Great Dou Master, and rising, he's been training in that hole. You'll say it wrong, and I'll have to kill you slowly. So we go. And for the first minute, it's beautiful, because I've been waiting a month for this too. I come at him with the Divine Might Black Lightning Spear and 30 patterns of Lei Gong body, and no need to hide any of it. The name's out, the posters are printed, there's nothing left to protect. He's fast, he's strong, his beast body technique lets him take hits that would fold a wall. He is also, fundamentally, a young master who has never in his life had to fight someone better than him twice in a row. I break his guard on the 4th exchange, put him through a market stall on the 8th, and he comes up out of the splinters with blood on his teeth and something like relief in his face, because now he gets to use the reason he brought friends. The 3 of them step together, and the chi between them locks. 3 beast desolate technique, Viper Elder says in my skull, sharp as a dropped tool. Earth rank, boy, that's a fusion art. 3 cultivators, 1 power pool, half a step into Do Ling and it doesn't tire. The street goes yellow-white. Tiger, bear, and lion overlay each other in the air above them like a badly printed page, and the pressure that comes off the formation makes the shop signs swing. Half-step Do Ling. Against a great Dou master, that's the kind of gap you don't argue with. That's the kind of gap you apologize to. Fortunately, I don't argue with gaps. I read them. Because here's what 4 exchanges tell me about their masterpiece. The power rotates. It's not 3 men sharing a pool, it's 3 men passing a bucket, and every quarter second the full weight of the formation sits in exactly one of them, while the other 2 are, briefly, ordinary. It's an elegant design. It's the sort of thing you'd invent in a sect where everyone trusts each other, and the sort of thing that survives to Earth rank because nobody in this empire is fast enough to punish it. I'm fast enough. 9 flashes puts 3 of me in the street. The clones aren't illusions, they're after-images with weight, and the formation's rotation has to choose. It chooses wrong, twice, and each wrong choice costs the bear a rib and the tiger the use of his left arm. And when the rotation finally lands where I want it, the full weight of an Earth rank fusion art sitting in the little beast king's body, the other 2 hollow, I stop dodging, stand still in the middle of the street, and open my eyes. All the way. Silver floods out of me. The lightning extremity silver eyes, used in combat for the first time in this life, and what comes out isn't light, it's a bolt with an address on it. It goes past his guard, past his armor, past the fusion art entirely, because none of those things are built to stop something that doesn't touch the body. Straight through the eyes, into the mind. The little beast king drops like a coat off a hook. He's alive. He'll wake up. He will never again condense chi correctly, never advance past where he stood this morning, never lead Mulan Valley or anything else, because the thing I just detonated in his sea of consciousness doesn't heal. In 1 second, in a public street, I have taken a sex crown prince and turned him into a man who will spend 50 years being introduced as someone who used to be promising. I step forward to finish it, and a hand closes around the moment. That's enough. Kong Ming, City Lord of Beast Desolate City, 3-star Do Ling, arrives between one breath and the next with the air of a man who has been watching from a rooftop and timing this precisely. He doesn't look at me like an enemy. He looks at me like a weather system he'd rather have somewhere else. You may leave, he says. I won't stop you, and I won't collect the bounty. This city has been paying Mulan Valley's tolls for 30 years, and I've enjoyed today enormously. But he can't die in my streets. If a Mulan core disciple dies here, they burn the city, and I have to live in it. Fair, honest even. I put the spear away. The tiger and the bear dragged their crown prince out by the armpits, and Han Yuan has already vanished, professionally, the way a man vanishes when the thing he arranged doesn't go the way he sold it. The street starts breathing again. Shui Ling finds me at the north gate an hour later, out of breath, red robes disheveled, having run through half the city to catch me before I leave. She stands there for a second, taking inventory. The bloodied sleeve, the calm, the wanted man in daylight. Central Continent, she says finally. When the confirmation comes back from headquarters, and it will, that's where you'll have to go. It's 6 months' travel and a different world, and half the people there will look at a third-rank certificate the way you look at a wanted poster. I know. I'll be there before you. She jabs a finger at my chest. I'll be waiting, little junior brother. Don't die in some border empire. It would be embarrassing for both of us. Behind me, the road runs east. Ahead of it, in order, a border fortress that's been sealed against me, an empire I haven't seen in a year, a cousin with a duel to fight, and a promise with 4 years left on the clock. I take the road. 2 months in a ravine cave before I try the border, because walking into a sealed fortress underpowered is how people end up in ballads. The Na stones go to the flash void piercing sky lightning, 16 ordinary, 1 high grade, poured into the space thunder over 6 weeks while it grows from juvenile toward its second stage. The results are worth every crystal. The blink is up to 3 meters and self-directed now, meaning I don't have to plan it, I just have to want it, and the world folds around the wanting. Then the fire beads from the empty shrine, those 13 crystallized drops of the 10,000 B spirit fire, go into the Lei Gang bodies 6 at a time. Every bead is an hour of my flesh being taken apart and stacked back up with more monster in it. 50 lightning patterns. 6-star Great Dou Master. 2 months of screaming into a rolled-up cloak so the mountain doesn't report me. When I come down, the local intelligence is exactly as bad as it should be. Shanhe Pass, the border fortress between the Mulan Empire and everything east, has been sealed on Mulan Valley's request. 40,000 troops, 3 layers of gate, and, personally installed on the wall, the Mulan royal family's own old ancestor, Huo Shan, 4-star Dou Jin Peak, a man who has held that wall since before my grandfather was born, and strung along the battlements, breath-detecting spirit pearls, little cold white marbles that don't care what your face looks like, only what your chi tastes like. There's no disguise for that, which is fine, because I'm done with disguises. I walk up to the pass in daylight with the hood down. The pearls go off like a xylophone falling downstairs. The gate towers wake up, and then 100 of the Empire's elite pour out of the sally port in perfect formation, which is the last formation several of them will ever hold, because I open with a lightning sweep at full width, and the front rank simply stops existing in a coherent way. It's not a battle, it's a demonstration with casualties. Then Huo Shan comes off the wall, and the demonstration stops being mine. He drops 50 feet and lands without bending his knees, and the shockwave takes the men on either side off their feet. Rock attribute chi, ancient and patient, the kind of cultivation that's been the same for 60 years because it never needed to change. He doesn't posture, he just says in the tired voice of a man doing his job, "Turn around, boy. I don't want your bounty, and I don't want your corpse in my ledger." I like him immediately, which doesn't change anything. "Uncle," I say, out loud, in front of 40,000 men, and every soldier on the wall assumes I've lost my mind talking to nobody. "Your turn." Viper Elder takes the wheel. The thing about wearing a Dou Zun is that the world's opinion of you updates instantly and without argument. Purple gold light comes out of my skin in ribbons, my shadow goes wrong on the ground, and the sound that comes out of my chest isn't a shout, it's a serpent's roar with 10,000 years of authority in it. Huo Shan's rock sword storm, his signature, the wall's best defense for 6 decades, comes apart in the air like a sandcastle meeting a tide. He goes back 40 meters and takes a section of his own fortification with him. He gets up. Old men who hold walls get up. He stands there, bleeding from the ear, looks at the purple gold light, and does the arithmetic every commander eventually has to do. "Dou Zun," he says, not a question. "Passing through," Viper Elder says with my mouth, in a voice that isn't mine. And the Mulan royal family, to their enormous credit, and I want this recorded, chooses correctly. Huo Shan calls the gate open, not for the bounty, not for Mulan Valley, but because the royal house of Mulan has spent 30 years being politely leaned on by a beast-taming sect, and here at last is a lever big enough to lean back with. The soldiers part. The gate winds up. I walk through a fortress that has been sealed against me, past 40,000 men, at a stroll. At the far side, I stop and settle the account, because I don't take gifts. To Huo Shan, the royal family holds a favor from me, redeemable, 1, no expiry. To Mulan Valley, loudly enough for the wall to carry it home. Touch me again, and I won't take a disciple's cultivation. I'll take the valley. It's not a threat. Threats are for people with something to lose. It's a schedule. East of Shanhe Pass, the road runs into the Jia Empire, and my chest does something complicated, because that's home. Wutan City is 3 weeks that way. Grandpa's in it, probably still working, definitely still telling people his grandson writes. But first the capital, because the calendar's been marked in ink for months. the Alchemist Convention, and 8 days after it, a mountain where a girl broke my cousin's engagement 3 years ago, and a boy promised to come back for it. And one more errand, added quietly to the top of the list. Viper Elder has been paying for me. The wall stunt cost him. That borrowed bloodline power isn't infinite, and every time he drives my body, he spends principal he can't earn back. He's been getting thinner in the ring for weeks, hoarse in a way he pretends is style. So, the capital, a convention full of the continent's best alchemists, their treasuries, and their trade goods. Somewhere in that building is something that restores a bloodline. I intend to find out who's carrying it. The Jama Holy City is the empire's capital, and after a year of mountains, it hits like a wall of noise and perfume. 800,000 people, palace towers, and at the center of the commercial district, the thing I've come to, the middle auction house headquarters, 4 floors of marble and money. The woman who runs the floor now comes down the stairs, stops dead, and drops a ledger. You, says Lin Hua. She's moved up in the world, acting head of the headquarters auction house, thanks to a year in which a certain black-robed teenager kept feeding her family miracle products, and a certain other black-robed teenager sold them a batch of pills that restarted their fortunes. She's also, I note, exactly as dangerous as she was in Wutan City, plus a year of practice. We do our reunion in her office with the door closed, which sets the building gossiping instantly. She wants 3 things: the story, the merchandise, and an explanation for the poster she has framed in her drawer with my face on it. I give her 1.5 of those, plus my actual request. I need her intelligence network. I'm hunting a specific class of treasure, something that restores a damaged bloodline. Rare, expensive, and probably not on anyone's public catalog. She agrees before I finish the sentence, which is when I get suspicious, and she smiles and produces the bill. Tonight there's a gathering at the Ouyang family's estate, and she needs an escort because a man named Han Gang won't take a hint. Han Gang of the Mu family, one of the empire's 3 great families, is a Dou Master peak lunatic who has decided Lin Hua is a project. He's been showing up at her events for a year. Her family, who would very much like a Mu marriage, thinks this is charming. She's been fending him off with schedule conflicts and diplomacy since spring, so I put on a decent robe and go be a wall. The Ouyang estate is stuffed with the capital's young talent, which makes it a very efficient evening for me. First, Ouyang Yue in person, the girl who audited me in a Northeast Inn a year ago and then watched my robe tear open on a battlefield. She recognizes me instantly, and her whole face performs a small, silent scream. She still hasn't told her master. I can see her deciding, again, not to. Second, Wu Qing, disciple of Xie Kun, Jama's finest alchemist, who dislikes me on sight for the crime of standing next to a beautiful woman, which is a hobby apparently. And third, across the courtyard, in a black robe with his hood up like an idiot, my cousin. He's calling himself Gu Tian here, mysterious young master, and he is doing the disguise thing with the confidence of a man who has never been recognized by anyone who mattered. I let my soul brush his, one clean touch, the way you knock on a door you own, and watch him spill his wine. The soul transmission conversation we have across a crowded courtyard, while both of us smile at other people, is the warmest thing that's happened to me in a year. He's a Dou Master, 7-star, with a 5th rank alchemist's flame and a schedule. 8 days from now, Yunlan Mountain, 3-year promise, in front of the whole empire. He knows about Chen City. He's read the same newsletters everyone else has. What he says in my head is, cousin, you got very frightening. What Viper Elder says, at the same moment, in the same head, is much more interesting. Boy, that thing on your cousin's arm. A paws with teeth in it. That's a 7-colored sky swallowing python, and there's a soul riding it. A big one. I look again with silver eyes, and there she is, coiled around Gu Chen's forearm as a bracelet, dormant, radiating an aura I recognize from a book I read on a dorm bed. Queen Serpentina, ruler of the snake people of the Tagore Desert, one of the 2 or 3 most dangerous beings in the Jiama Empire, currently a soul in a snake because Gu Chen robbed her cave for a heavenly flame and got the guardian as a package deal. In the original story, this arrangement ends with her waking up and trying to eat him for several volumes. Viper Elder is very quiet for a moment, then, that's my great-grandniece. The evening improves considerably from there, though not for Han Gang, who picks that exact moment to try his luck. He shoulders in on Lin Hua, and when I put a hand between them, he does what Dou Master peak lunatics do and throws a punch at my head in a crowded courtyard. I catch it with about 1/10 of what I've got and let him feel exactly how much room is left. He goes gray. Then, because a lesson without a receipt is just an anecdote, I walk him to the estate's front gate and put my palm on the iron, and the Ouyang family's ornamental gate becomes a puddle with a handprint in it. Stay away from her, I tell him, conversationally, in front of 40 of the Empire's finest young people. The Mu family can't protect you from me, and I want you to check that with them tonight so you sleep on it. He checks. They confirm. By breakfast, the capital has a new name to talk about, and by lunch, the imperial family is taking an interest. Princess Jin Shi starts scheming about matching me with her elder sister, the first princess, because empires collect talents the way I collect thunders. Lin Hua, publicly established as the woman I flattened a Mu heir over, spends the next day being visited by every gossip in the city and enjoying herself enormously. That night, she and I talk on her balcony, and the conversation turns serious in the way conversations do at 2 in the morning. Her family is closing in on the Mu marriage. It's not romance, it's an asset transfer, and she's the asset. She spent 5 years making herself the most competent person in her clan, and she's about to be handed to a lunatic because clan politics doesn't read resumes. And I don't offer to marry her, or to kill him, or any of the other things she's braced for. I say, rather than be controlled by the family, control the family. She goes very still. I lay it out, because I ran markets in my second life, and this one's easy. She already runs the headquarters house. She already has the relationships, the intelligence, the numbers. What she lacks is the nerve to stop being an asset and start being a shareholder. And one supplier, say, a refiner who can produce merchandise no one else on the continent can, who deals only with her. Her hands are shaking on the railing, and it's not fear. When she goes inside, I take off my outer robe and put it over her shoulders, because the winds come up off the river, and she hasn't noticed. Nobody forces you into anything while I'm in this city, I tell her. It's the least romantic thing I've ever said, and she looks at me like I've handed her a kingdom, which, arguably, I have. The paperwork on that idea is going to take her a decade. She's going to enjoy every year of it. 2 nights later, I get my cousin alone in a rented room with the windows shuttered, and he takes the hood off, and we're just 2 boys from Wutan City again for about 4 minutes before business starts. The business is a trade, and it's the biggest one either of us will make this year. I want the python. Specifically, I want the queen inside it, because Viper Elder's great-grandniece is a ticking bomb strapped to my cousin's arm, waiting for the day his ghost teacher naps at the wrong moment. In canon, that day comes. In canon, she wakes up in the desert with him at 4% strength, and the next 100 chapters are a chase scene. What he wants, it turns out, is exactly what's been in my pocket since a cave in the Magical Beast Mountains. A fragment of an old map with a purple lotus inked in the corner. The Purification Lotus Demon Flame. Ranked 19th on the list of heavenly flames, and the second fire his path needs. He stares at the fragment for a long moment. I watch him do the arithmetic, a legendary treasure for a bracelet. And then he does the thing that makes him the protagonist and not just a talent. He asks whether I'm getting the worse end. Cousin, I tell him, in about 10 seconds, you're going to find out I've been getting the better end of every trade I've ever made, and you're still going to want this one. We swap. He nearly vibrates out of his skin, and the moment his door closes behind me, the bracelet on my wrist comes alive. She doesn't attack, which honestly disappoints me a little. She surfaces, a coil of 7-colored light, a woman's voice like cold honey poured over a blade, and asks, with perfect calm, what exactly I'm carrying that smells like her ancestors, and whether I'd like to explain it before or after she eats my soul. Uncle, I say, this one's yours. And Viper Elder steps out of my ring. I have never seen a Dou Zun soul look nervous. It lasts about a heartbeat, and then Queen Serpentina, who has spent centuries as the apex predator of an empire, who is currently a homeless soul riding a snake, makes a sound I can only describe as very small, and the temperature of the room changes. Her great-granduncle, his sister Mei Lin, was her great-grandmother. The 7-winged amethyst serpent line, whose evolution secrets the black lizard demon snake king chained him to a wall over, runs directly into her bloodline. She's been alone at the top of her species for her entire adult life, hunted, sealed, and reduced to a bracelet, and out of a teenager's ring steps the last elder of her own house. They talk. I make tea and pretend to be furniture, and Viper Elder explains the arrangement he's made with the strange boy, and Queen Serpentina turns her attention on me with an entirely different weight in it. The deal we cut is clean. Her problem is that her soul and her body have separated. She's a queen without a chassis, and every year she stays in the python, she loses ground. My side of the table. I'm an artifact refiner from a continent that solved this, and in my head is the blueprint for something called the Wrong Ling Holy Grail, a tier 6 artifact that restores and rebuilds soul power and can fuse a soul back to a body. I build it, she gets her body. In exchange, when I need her, she stands where I point. I've now recruited 2 Dou Zun class monsters out of the same family in 1 year. Viper Elder, watching me shake hands with his great-grandniece, makes an observation that I will be hearing in my nightmares. Take her, kid. Our line marries strong. Uncle, she's 400 years old and I have 2 fiancés. Exactly, he says. You need the practice. The Alchemist Convention opens 3 days later in the Royal Square, and the Empire empties itself into the seats. It's the Pill Olympics. Every guild in the Jiama Empire plus foreign delegations, judged by Zhen Shi, the Alchemist Guild president, the Empire's second best, under the eye of Song Guang, the royal family's own old ancestor, Dou Jin Peak, a man who wears his rank like a comfortable coat. Arthur and Otto are here from Black Rock City. Lin Fei waves at me with her whole arm. Frostine, silver-haired and freed of her engagement, looks at me for a beat too long and then very deliberately at the floor. And beside me, because I brought her and because the entire capital is watching, is Lin Hua, which is doing interesting things to the princess's seating plan. I also make a friend, which happens to me approximately once a decade. Xuan Bai, white-haired, ice-natured, technically the middle family's guest elder, and actually one of the strongest men in the empire. The Ice Emperor, retired, bored, and delighted to find someone who can talk about ice attribute technique structure at a level that isn't insulting. We spend an entire round of the competition ignoring the competition. By the end of the day, he's calling me little brother, and I'm calling him old man, and we have plans to drink. Then the rounds start, and my cousin does what he came to do. Gu Chen, as Gu Tian, put on, mysterious to everyone except me and 3 people who suspect, puts a green lotus core flame on the table in front of the Empire's best, and starts refining things that shouldn't be refinable at his age. The crowd loses its mind. Xie Kun, the Empire's finest, leans forward. And I look past all of it at a man in the 4th row who is trying very hard to be ordinary. Silver eyes are unkind to camouflage. There's a contestant here, registered as a nobody from a border guild, who is carrying a 7 to 8 star Dou Ling's Qi under a suppression technique and a 5th rank alchemist's soul under that. A ringer, sent to humiliate the Jiama Empire on its own stage by whoever pays him. Lin Hua's network has a name for me by evening. Zhao Lei, vice president of the Azumo Empire's Alchemist Guild, here under a false registration, and a cargo manifest, which is the part that makes my night. Zhao Lei is carrying an imperial origin blood tracing fruit, a treasure that restores original bloodline power, the exact medicine for a Dou Zun soul who's been spending his principal to open my doors for me. That night, the Empire's heavyweights hold a very quiet meeting in a very nice room. Zhen Qi, Xuan Bai, Song Guang. They've made the same identification I have an hour later, and they have a problem. A registered contestant can't be executed for being good, and a foreign guild's vice president can't be quietly disappeared without giving Izumo a casus belli. So they'll expose him publicly at the finals and eat the diplomatic incident. Fine. Slow, but fine. Institutions have to do things institutionally. I have no institution. So while their meeting runs, I'm on a rooftop 4 streets away, watching a man walk back to his lodgings, and when he passes under the eaves, I let one thread of space attribute lightning off my finger. It doesn't touch him. It touches the air behind his collar and stays there, a spatial mark, invisible, weightless, permanent, until I collect it. Wherever you go after this, Vice President, wherever you think you've gone, the day this convention ends is the day you die. The finals are the best theater the capital's had in a decade, and I want to be fair to everyone involved. Zhao Lei earns his place in it. His purple heart barrier-breaking pill comes out of the furnace with 2 full pill patterns and a medicinal aura that has half the judges standing. And for about 90 seconds, the Azumo Empire is winning the Jiama Empire's own tournament in its own capital. Then my cousin opens his hands and there are 3 flames in them. Green Lotus Core Flame, his own. Bone-chilling Flame, his teacher's, on loan from a ring. And the ordinary furnace fire under both, braided into a single controlled column by a 19-year-old whose soul control shouldn't exist at his rank. What comes out is a 3-pattern azure spirit pill, and when it lands in the tray, the entire royal square makes a sound like a held breath being dropped. Zhen Qi announces the champion in a voice that isn't entirely steady, and Zhao Lei is gone from his seat before the applause peaks, out of the square, out of the district, into the slums, to a safe house run by his guild's intelligence post, where he starts burning documents. I collect him at midnight. The spatial mark hums when I reach for it, and one step folds 4 streets into a doorway. He's fast, I'll give him that. The moment the air ripples, he's already thrown the netherworld poison, a black mist that eats through Dou Ling defenses in 3 breaths, and would have killed the boy I was a year ago. Viper Elder's bloodline burns it out of the air like sunlight hitting fog. You're the boy from the 4th row, Zhao Lei says, backing up, recalculating. What are you? Someone who needed what's in your ring, I tell him, and got tired of institutions. A purple gold bean goes through his forehead before he finishes his next sentence. The loot is worth the whole convention. The imperial origin blood tracing fruit. First, a knuckle of something that looks like frozen sunrise, and the reason for the entire operation. And beside it, his purple heart barrier-breaking pill, the finals entry, which I take for one specific reason. Zhen Qi slipped a hidden soul mark onto that pill during the judging, the polite way an empire keeps track of foreign contraband. I burn the mark out with a thread of thunder, and the pill becomes anonymous, and the guild that comes looking for their vice president finds a dead man and no threads. Back in my room, Viper Elder distills the fruit over 4 hours and drinks it, and I sit across from him and watch a ghost put on weight. When it's done, the thing in the corner of my room is no longer a tattered soul making do. He flexes fingers that briefly look solid. Boy, he says, and his voice has stopped being hoarse. If a Dou Zong comes at us now, I can hold him. Not beat him. Hold him. A pause. It's been a long time since I could promise anyone that. Which is when both of us feel the Watcher. The burst of restored bloodline power lit us up like a signal fire, and somewhere above the rooftops, a presence has been paying attention for exactly as long as it took to notice. Dou Jin Peak, sitting on the ridgeline of the building opposite, in no hurry at all. I go out to meet him because running from a Dou Jin is a form of comedy. He's an old man in servant's clothes with a face like a shut ledger, and he introduces himself as Wei Long, and he tells me, without preamble, who he serves. Ming-er. The quiet girl in Xi'an from the family courtyard has a Dou Jin Peak guardian, and he's been in this capital for weeks because his young lady's standing orders are to watch over a certain 3-year duel taking place in 8 days. He's also, he mentions, been ordered, since a certain talent test in Wutan City, to befriend Ren Jie, and never under any circumstances to provoke him. I ask why she'd bother. He looks at me for a while and then says, my young lady doesn't explain herself, but she has never once been wrong about who to invest in. Also, he adds, on his own initiative, your fiancée is doing well at Xiao Nan Academy, Gu Jie. Her instructors are baffled about where she got her cultivation art, and she refuses to say. She's placed near the top of her year. Old man, that's the nicest thing anyone's said to me in a year, and you're a spy. We part on excellent terms, which means Minger's clan has now formally opened diplomatic relations with a boy from the servants' quarters. Viper Elder's assessment, once the old man's gone. Ancient clan, God-grade bloodline in the girl. That family doesn't befriend people, boy, they draft them. Let them try. My dance card's full. 8 days later, the Empire climbs a mountain to watch a boy keep a promise. Yunlan Mountain, home of the Cloud Mist sect, first sect of the Jia Empire, and the organization that used to write letters to my father's murderers. The Ouyang family is here in force. The Imperial family sent observers. Half the capital's nobility has made the trip, because 3 years ago a girl broke an engagement in front of everyone, and a boy said one sentence on his way out, and this empire has been waiting for the receipt ever since. Gu Chen breaks through to Great Dou Master that morning, on the road, using the purple heart pill I quietly handed him with the serial number filed off, and I walk up the mountain beside him. That part isn't in the original story. In the book he goes alone, and he stands alone, and the Cloud Mist sect stacks the deck in front of a hostile crowd. In this version, the sect's greeting party at the gate gets a second name to write down. Gu family, Renjia, here to observe. They know the name. Half the empire knows the name. Chen City made sure of that. And when the Grand Elder Lin Hai comes down to preside, in the sect master's absence, with the smooth authority of a man who intends to referee a fight his own sect has a stake in, I open the day's proceedings with a polite request. I'd like to co-host. The mountain goes quiet. Co-hosting a duel means standing beside the judge, which means the judge can't do anything creative, which is the entire point and everyone knows it. Lin Hai smiles at me the way institutions smile at problems. Then he looks at the Ouyang family, and at the Imperial observers, and at a couple of thousand witnesses who came for a fair fight, and grants it. 2 chairs on the platform, one of them mine. Ouyang Yue fights beautifully. I want that on the record too, because it would be easy to make her the villain of the afternoon, and she isn't one. She's a talented girl who did a cruel thing at 16 because her family and her sect told her it was the sensible thing, and she spent 3 years being very good at everything to avoid thinking about it. Her sword art is profound rank, polished to a mirror. She's a great Dou master. She has the mountain, the crowd, and her master's sect behind her, and Gu Chen takes her apart in front of all of them, not cruelly. That's the part that makes my chest hurt a little, watching from the judge's chair, my cousin, who spent 3 years being called trash by people who are now standing on this mountain to watch him, fights her with total control and no theater. He matches her sword for sword until it's clear he can, and then he opens his hands and fuses 2 flames into one small, terrible blue-white lotus, and the mini Buddha's Fury fire lotus goes off, and the arena is a crater with a girl kneeling in it. He walks over, puts out a hand, and says the sentence he's been carrying for 3 years. And it isn't a curse, it's a discharge. From today, you and my Gu family have no further connection. Congratulations on your freedom. The mountain erupts, and in the middle of it, the hood comes off, and about 2,000 people learn simultaneously that the mysterious Gu Tian who just won the Alchemist Convention and the Gu Chen who just won this duel are the same person. And Ouyang Jie, her grandfather, who arranged the engagement break, has to sit down. That's when the Cloud Mist sect plays the card I've been waiting for. Elder Yunlan, 3-star Dou Ling, steps forward with an announcement dressed as a technicality. No great Dou master could produce that fusion. Therefore, the boy used external assistance. Therefore, the result is void. It's the oldest move in the book. You can't beat the champion, so you disqualify him, and you use rank to make the accusation stick, because who's going to argue with a Dou Ling? I stand up from the judge's chair. Elder, I say, I'm a great Dou master too. Would you like to see what one of us can do? He turns, already smirking, already composing the lesson, and I hit him with the spiral soul imprint and a lightning bolt from the silver eyes at the same instant, one through the front of his mind and one through the back. A 3-star Dou Ling of the first sect of the Empire hits the flagstones face first and does not get up. 2,000 people make no sound whatsoever. Apologies, I say into the silence. He may have overexerted himself, or your elders are weaker than advertised. I'd hate to speculate in front of guests. What follows is the fastest escalation I've ever personally caused, and I've caused a 2-power war. Lin Hai stops pretending. He orders 3 Dou Wang elders to seize me, right there, in front of the Imperial observers, over a duel his sect had already lost. And Gu Chen, who could have stepped back, puts himself at my shoulder instead, and the 2 of us stand on a hostile mountain against the first sect of the Empire while the crowd scrambles for the stairs. The wind cocoon they drop on us gets shredded from inside by strange fire and thunder in tandem. Then, Xuanbai arrives from the guest terrace, like winter arriving early. Ice Emperor, unretired for exactly 1 afternoon, and the temperature of the entire mountainside drops 30 degrees. Lin Hai answers with the sect's grand formation, the cloud mist covering the sun, and the sky goes white. So I let out the bracelet. The 7-colored sky-swallowing python unspools out of my sleeve into 30 feet of scaled light, and Lin Hai's formation buckles like wet paper. He rallies. It becomes a stalemate, python against sect, 2 Dou Wangs down, everything on the mountain screaming. And then Lin Hai gets desperate and throws a spiral kill shot at Gu Chen's back, and it stops 6 inches away in the fingers of an old man in servant's clothes who has been pretending to be furniture all afternoon. Wei Long, revealing precisely as much of himself as his young lady's orders permit. The Gu family, if you say so. now. The mountain's reaction to discovering the Gu family has a Dou Zun in its pocket is worth the entire trip. And then Lin Hai, ruined, out of options, blows a flute made of bone, and Lin Xuan comes out of the mountain. Here's what should be true. Lin Xuan, the Cloud Mist sect's old sect master, was crippled and retired years ago. Here's what's true instead. He's alive, he's healed, and he's a Dou Zun. Somebody has spent a great deal of money and a great deal of somebody else's books putting this old man back together, and my silver eyes can see the seams, a black, oily residue in his chi that I recognize from a book, and the recognition drops through me like a stone into a well, Hall of Souls. In the Jia Ma Empire, years early, the Dou Zun lands on the platform and the stone spiderwebs under his feet, and every powerhouse on this mountain, Xuan Bai, Wei Long, all of them, recalculates whether they can leave. And I step out in front of my cousin and say, let me be your opponent. Viper Elder takes the wheel with the Imperial Origin fruit still burning in him, and my body fills with purple gold light, and the thing that comes off my hand isn't a technique, it's a serpent of pure ancient bloodline 40 feet long. Lin Xuan's strongest art wins extreme, Annihilation, the move that made him a legend in this empire, meets it in the air over the platform, and the two of them grind each other into nothing, and the shockwave takes the roof off the sect's outer hall. Dead even. A Dou Zun with a fresh sponsor, against a Dou Zun soul spending borrowed principle through a 19-year-old's body. Dead even, and both of us know exactly what that means. Lin Xuan lowers his hands first. Even as a Dou Zun, he says, in the flat voice of a man doing sums he doesn't like, I can't hold you, so we leave. All of us, down the mountain, unharried, past a sect that has just learned in public that it cannot touch the Gu family twin dragons. The Empire's opinion of my clan changes permanently in the space of one afternoon, and by nightfall Song Guang is pushing the princess marriage alliance idea like a man with a deadline. Partings at the bottom of the mountain. Xuan Bai, who owes me a spirit pill and calls me brother, and who has a new hobby now, being unretired. Wei Long, who leaves my cousin with a sentence I hear him carry for weeks. Become stronger, boy, or you won't even have the right to choose the one you love. And me, standing on the road with the mountain behind me, taking the moment to recenter on the actual list. Not this empire, not this sect. Malign scourge, Ling Hua. Wait for me in the major thousand worlds. I'm coming, and I'm bringing weather. Then I turn for home, because I haven't seen my grandfather in a year, and I've got gifts in my ring for an old man who thinks his grandson writes letters for a living. We hear the fighting from 2 streets away. Wutan City, home, the gate I walked out of a year ago, and the Gu compound is under siege. The Jia Lie remnants and the Ao Ba clan, with a third-rank alchemist bankrolling them, are 3 hours into storming my family's walls, because somebody fed them a very confident rumor. The Gu family twin dragons are dead, died in the Mulan Empire. Verified. Go take everything. They've breached the outer courtyard. There are Gu bodies on the flagstones. I don't say anything. I open the beast ring and let Lei Bao out, and my lion, Tier 4, Purple Fire. A year of sleeping on a dead god's bones lands in the courtyard of my grandfather's house and takes the siege apart clan by clan. It takes 4 minutes. When it's done, there is no Jia Lie clan and no Ao Ba clan, and the alchemist they hired is a stain, and my cousin and I walk through our own gate over what's left. I find Gu Wei's study empty and wrong. I find the family in the inner hall with their heads down. 3 days ago, 3 days. 3 men in black robes came up this street. Not clans, not rivals. Cloud Mist sect. Lin Hai and 2 elders, sent while we were on their mountain being co-hosts, because the sect had already decided how the duel was going to end, and had already sent people to make sure the Gu family paid for it either way. They took Gu Wei. My uncle, the clan chief, Gu Chen's father, gone, and even the Cloud Mist sect doesn't have him, I learn later. Somebody older and quieter took him off them in transit, hunting an heirloom my cousin's family doesn't know it's carrying. And Grandpa, the elders tell it carefully, the way people tell you the thing they've been dreading saying. He wasn't a fighter. He was 70 years old, with a crippled cultivation and a bent back. When the black robes came through the inner courtyard, he was standing in front of the ancestral hall, which is where the family tablets are, which is where my father's tablet is. The backlash from the fight knocked him into a wall. He lasted 2 days. He asked about me twice. They buried him yesterday. His tablet is in the ancestral hall now, beside my father's, in the room he was standing in front of when it happened. I go in alone. Somebody lit the incense already. The family's been good about that. And I stand in front of 2 pieces of wood, a man they cut apart in a laboratory, and a man who gave me 700 gold coins in a rag because men need money to become men. And I understand, in a way I have not understood in 3 lives, what it is to be too late by 3 days. Everyone I trusted in my second life put a sword in me. In this one, exactly 1 person handed me his entire life without being asked, and I was on a mountain co-hosting a duel while he died in a courtyard. I don't cry. I have that particular skill. I stand there until the incense burns out, and then I go outside and tell my cousin, in a voice I do not recognize, that we're moving the clan to Stone Desert City tonight, and that Lin Hai is going to die, and that after Lin Hai, the Cloud Mist sect will cease to exist. The clan moves. Gu Chen is named young clan leader in his father's absence. The elders name me an elder of the family, which is a courtesy I accept without hearing. Stone Desert City has walls, and his brothers have mercenaries. It'll hold. And then the 2 of us go back up the mountain. We arrive at Yunlan Mountain in the afternoon, and the gate guards see 2 boys walking up the road and start ringing bells. Lin Jia is back. She's on the steps of the main hall when we come through the outer wall. The sect master returned from wherever her sect sent her while all this was arranged in her absence, and I can see in her face that she spent the ride home learning what her grand elder did. She looks at me and starts to say my name, and my face does something that stops her mouth, because whatever is on it isn't for her. Lin Hai comes out with the half-truths ready, a regrettable escalation, an unfortunate accident, an old servant who shouldn't have been standing there. He's still talking when Gu Chen raises his hands and puts both flames together, the full Buddha's Fury Fire Lotus, not the mini, the real one, the technique that costs him everything he has, and drops it into the center of the Cloud Mist sect. Half the sect goes up, buildings, courtyards, the Great Hall's roof. The blast wave flattens the terraces, and in the middle of the fire, mangled and screaming and still alive, is the Grand Elder of the first sect of the Jia Ma Empire. I walk into the smoke to finish it. He tries to bargain. They always do. Treasures, positions, the sect's protection, his life for information. I don't answer, because there's nothing to say to him that isn't already carved on a piece of wood in Stone Desert City. The spiral soul imprint goes through his forehead and out the back of his mind, and Lin Hai, who sent 3 men to my grandfather's house because a duel didn't go his way, stops. Grandpa, that's one. The Cloud Mist sect's answer comes down out of the sky like a dropped anvil. Lin Xuan, Dou Zun, declaring the Gu family twin dragons kill on sight and unleashing everything at Gu Chen first, because my cousin has just spent his entire reserve on that lotus and is standing in the crater with nothing left. The strike is halfway to him when Gu Chen's eyes change color, and a voice that isn't his says, very calmly, that it's been a long time since anyone tried that. Shenzhou is awake. For about 90 seconds we're winning. Shenzhou, driving Gu Chen's body, fights a Dou Zun to a standstill, which tells you everything about what the #1 alchemist on this continent used to be. Viper Elder is restored and rested. Between the 2 Soul Elders we have 2 Dou Zong's worth of pressure on a mountain that's already burning, and I'm standing in the crater doing the arithmetic on annihilation. Blood debts get paid in blood, and this sect is going into the ground today. Then a beautiful woman appears in front of me, and the arithmetic stops. Lin Jie, close enough to touch, hands empty, her sect on fire behind her. She apologizes first, for my grandfather, on behalf of the Cloud Mist sect, in a voice that's steady the way a bridge is steady right before it isn't. The dead can't be brought back, I tell her. My grandfather's debt gets paid in blood. And then she asks, not as a sect master, she's not using any of that. She asks me to spare the Cloud Mist sect for her. And I watch the proudest woman I've ever met set down every piece of armor she owns to do it, because this burning mountain isn't a political asset to her. It's the place she was raised. It's home. I stand there for a moment, holding 2 things that don't fit in the same pair of hands. Then I give her my terms, and they're the only ones I have. Lin Xuan surrenders, and I'll spare his life. Every disciple and elder walks out safely, and the Cloud Mist sect disbands. From today, the Jia Ma Empire has no Cloud Mist sect. Her face goes white, because she knows both halves are impossible. Lin Xuan would die before he knelt. And the sect is 1,000 years of other people's work, 9 generations of it, and she's the 9th. And disbanding it isn't a thing she's capable of agreeing to, even if she wanted to, which she doesn't, because she loves it. So she says, quietly, that she's sorry about my grandfather, and that as sect master, she has to stop me, and would I please forgive her, and she raises her hands. You're not a match for me, I tell her, which is true and unkind, and the only thing left. She knows. She says a doujin can hold me for a moment, and a moment is her whole duty. And then, because she can't help it, because we're both standing in a place we can't get out of, she says the other thing. That with my talent, becoming a doujin in 5 years really would have been simple for me. That the promise a boy made in a cave still feels like yesterday to her. Everything is irreversible, she says. Uncle, I tell Viper Elder, don't hurt her, hold her. He doesn't even tease me about it, which tells me exactly how bad my face looks. A purple gold ring of bloodline light closes around her from behind before she can begin her technique. The purple gold serpent binding ring, a thing a doujin peak can't break, and the sect master of the Cloud Mist sect is bound, unhurt, and made to watch. She twists once, understands, and stops, and the look she gives my back as I fly toward the fighting is going to live in me for a long while. I'm halfway to Lin Xuan when he stops fighting Shenzhou, moves aside, and claps his hands. Guardian Long, he says to the empty air, we need you. The black mist comes up out of the sect's foundations like something venting, 10 feet across, condensing in the sky over the burning mountain. And when it takes shape, it's a figure in black armor with 2 red points where the eyes should be, and the aura coming off it is wrong in a way that has nothing to do with strength. Viper Elder's voice in my head goes flat and old. That's evil energy, boy, and it doesn't belong in the Northwest continent. Hall of Souls, a protector. 4 to 5-star Dou Zong, sitting inside the Cloud Mist sect this entire time as Lin Xuan's price for being alive. He shouldn't be here. Not this early. In the story I read, Guardian Long shows up years from now, in a different empire, on a different mountain. I've been shoving this world's script around for a year, and here's the invoice. The butterflies I've been releasing have started flying home. And the protector takes one look at me and Gu Chen and starts laughing. Because Lin Xuan's report was wrong. This backwater has produced not one, but two venerable class soul bodies, and the Hall of Souls collects souls, and his master will be so pleased. Then it goes badly. Viper Elder and the protector trade, chains of black soul metal against purple gold serpents, and my body is the arena, while a Dou Zun soul spends principle he just got back. Shenzhou pins Lin Xuan behind the sex protective formation and can't finish him, and the protector, sensing our timer, produces his answer to everything. 7 soul bodies out of his storage ring, 7 Dou Jin peak cultivators harvested and stored like preserves, and he devours all 7 on the spot to power up. The sound is the worst thing I have ever heard, and I have heard my own ribs from the inside. He comes out of it comparable to a high-level Dou Zong, and Viper Elder tells me plainly that we're losing. His bloodline is finite, the protector's isn't, and when Viper Elder runs dry, we're 2 soul bodies and 2 boys in a bag. Grandpa's blood debt, he says gently, cannot be collected today. Fine, a gentleman takes his revenge in 10 years if he has to. Then a voice like cold honey says in my head, Ren Jia, let me. Queen Serpentina wakes up. She comes out of my sleeve in a burst of light and lands on the air in a purple brocade robe, and the entire burning mountain forgets what it was doing, because everyone in the Jia Empire over the age of 6 knows that face. The queen of the snake people, the woman who has killed more of this empire's famous names than any war. Xuanbai, off to the side, says something extremely unprofessional about me never mentioning this. She takes Lin Xuan off Shenzhou's hands like a woman taking a plate from a tired waiter, which frees the 2 people this mountain should actually be afraid of. I get Gu Chen beside me, exhausted, scorched, running on his teacher's fumes, and I tell him what we're going to do, and he tells me his soul control isn't good enough to fuse 3 things, and I tell him he doesn't have to. He just has to make the lotus, so he does. 2 flames, 1 blue-white lotus, the Buddha's Fury Fire lotus sitting in his palms like a held breath, and I take it from him with my left hand, and raise the vermilion bird burning heaven thunder in my right, a thunder that ate a heavenly flame whole and came out at its peak, and I put my hands together, because in my second life, I did this with 7. 3 elements braid. Crimson lightning threads through blue and white fire, and the thing that forms between my palms is a lotus throne the size of an apple, spinning quietly, so calm it doesn't stir the air. Zhuanbai and Jin Qi are already running. Lin Xuan's face, across the sky, goes the color of ash. Thunder God fire lotus, I say, and throw it at the protector's back as he flees. The mountain stops existing. Not poetically. The blast takes the top of Yunlan Mountain off and leaves a mirror-smooth fracture plane where a peak used to be. The shockwave rolls out across the plain, and, miles away in the capital, people in the streets stop walking and turn to look at the horizon and put their hands over their mouths. The cloud mist secks every hall, terrace, and tower is dust inside 2 seconds. Half its disciples don't make it out, despite Lin Shen spending everything he has to shield the ones he can reach. Guardian Long takes it at 20 meters. Half his black mist burns off. The armor comes apart. Through the gaps, you can see the white of his bones. The most feared organization on the continent sends a man to a backwater to harvest souls, and he goes home in pieces because 2 teenagers combine their inheritances. I don't get out clean either. The heart of the sea armor, the inner armor Lin Jie took off her own shoulders and put in my hands on a mountain a year ago, shatters into blue flakes and saves my life doing it, and I come down in the wreckage with blood on my chin and my robe gone. Gu Chen lands beside me, wide-eyed, and asks if we should finish the protector. I look at the crater, and at the Dotsong we can't reach, and at the sect that will need 10 years to be anything again, and I say no. Not because of mercy, because a wounded Hall of Souls protector has trump cards, and my cousin has nothing left, and I have 1 armor's worth of luck spent. We take the win we have. On the way out, Gu Chen shouts it for both of us. Lin Xuan, this blood debt is written down. We'll be back for the rest, with interest. And the last thing I do on that mountain is look for her. Lin Jie is on the shattered terrace where Lin Xuan cut her free to evacuate the disciples, standing in the ruins of the only home she's ever had, watching me go. Neither of us says anything. There's nothing that fits. I feel the empty place under my robe where her armor used to be, and I think, with the specific clarity you get in the worst moments, that after today, the 2 of us probably never speak again. Then I unfold the purple cloud wings and go, and behind us, Lin Xuan's voice climbs over the wreckage, announcing 100,000 gold bounty on the Gu family twin dragons. Dead or alive, he isn't fussy. We hide in a Tier 3 Flying Beasts cave for a week, which is exactly as glamorous as it sounds. We evict the tenant, sweep out the bones, and lie there being fed pills by 2 ghosts who finally introduce themselves properly. It's a good scene, actually. Shenzhou steps out of Gu Chen's ring, strokes an illusory beard, and invites the other one out with a formality that tells me they've been aware of each other for a while. Won't the snake-honored one come and greet an old man? That's how I learned my partner's title, Snake Honored One. On this continent, when you cross into Dou Zun, you get a name that isn't yours anymore, like Venerable Yao, the old man in the ring, whom half a continent hunted. Viper Elder appears in his tattered middle-aged shape, and the two of them do the thing old monsters do, trade compliments that are actually resume checks. Seven-winged amethyst serpent bloodline, Shenzhou says. Nobody else on the continent could carry it. Bone-chilling flame, says Viper Elder. So the rumors about your natal flame were true. No wonder the Hall of Suicides went to such lengths to bag you. Then Shenzhou makes the mistake of complimenting Viper Elder on finding such a promising heir, and Viper Elder corrects him. The boy isn't my successor. I have nothing to teach him. I watched the #1 alchemist of the continent process that sentence. A Dou Zun says there's nothing he can teach a great Dou master. There's exactly one explanation that doesn't insult everyone in the cave, and Shenzhou, who is a member of the medicine clan and therefore knows what exists above Dou Zun, arrives at it, gives me a long, thoughtful look, and very politely says nothing at all. I'll take that trade. Let the old man wonder. He refines pills for us for 3 hours out of pure professional joy, and when we swallow them, both of us go up. Gu Chen to 9-star Great Dou Master, and me, because the divine Qi seal in my chest has an entire flood of mysterious thunder energy banked in it from the day the bird ate the fire, to Great Dou Master peak in one sitting. My private vault, finally paying out. Shenzhou watches my skin turn red with stored lightning, and mutters that he's never seen anyone store energy like a warehouse and spend it like a bank. Then the practical conversation. Both soul elders are spent. The Hall of Souls now has our faces, and the Hall of Souls specializes in exactly one thing: collecting powerful souls. 2 soul bodies traveling with 2 teenagers in an empire that's hunting them is a shopping list, not a plan. So we run east. And we run for a year of my life compressed into 1 month of forest. The cloud mist sex pursuit is thinner than it should be. Half their strength is dead under a mirror-smooth mountaintop, and the rest is busy rebuilding. But the magical beast mountains don't care about our politics, and neither do the things in them. We fight our way through for a month. Gu Chen reaches 4-star Great Dou Master somewhere in there, and I come out the far side at Dou Ling. 1-star Dou Ling. Which, in my case, means I can comfortably take a 5-star, because 100 years of foundation and 50 lightning patterns don't show up on the rank readout. In this empire, Dou Ling is a name people say carefully. I'm 19, and the strongest man in the northeast provinces was one of these when I decided to erase his family. The last gate is Zhenghe Pass, the border fortress, tens of thousands of troops, our faces on every wall. We walk up to it in daylight in black cloaks, which fools precisely nobody, and the deputy commander is a cloud mist toady named Han Chang, who has decided that 100,000 gold is worth finding out whether the rumors are exaggerated. His son spots us first and screams the news. The garrison commander, a Mu family man named Han Ming, publicly refuses to have any part of it. My silver armor army isn't the cloud mist sex dog, he tells Han Chang, in front of the entire gate, and pulls his men back. Which leaves Han Chang, 3-star Dou Ling, alone in front of the crowd, with his blood blade drawn and his reputation on the table. He's actually not bad. His opening cleave would take a normal Dou Ling's arm off. I catch it on the black spear one-handed and don't move. Then I open the silver eyes into his, one bolt, straight to the sea of consciousness, and while his mind is white, I put a palm through his chest plate. He goes into the fortress wall and slides down it, and the fortress wall keeps the shape. Viper Elder is already shouting in my head before Han Chang stops coughing. Leave, now, there's Hall of Souls movement on the wind. Gu Chen gets the same warning from his own ring, and we're moving before the garrison decides how it feels. And on the way out, my cousin, who is developing a real gift for exit lines, turns and delivers a message for Lin Xuan, free of charge, to the whole gate. Tell him 2 to 5 years. Tell him to wash his neck. Beyond the pass, we split up. Not because we want to, because 2 soul bodies in one place is a beacon, and the Hall of Souls hunts by scent. Separate roads, separate risks, and a rendezvous set at the only place on this side of the continent that's neutral, strong, and stupid enough to take us both. Jia Nan Academy, the strongest power in the Black Corner region, where 2 boys have been enrolled in absentia for a year and a half, and where a certain long-legged fiancé has been waiting. Gu Chen goes north. I go east, alone, into the most lawless region on the continent, with a Dou Zun in my ring, a lion in my pouch, a queen asleep in my sleeve, and a shopping list that starts with the material for a Tier 6 artifact I promised a woman I'd build. Cousin, I tell him at the crossroads, don't die. It'd be embarrassing for the family. He laughs, and we go. The Black Corner region is what happens when a continent sweeps its floor into a corner and walks away. No royal family, no laws, no borders, just a country-sized bruise full of every fugitive, deserter, and talented criminal who ran out of empires that would have them. Which also makes it the single richest trading floor for rare goods anywhere, because everything stolen everywhere ends up here, and nobody asks for provenance. I arrive by caravan, having hired on with a merchant named Chen Fu after a demonstration involving his head of guards and one open palm. Chen Fu is delighted. Caravans crossing the Black Plain get robbed by the wind if the bandits don't get there first, and he's just acquired free insurance. Our destination is Dissected City, held by the Earthflame sect, and there's an auction in 2 days. Because here's my actual problem, and it's a funny one for a man who's killed a great dough master with his hands. I'm broke. The Rongling Holy Grail, Queen Serpentina's body, my end of that bargain, is a tier 6 artifact, and its 4 main materials are the kind of thing that starts wars. Fire obsidian, red spirit refining copper, 7-colored ancient vine, and a 6-tier soul attribute magic core, which is functionally a unicorn, plus auxiliaries that run to 1,000,000 gold on their own. So before the auction, I take a hotel room, buy a set of ordinary materials with the last of my coin, and cook 2 tier 4 weapons in 1 afternoon. An ice fire 2 elements sword, switchable ice and fire, and it'll fuse both, which solves the specific misery of dual attribute swordsmen everywhere. And a breaking formation overlord halberd, which is exactly what it says and is for the kind of man who solves problems by removing the wall the problem is standing behind. The appraisal room at the Earthflame auction house goes quiet when I put them on the table. The appraiser puts on gloves he clearly reserves for special occasions, and I walk out with a 2nd-tier VIP card and a suspicion, forming behind me in that little room, that the branch has just met an artifact refiner it should be recruiting. The auction sells them for 2.2 million gold combined, and I sit in my hood watching the Black Corner region's finest bid against each other for my afternoon's work. The sword goes for 1.2 million to a scarred swordsman named Lu Feng, Deadly Sword, a 9-star Dou Ling who fights like the profession invented him, after the man-beast sect's young leader Gao Ba tries to buy it as a recruitment gift for him and gets politely, publicly refused. Remember that scar, he comes back. And then I spend it all. Fire obsidian, first main material, 850,000. An emerald blue crystal, a stone that only forms where a Dou Zun or better has died and left space energies soaking into the ground for centuries, and which is therefore the single best meal my Space Thunder will ever get. 1 million. And for 100,000 gold that the entire hall audibly laughs at me for, an ugly scrap of ancient black cloth with meaningless scribbles on it, which nobody wants because nobody can read it, and which my silver eyes tell me is very, very old and very much not meaningless. 2 hours of profit, gone. I'm left with 110,000 and a bag of rocks, and I'm so pleased with myself I nearly hum. Then the Earthflame sect brings out the last lot, and the auction stops being a shopping trip. They cage the stage in black metal before they'll even open the box. Inside a cold jade box on a purple gold plate is a single crimson pill the size of a dragon's eye, and inside the pill, visible to anyone with eyes, a curl of red chi keeps condensing into a human shape and letting out a beast's roar. Chi condensation, a phenomenon that only appears at grade 7 and above, a 7th grade pill. The transformation pill, the medicine that lets a demonic beast take human form permanently, which for a beast is the difference between a long life of being a beast and an unlimited life of cultivating like a man. Half the room has never seen a 5th grade pill. The other half is doing math about their entire clan's liquid assets. It's flawed, the auctioneer admits when the questions get sharp. A failed grade 7 that kept its potency. Roughly 50% odds of a successful transformation, which is why a middling auction house has it at all. 50% is a coin flip with my lion's life on it, and I'm about to fold. And Viper Elder says, mildly, that his 7-winged amethyst serpent bloodline has a transformation amplifying property worth about 30 points. 80%. On Lei Bao, who has been sleeping on a dead god's bones for a year, who has been at a wall for months, who is the only creature in 3 lives that has never once wanted anything from me except to be near me. I want that pill. I don't have 13 million gold, which is what it goes for. The Lai Huo sect takes it from the Man-Beast sect in a bidding war that ends with both sect leaders looking at each other in a way that has body counts in it. But this is the Black Corner region, where the rule isn't ownership, it's possession. Viper Elder points this out with unseemly enthusiasm. Kid, if you can't buy it, rob it. Uncle, I say, I thought you'd never offer. And he laughs and calls me a scheming little bastard, because he knows perfectly well I've been steering him towards saying it for 10 minutes. The Lai Huo sect leaves Dissected City the next morning with an escort, a smug elder, and a pill in a ring. 12 miles out, in the forest, I'm lying on a branch watching them make camp, and so, it turns out, is somebody else. The Man-Beast sect didn't come to lose. High Lord Gao, 8-star Do Wang, arms like tree trunks, a body refiner from a body refining sect, rides in with his son Gao Ba and 20 of his best, and offers Elder Chen the traditional Black Corner region contract. Hand it over and I may spare you for your sect master's sake. Then the Lai Huo sect's own master, Chen Lei, drops out of the sky with 30 elites because he anticipated exactly this. 2 sects, roughly matched, in a forest over a pill. I settle in with the contentment of a man watching 2 dogs discover the same bone. What I don't anticipate is the weapon. Gao Ba pulls a black lightning bolt out of his storage ring and my whole body goes cold because I know that chi. I raised it. The mysterious Yin Poison Demon Thunder. 8th on the list, my thunder. The one I seeded in a poison girl's meridians in a hidden valley a year and a half ago. Not the main body. A subbolt, cabbed off the parent and packaged. And inside it, something that makes even Viper Elder mutter. Calamity Poison, refined and folded in. A miniature poison body detonation on a throwing timer. Gao Ba announces the provenance to the whole clearing, since it cost his sect 5 million gold. Bought in the Azumo Empire from the newly famous Heavenly Poison Girl. Gu Angxi, my friend from the cave with the medicine basket, who couldn't look at a stranger without healing them, has spent 18 months becoming a name that mercenary sects say carefully, and she is monetizing my thunder into poison bombs and selling them at 5 million apiece. I sit on my branch experiencing a complicated cocktail of alarm, pride, and a sudden urge to laugh out loud. Uncle, I say, the girl has a business. The girl, says Viper Elder dryly, has a better margin than you. Then Gao Ba throws it, and the forest dies. The Calamity Poison Thunder Bomb goes off in the middle of the Liehua sect, and everything within 3 miles that breathes stops doing it. Grass, birds, insects, the trees go gray while you watch. The Man-Beast sect, who all swallowed 4th grade antidote pills 10 minutes ago because they planned this, walk through it. The Liehua sect drops to 1/10 of its strength, coughing black. Gao Ba strolls over to Elder Chen and puts a fist through his skull, takes the ring, and holds the transformation pill up to the light, laughing. And a hand comes out of a fold in the world and takes it off his palm. Thank you, young sect leader, I say from a dead branch 20 meters away, holding the most valuable pill in the province. You've done excellent work. I'll hold on to this. The Man-Beast sect's entire hierarchy turns around at once. What follows is my first genuinely uncomfortable fight in a long while, and I want to be honest about it because I've been coasting on being the strongest thing in every room since the Northeast. 20 Man-Beast experts hit me from all directions, and the poison fog doesn't touch me at all because my own Thunder's lineage owns that poison. I stand in a cloud that's dissolving trees, and it parts around me like a bad smell avoiding a saint. That part's easy. I put a dozen body refiners into the ground with the black spear. Then High Lord Gao steps up. 8-star Dou Wang, a body refining sect master, on a continent where body refining is rare, using nothing but physical strength. I light up 50 lightning patterns, lay Gong body at full earth rank output, and we punch each other, once, honestly, and I go back 10 steps with both arms numb and blood in my mouth. It's been a year since anything did that to me. I'd almost forgotten the taste. Viper Elder's assessment is immediate and unwelcome. He can win this, and it will burn bloodline he cannot replace. And the Hall of Souls is hunting soul bodies, and a Dou Zun's aura at full volume is a flare over a dark sea. He tells me plainly, I can't spend for you the way I used to. Be careful with these people from now on. So I do it the other way. I let High Lord Gao get 1 step from me, and then I fold space, 3 meters, blink, and reappear next to Chen Lei, the Lihuo sect master, poisoned and dying at the edge of the clearing. And I do him a favor. 1 thread of vermilion bird lightning through his meridians, and the calamity poison burns out of him, and the man who was about to die is on his feet and breathing. The Man-Beast sect is our common enemy, sect master, I tell him pleasantly. I hope you'll remember this. Then I fold again into the poison fog, which is doing a beautiful job of blinding 2 Dou Wang grade soul senses at once, and I'm gone. Behind me, I leave a cured sect master, a robbed sect master, a forest full of both their dead, and the specific mathematics of a blood feud neither of them can afford to walk away from. They'll spend the next year hunting each other instead of me. It's the 10,000 Beast Mountains trick again. Run cheaper and faster, and I feel the specific glow of a craftsman repeating a technique he's finally got clean. A day and a night of flight later, deep in unmapped mountains, I land on a peak with clouds around its shoulders and let my lion out. Lei Bao comes out of the ring and circles me twice and rubs his head against my leg like a house cat the size of a cart. And Viper Elder explains to him, gee, because a divine soul seal isn't slavery, and this beast has his own mind and gets his own vote, exactly what's on the table. The transformation pill will make him human, probably. But there's a second option, fuse, at the same time, with the 7th tier beast skeleton I've carried in my ring since a hidden valley in the magical beast mountains. Higher ceiling, much higher risk. The bones will resist. If he can't conquer them inside 1 hour, he dies. Safe and ordinary, or the gamble. Lei Bao looks at me for a long moment with those enormous amber eyes. Then he plants his feet and roars. Viper Elder laughs, a real one, delighted. Your beast has your personality, boy. Heaven help the continent. What follows is 3 days I will not enjoy remembering. The transformation flame takes him first. Scales melting off in sheets, the roaring going on for 10 minutes and then stopping. Not because the pain stopped, but because his mouth is gone. By the time Viper Elder reaches in with a hand of purple gold light and tears the lion bones out of the ruined flesh, there's nothing in the fire that looks like an animal at all. Then I put the 7th tier skeleton into the flames, and the flesh and the bones start to fight. Half an hour. Then an hour approaching, and the deadline is 1 hour, and I am standing at the edge of the fire like a man at a bedside, and Viper Elder finally says quietly that there's nothing either of us can do. Lei Bao has to conquer it alone. Here's the thing I don't say out loud, then or ever. My grandfather is a tablet in a hall in Stone Desert City. My father is a name I avenged. Everyone else I love is a promise I haven't collected on yet. A girl in a serpent palace, a woman in a burnt sect, a fiancé at an academy I've never attended. The creature in that fire has been beside me since a lion's cave, and he is, in a way I'd have trouble explaining to anyone who hasn't died twice, my family. At 58 minutes, the fire changes shape. Something stands up inside it. Something enormous, and then something less enormous, and then a lion's roar comes out of the flames that has a king's authority in it, the might of the Lion King, Viper Elder breeds, and every beast in that mountain range goes flat to the ground for miles. 3 days later, out of a fire that's finally burning down, walks a man. 2 meters of him, golden hair standing up like a mane, shoulders like a doorframe, black eyes with something instinctual and ferocious sitting behind an honest face. He looks at me, he tries a word, and it comes out wrong, and he tries again. Host, don't call me that, I tell him, and put a robe over those shoulders because the man is standing on a mountaintop entirely naked. You've been with me since you were a cub. Call me boss. He thinks about it with visible effort, and then his whole face reorganizes into a grin. Boss. Then he tells me 2 things. First, when I ask about his strength, that big guy who was chasing boss before, the Dou Wang who left my arms numb, he could kill him in 3 punches. 5th tier, with 6th tier combat power. My battle pet outranks me now, which I'm choosing to find hilarious. And second, when I ask what the ancient bones gave him, he frowns and pulls a name up out of new instincts, syllable by syllable. The Desolate Earth Lion. Viper Elder goes very quiet. And then he tells me what that means, and the mountaintop gets colder. 10,000 years ago, the demon beast realm had 4 great clans, the void ancient dragons, the sky demon phoenixes, the 9 serene earth nether pythons, and a 4th, which declined and vanished so completely that nobody living remembers it, the great desolate lion clan. My lion has just inherited the bloodline of an extinct dynasty. And beast clans, Viper Elder adds, kill over leaked bloodlines. If the survivors of that clan ever learn where those bones went, or if the 3 living clans do, Lei Bao becomes the most hunted creature on the continent. Great, another creditor. Add it to the ledger and keep walking. Shichen City is a nothing town on the edge of the region, and I only stop there because Lei Bao needs a weapon and I need a forge. Then a shout in the street changes the itinerary. Warlord Duan, the fierce tiger gang is finished. Hand over the red spirit refining copper. Red spirit refining copper. Main material number 2. For a grail, I promised a queen, being shouted about in a backstreet by a gang leader with 100 men. The situation is standard black corner economics. The fierce tiger gang got mauled by the man-beast sect last month, fled here with their treasury, and word leaked that the treasury contains something worth 1 million gold. The Wolf Fang gang, who own this town, have surrounded them 2 to 1. The tiger side is 30 men behind a wounded boy in torn clothes, the previous chief's son, promoted by a funeral. Boss, Lei Bao says, I'll clear the way. He walks into the middle of 100 armed men, and one of them tells him to get lost, and Lei Bao opens his mouth and roars. I did not know he could do that. The lion's roar, sonic attack, inherited straight from the extinct clan, delivered at conversational range, and the entire Wolf Fang encirclement comes apart. Dozens of men go down the street like blown paper. Several of the great Dou masters among them are dead before they land, bleeding from the ears. One roar. In a town where a 5-star Douling is the local warlord. Said warlord, Tang Long, arrives fast, and bowing, all apologies, and gets 1 punch from Lei Bao that folds him like a letter. He survives on the strength of a 4th grade inner armor and the decision to run. And then, I step out from behind my hallmaster, and the street learns that the towering monster is somebody's escort. I make the boy in torn clothes, Duan Wei, 6-star great Dou master, 25, and holding a dying gang together with his hands, a straightforward offer. The copper, and I'll save your gang. No robbery. He can say no and keep the copper and everything that happens next. He hands me the copper, and then he does something I don't expect. He kneels and offers me the gang. Not the treasure, the whole organization. 30 fighters, 6 great Dou masters, a compound, and himself. When I ask why, he doesn't lie. His father died to the man-beast sect, and revenge takes an army he doesn't have, and his instincts tell him this silver-eyed stranger is going to have one. I stand there in a filthy street in a nothing town, and something clicks into place that's been loose since I got to this region. I've been operating alone. One man with a spear, a ring, and a shopping list in a country the size of an empire where the missing materials are scattered across 10,000 square miles of chaos. I'm a grandmaster refiner who can print money, and I've been carrying my own bags. In my second life, I ran a great power. I know exactly how this works. People and money. I have money generation covered. I am, personally, a mint. What I don't have is people. Get up, I tell Duan Wei. The fierce tiger gang doesn't exist as of today. The name I pick is Yuan Mansion. Yuan, origin, first, the beginning of things, my first power in this world, and I intend it to be the last one standing on this continent. 3 halls, Lion Hall for war under Lei Bao, who accepts a title he doesn't care about because I asked. Tiger Hall for law and discipline under Duan Wei, which buys the old gang's loyalty by promoting their own. And Weaponry Hall for money under a square-faced second-rank artifact refiner named Hu Chao, who nearly weeps when I hand him 4 weapon formulas, because artifact recipes are family secrets on this continent, and no one has ever simply given him one. Then I give my new organization its first order: destroy the Wolf Fang gang and take Shichen City. We march that afternoon. It takes half a day, and Tang Long doesn't even fight. He abandons his own compound and runs with his inner circle, which tells his remaining 100 men everything they need to know about him. I offer them the same terms I offered the tigers: join or be swept out. They join. Yuan Mansion doubles overnight and inherits a city. 2 weeks of consolidation, and I'll skip the administrative poetry. A mid-sized force from a neighboring town swaggers in to test the new power, and I go out personally and put their 4-star Dou Ling on the ground in front of everyone, because a lord who never fights is a rumor, and rumors don't hold territory. After that, nobody tests us. Recruitment standards go up. Hu Chao starts mass-producing my flaming longsword design, and Yuan Mansion has a revenue stream. And the auxiliary materials for the Grail start flowing in through channels I no longer have to walk myself, which is the entire point. With the auxiliaries in hand, I forged the Lesser Grail, a Tier 4 cup, a scaled-down cousin of the thing I owe Medusa, and its function is soul cultivation. My soul has been stuck at 4th rank for a while. With this, I'll break 5th in months instead of years, and a 5th rank soul means I can forge 5th grade weapons, and 5th grade weapons mean I will never be poor again in any world. And then, one evening, with the paperwork done, I take out the ugly scrap of black cloth I bought for 100,000 gold while a room full of people laughed. Viper Elder looks at it for a long time and identifies the material, which is the piece I was missing. Abyss crocodile hide, a 6th tier beast. Whoever made this map had the resources to hunt one, which means the map isn't junk, it's an heirloom whose key has been lost. And abyss crocodiles, he adds, have exactly one weakness: they fear lightning. I summon the vermilion bird into my palm and hold the parchment over it. The scribbles move. The nonsense patterns crawl across the hide and resolve into a topographical map with a red mark on it. And above the map, 3 characters burn themselves into view. Life-devouring pill. Viper Elder actually swears. It's a grade 7 pill, and its function is the reason it's a legend. It takes a great Dou master and makes him a Dou Wang instantly. Mass-producible if you have the formula, an army of Dou Wangs on demand. The price is that it eats 3 years of your life, and at the end of 3 years, you die. Its inventor vanished overnight with the recipe, decades ago, when the continent's powers started hunting him for it. In the story I read, my cousin's second brother Gu Hui stumbles into this exact cave, years from now, half mad with grief, and swallows one of these. It's the making of him and the death sentence he spends volumes outrunning. And the red mark on the map is a 2-day flight from Jia Nan Academy. There are 2 more things worth saying about that pill, and I say them to Viper Elder while I fold the map away. First, the death clause has a loophole. Reach Dou Jin within the 3 years and the side effect burns off. The pill becomes a free elevator instead of a coffin. Nobody uses the loophole because going from Dou Wang to Dou Jin in 3 years is functionally impossible for a normal cultivator. Second, deep in the library in my head for my second life, there is a cultivation technique that devours the user's own lifespan to accelerate growth. A pill that trades life for power. A technique that trades life for speed. Uncle, I say, watching him work it out, doesn't that look like a matched set? Viper Elder gives me a long, thoughtful look and says the thing he's been saying more often lately. 10,000 years, boy, and I have never met anyone who thinks like you. The scar comes back on a Tuesday. Lu Feng, deadly sword. 9-star Dou Ling, the swordsman who paid 1.2 million for my Ice Fire 2-element sword at the Chen auction, walks into Yuan Mansion's hall carrying it in pieces, dozens of cracks. He ran into a 1-star Dou Wang on the road, drove him off, and paid for it with the blade. He's here because he saw a flaming longsword in one of my shops and recognized the refining signature. He wants to meet the master who made it. Hu Chao, who is a 2nd-rank refiner and an honest man, has already told him it wasn't him and looked terrified doing it. When I walk in, the swordsman does the arithmetic on my face and doesn't believe it. And then he remembers a black-robed man at an auction and does it again. He offers 1 million gold for the repair. 1 million for a sword that cost him 1.2, because swordsmen and their swords are a category of love I've stopped trying to explain. I tell him I don't need money. What I want is him. And when he gives me the answer he's given every first-rate power in this region, I work alone, find another price. I don't argue, because arguing is for people without inventory. I just tell him I'll repair the sword either way, for free, starting tonight. And then, while he's off balance, I make the actual offer. I won't just repair the Icefire 2-element sword. When my soul power breaks 5th rank, which will be months, not years, I'll upgrade it into the Icefire 4-element sword, Tier 5. Lu Feng stops breathing for a second. There is no 5th rank artifact refiner in the entire Black Corner region. There may not be one in this half of the continent. A Tier 5 weapon isn't something you buy, it's something you inherit or take off a corpse. And here's a 19-year-old offering to build one to spec for a man whose whole identity is his blade. He asks, carefully, whether I can actually do it, and I let my soul power off the leash, just once, just for a second, filling the hall, and a 9-star Dou Ling who fights Dou Wangs takes 2 steps back and says in a completely different voice, 4th rank peak, he signs. 2 years, with conditions. The sword gets delivered, and if he wants to leave after 2 years, I don't stop him. I agree, because if I can't make a man want to stay in 2 years, I don't deserve to run anything. That's my second Dou grade asset in a month, bought with craft instead of coin. I repair his sword in half an hour and hand it back, and the look on that scarred face when he feels the chi run clean through the blade again is worth more than the million he offered. Then I put my house in order, because I'm leaving. Yuan Mansion gets Lei Bao as its shield, and Lu Feng as its guest elder, which means that unless a first-rate power decides to erase us, we hold. Duan Wei gets his instructions. Hu Chao gets third-grade formulas to grow into, and I fly east with 2 stops on the itinerary, a cave marked in red on a scrap of crocodile hide, and a school. The cave is uneventful and unbelievable. A collapsed workshop, a dead alchemist's last hiding place, and in a sealed jade box, 2 life-devouring pills, and the scroll with the recipe. 2 of maybe 2 remaining on the continent, plus the formula that a dozen great powers spent decades hunting. I take all 3, seal the box back up, and stand in the dark for a minute thinking about how 100,000 gold and 1 laughing auction hall turned into this. Then, Jia Nan Academy. You approach it through Peacetown, and the first thing you see isn't the school. It's a tree, black and clawed, standing alone outside the town gate, and hanging in its branches, mummified, are corpses, old ones. My silver eyes read the residue, 2 Dou Wangs and a Dou Jin, executed and hung up as signage. It's called the Death Tree, and it's Jia Nan Academy's entire foreign policy, expressed once, decades ago, to a black corner power that thought a school would be easy. Nobody has tested them since. The enforcement team stops me at the gate, 12 young men and a captain named Huo De, 8-star Great Dou Master, who requires everyone entering Peacetown to swallow a killing intent detection pill. I ask if students of the academy are exempt. The conversation that follows is one of my favorites of the year, because when I give my name, Huo De's whole face changes. Renjie? From the Jiama Empire? The one who took a 2-year leave? Kid, your cousin Gu Chen registered a few days ago, and he's already the talk of the inner academy. And then, when the younger enforcers start whispering, the other thing. Renjie? Senior Gu Jia's fiancé? Ah, yes, about her. Gu Jia came back to Canaan Academy 2 years ago with 2 Earth-rank scrolls a boy gave her like homework, and she has spent the time since becoming the kind of student the inner academy talks about, beautiful, talented, and famously unavailable, which, in an academy full of geniuses, has made my engagement a matter of public record and widespread resentment. I have acquired, sight unseen, a queue of rivals. Then the practical problem. The inner academy selection tournament finished days ago. My cousin won it, which means I sit in the outer academy for a full year before I can even test. Unacceptable. So I ask if there's another way, and Huo De gets a very strange look and says there is, technically, a rule, and nobody has used it in a decade because nobody has ever passed it. Beat a student on the strong ranking, the Inner Academy's top 50, in single combat, and you're admitted directly. I ask if the top 3 participate. He laughs at me, kindly, and says of course not, they'd never bother. Just the bottom few. And the bottom few are Dou Lings, and you, young man, are. Apply for me, I tell him. He stares. Then he sighs the way men sigh when they've decided to enjoy the disaster, and writes the application, and mutters that the Inner Academy is about to be interesting again. The Academy's answer comes back inside a day, because a request nobody has made in 10 years is the most exciting thing to happen to the faculty in a decade. Vice Dean Hu Gan of the Outer Academy offers me 1 chance to withdraw, in the tone of a man who's watched clever boys get ruined by pride. I decline. He sighs, arranges a griffin, and flies me over the forest to the Inner Academy himself. The place is a bowl in the earth the size of a city, like a meteor landed, and someone built a university in the crater. And when we come down into the central plaza, roughly half the Inner Academy is packed into it. The rumor mill has done its work. New Outer Academy student, no selection tournament, challenging the strong ranking, with a side plot the students like even better, because Zhang Yi, leader of the Bai gang and 34th on the strong ranking, has been courting Gu Jie for a year and has been telling anyone who'll listen that he intends to teach her country fiancé some manners. He's paid 100 fire energy, the Academy's internal currency, the stuff you spend to cultivate in the sky-burning Qi refining tower, to have one of his own men installed as my examiner. Ming Hu, 67th on the ranking, 3-star Dou Ling, built like a door. In the stands, my cousin, sitting with a girl in green who is definitely Ming-er and definitely not surprised to see me. Both of them are quietly instructing every member of Gu Chen's new faction, Pangate, to put every fire crystal they own on me at 5-to-1, because my cousin has met me. And on the left side, standing with the silver-haired leader of the Academy's female faction, in a purple uniform with legs that have started 3 separate feuds this year, Gu Jie. 2 years. She looks at me across 1,000 people, and doesn't wave, and doesn't smile, and grips the railing hard enough to whiten her knuckles. Ming Hu opens by telling me I'm not worthy of her, which is a nice touch, and then throws his best technique, a Dou Qi trident with an energy shark condensed around it, and the crowd inhales because at 3-star, that's a legitimate killing move. I catch the trident with one hand, half an inch from my throat. One move, I tell him. And I hit him once. With 30 lightning patterns of Lei Gong body behind it, and the trident that cost him a fortune breaks into 2 pieces, and Ming Hu goes into the edge of the plaza and stops. The central plaza makes no sound at all for about 3 seconds. Then it makes a great deal of sound because the academy record that has stood since its founding just fell. And the students who bet against me are doing frantic arithmetic, and Pangate is having the best day of its short institutional life. Jiang Yi comes down into the arena personally. He's smoother than his subordinate, 6-star Dou Ling, 34th ranked, handsome in the way that gets you elected, and he opens with flattery and a proposal, a friendly spar between seniors and juniors, entirely within academy rules, and since I have no fire energy, if he loses, he'll hand over half of his own crystal card. It's a trap dressed as generosity. He's a full 3 stars above me on paper, and beating a freshman publicly restores everything Ming Hu just cost him. Hu Gan tries to warn me off. I accept, with one amendment. If senior Jiang Yi loses, I'd like the Bai Gong. The plaza goes feral. The Bai Gong is a top 10 faction in the Inner Academy. 30-odd members, 4 Dou Lings, 13 Great Dou Masters. In the Black Corner region, it would be a third-rate power in its own right, and a freshman who arrived this morning is asking for the whole thing as a side bet. Jiang Yi, who cannot back down in front of 2,000 people and a girl he's been courting, agrees. I fight him at 1 star, on purpose. I keep the Divine Chi seal shut and the Silver Eyes ordinary, and I let a 6-star Dou Ling push me around the arena for 4 minutes, trading spear for spear, losing ground, taking the booze from the stands with my mouth shut. He gets confident. He starts talking. He earth armors up, and then he disarms me, and my black spear skids across the flagstones and out of the ring, and half the plaza is on its feet because the freshman is done. Then I let the seal off. Mid-fight breakthrough, 2 stars in one go, 1 star to 3-star Dou Ling, in front of the entire Inner Academy, because I've been sitting on the wall for weeks with a chest full of banked mysterious thunder energy, and it turns out a good fight is an excellent excuse. Hu Gan says, out loud in the judge's box, that the boy has been suppressing himself on purpose. Elder Su, the Inner Academy's representative, laughs like a man who just found money. And Jiang Yi's earth armor, the strongest defensive form in the Inner Academy, a turtle shell that 6-star Dou Lings hide behind for years, takes 1 Lei Gong body punch and comes apart like a dropped pot. He coughs blood across the arena and doesn't get up. I'm still standing there when a purple blur comes over the barrier, and the girl who once threatened to divorce me before the soup course crosses 200 meters of plaza and throws herself into my arms in front of every student in the Inner Academy. Somewhere behind us, a large number of hearts audibly break. She holds on, then she pulls back, and her eyes are red, and the first thing she says isn't about me at all. It's an apology about my grandfather. She heard from the family. Her parents didn't protect Elder Ren, she says, and she's been carrying that since the letter came. I put my hand on the back of her head. His death wasn't your family's doing, I tell her, and the ones who did it will pay in blood. I've started, and I'm not finished. She looks up at my face for a moment, and whatever she finds there makes her nod once and let it go, and that's the end of the crying. Elder Su announces the results to the plaza. Jiang Yi's 34th rank transfers to me, along with half his fire energy, 600 days worth, plus 100 as the Academy's prize and a Crimson Fire crystal card, which is the 6th floor access key that most students spend 3 years saving for. He also tells me, kindly, that the Academy will not help me take the Bai Gong. That part's on me. That's fine, Elder. I've taken bigger things off better men. The sky-burning Qi refining tower is the reason Jia Nan Academy is the strongest power in the Black Corner region, and I go see it the next morning. It's a black tower buried in the ground with only its spire showing, and what's under it is the point, a heavenly flame. The fallen heart flame, ranked 14th, sealed down there by the Academy's founder, and the seal leaks. Every floor of the tower fills with the flame's tempering heat, and cultivating in it purifies your Dou Qi at speeds that make the rest of the continent look like it's standing still. Students pay fire energy by the day for access. It's the best cultivation cheat in the region, and the Academy sells tickets to it. The moment I step through the tower gate, an invisible heart fire ignites in my chest, the flames clone, testing the new arrival, and my meridians start to sting. And I do something no one in this tower has ever done, because I'm not here to cultivate, I'm here to test a theory. I let a thread of my sealed mysterious thunder energy, the crude, violent, unrefined flood banked behind my sternum since the day the bird ate a heavenly flame, run through the heart fire. It comes out the other side as pure, finished Dou Qi. I stand very still in a crowd of students on the first floor of a tower in a school in the middle of nowhere, and I feel my private vault turn into a private engine. The problem with my Divine Qi seal has always been throughput. I have years of fuel in my chest and no way to burn it fast. And the Academy has built, and is renting out by the day, a machine that refines exactly my fuel. At the 6 floors rate, I'll convert the whole reservoir in about a year. A year from here to Do Wang and beyond. Elder Liu, the first floor tower guard, finds me standing there and assumes I'm a freshman being scorched. He's mid-lecture when I open my eyes, recovered, unbothered, and then somebody recognizes me and the lecture stops. He introduces me to a silver-robed woman with the cold, precise beauty of a mountain spring, Yun Shi, leader of Moon Spirit, the Academy's biggest female faction, and famously unable to tolerate physical contact with men. She shakes my hand. Elder Liu nearly falls over. I'm told this makes me one of about 3 men in the inner academy with that particular credential, and Yun Shi's expression suggests she's as surprised as anyone. She walks me down to floor 6, where the strong ranking cultivates, and shows me my room. Number 34, matching my rank, because the tower's rooms are graded by ranking, and the top 10 rooms cultivate twice as fast as mine, which is where a very small girl leaning on a doorframe says, "Hey, what's your name? Why do you smell like my people?" She's 12, maybe 13, long lavender hair, huge black eyes, white dress, and the entire 6th floor, every single strong ranking genius on it, has just gone quiet and started edging toward the walls. Ling Ling, ranked 1st. The students call her the Force King behind her back, and every one of them is terrified of her, and none of them know why a child outranks them. I know why. Her true body is a void ancient dragon. Her father is the strongest being in a clan that stands beside the ancient human clans as an equal, and he's currently trapped somewhere she can't reach, and she hatched alone, and she wandered the mountains as a baby beast, almost getting eaten until an academy elder found a strange little girl in the woods and took her in. She's sniffing at me because of the flash void piercing sky lightning, space attribute. Void ancient dragons are born tuned to that frequency, and I've been carrying it in my meridians since the Snake King's shrine. "Are you one of my people?" she asks, and there's something in her voice that has no business being in a child's, because she has been asking that question of everything she meets for her entire conscious life. "No, little sister, I'm not." She looks down at her shoes and bites her lip and says quietly, so only I can hear, that she's never seen a single one of her own kin. Not once, ever. And I put my hand on that lavender head and tell her the true thing. I'm not one of yours, but I might be able to help you find them. She looks up so fast her hair swings, and that's how the most feared student in the inner academy becomes my self-appointed little sister and hands me the key to cultivation room number 1, the fastest room in the tower, hers by right of rank, while the entire 6th floor watches with expressions I'd frame if I could. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi, humiliated and bleeding rank, has his own plan, courtesy of his cousin Zhang Wu. Give the freshman the gang. Just hand it over, publicly, honorably, and then have every member resign in sequence and reform under a new name somewhere else. Ren Jie gets a title and an empty building. Zhang Yi gets his people and his dignity back. It's a good plan. He runs it 3 days later, with the whole Bai gang assembled to watch me take possession of an empty shell. They resign one by one, on cue, starting with Ming Hu, and I let them get about 4 names in before I put an object on the table. A trident, deep blue, water attribute, tier 4, made last night. I mention, mildly, that I'd been intending to compensate Ming Hu for the trident I broke, since a new leader should look after his people, but obviously if he's leaving, I'll just put the C-sharp trident back in storage. Ming Hu looks at that trident the way a starving man looks through a bakery window. "Boss," he says, without any noticeable transition. "If I stayed, could I have it?" Jiang Yi's face is a study. Then I put out the second thing, a handful of cold white pearls, and an explanation. Every student in this academy pays for the sky-burning chi refining tower with more than fire energy. The heat leaves fire poison in the body, it accumulates, it burns your temper out, it eventually kills you, and there is no cure. The Academy's own alchemists can't fix it. It's the tax everyone pays for the cheat, and every single person in this room has been paying it. The cold jade pearl suppresses it for a month. I made them yesterday, and every member of my gang will receive one, free, every month for as long as they're mine. The Bai gang stops resigning. They don't even pretend to deliberate. One by one, the men who came here to walk out for Jiang Yi bow to the seat instead, because factions in this academy aren't families, they're arrangements, and I have just outbid him with the one currency he cannot print. He leaves with his cousin and nobody else, and the sound of the door is the sound of a top 10 faction changing hands. I stand up in front of my new organization and give it its name. From today, there is no Bai Gong, there is Ren Gong. 2 weeks later, Ren Gong has become an economy. Cold jade pearls sell for 10 fire energy each, and we cannot make them fast enough. The first day we sold 5. By the end of the week, it's 30 a day, and the queue outside our compound is students from every faction in the academy holding out their crystal cards. Moon Spirit buys in bulk because Gu Jie leaned on Yun Shi, and I gave them a 20% discount, which is going to turn out to be the best business decision I make all year. I recruit the inner academy's only 2 other artifact refiners, hand them the recipe, and step out of production entirely. And I pay my people properly, which no faction leader here does. 30 days of fire energy to each captain, 10 to every veteran, 5 to every new recruit, out of my own card. The week the money starts flowing. Jiang Yi never gave them anything but protection. By the end of the month, nobody in that hall remembers who founded it. The card in my hand reads 1,470 and climbing. The 6th floor costs 30 a day. For the first time since I woke up in a butler's spare room, I have more money than I have uses for, and the vault in my chest is emptying into my Dou Qi at a rate that makes Viper Elder whistle. Then I break 5th rank soul power, and things get faster. It happens in a sealed room over 5 days with the lesser grail in my hands and something older than this continent on my lips. the divine firmament soul technique, an art from my second life that senses and absorbs the spirit chi threaded invisibly through the world. Nobody here can do this. The technique for it died out on this continent centuries ago, which is why their alchemists cultivate souls by grinding, and mine grows like something watered. On the 6th day, the ceiling of my room comes off in a beam of invisible light, and the men on guard outside feel a pressure they have no name for. 5th rank soul power. Dou Wang grade soul in the body of a 3-star Dou Ling. From today, I can forge 5th grade weapons, which means Lu Feng gets his sword, which means my word to him is good. And the man waiting in my hall when I come out is the 10th ranked student in the inner academy. Duan Heng. Gray robes, red eyes, and a body full of fire poison from 18 months of 2-month cultivation binges in the tower. He tried my cold jade pearl. It suppresses, it doesn't cure. And he's here, arrogantly, to ask the leader of Ren Gong whether there's anything more. There is. My price is that he joins Ren Gong. He tells me that's excessive, that he's 10th on the strong ranking, that he works alone, so I show him the soul power I broke through yesterday and watch a Dou Ling peak genius go white and take a step back and say, in a completely different tone, that even the Academy's elders don't have that. Strength is always the greatest principle, he says afterward, mostly to himself, and signs. The cure takes me a night and 300,000 gold of materials, ice spirit pearls, which he swallows one every 5 days. They absorb the fire poison out of his body and store it, and then, as I explain to him with a completely straight face at the door, since they're artifacts rather than pills, they don't dissolve, they have to come out. Duan Heng's hand moves involuntarily to his backside, and his face does something magnificent. You mean I have to? That's the 10th ranked student in the inner academy, everyone. Genius of his generation. Currently negotiating with his own dignity and losing. With the money and the medicine handled, I do the thing I actually came to this academy for. I lock myself in cultivation room number 1 and don't come out for a month. Ling Ling's room is twice as fast as anything else in the tower, and I burn 900 fire energy in one payment to rent the floor for 30 days. And then I open the divine chi seal. The Fallen Heart Flame's heart fire refines the mysterious thunder energy as fast as I can pour it. 4-star Dou Ling in 3 days, 5-star in 15. And then, with the raw cultivation banked, I start the second half of the plan. The 13 fire beads from the 10,000 beast shrine go into my Lei Gong body 6 at a time. Every bead is an hour of my body swelling to half again its size, while my bones grind and my skin tries to split. The earth rank body technique demanding its price for every pattern above 50, 90 patterns, 95, 99. On the 29th day, the 100th lightning pattern closes. Lei Gong body, great perfection. Complete at earth rank on a continent where nobody under Dou Wang can even attempt one. I flick a finger at the cultivation room's reinforced wall. A wall built to contain strong-ranking geniuses, and put 4 holes in it without using a technique. The commotion is loud enough that the whole 6th floor blames Ling Ling, who is outside the door with a half-eaten herb, indignant, complaining that the madman inside cultivates like a lightning attribute demonic beast and she can't get any peace. She's also brought me a present, which is how the next war starts. Void. Ancient dragons are born with a nose for the world's treasures, and while foraging in the deep mountains outside the academy, she found a big blue crystal humming with space power, guarded, unfortunately, by the Storm Wolf Pack, hundreds of wolves, a dozen at 4th tier, and a Demon Storm Wolf King at 5th, which is to say, a Dou Wang grade beast with an army, an emerald blue crystal, big enough, from her description, to take the flash void-piercing sky lightning all the way to maturity. I look at my little sister with a half-eaten herb, and I start planning a war. 2 weeks of preparation, and I run it like a campaign instead of an adventure, because I've lost people before, and I don't intend to do it in a school. Every single Ren Gang member gets equipment, not the captains, everyone. I hand my refiners 2 formulas and put the workshop on overtime. Swift shadow boots, so nobody in my gang is slower than a storm wolf, and guardian armor, so nobody in my gang dies to a claw. 100 sets. On this continent, a faction that arms its rank and file with tier 3 gear doesn't exist, because gear is what leaders keep for themselves. The message lands harder than any speech. The boss doesn't consider you ammunition. The captains get personal weapons, forged by me, to spec. And for the last piece, Duan Heng brings me a recruitment target, Chen Ren, ranked 8th, an enormously fat man who cultivates wind attribute, which looks exactly as ridiculous as it sounds until he moves. His problem is his lifelong rival, 7th ranked Li Hao, whose rock attribute defense he has never once broken. So I make him a fistful of demon crocodile ring saws, palm-sized serrated discs of 5th tier crocodile fang with a wall-breaking property built in, and hand them over before the mission instead of after. He weighs them, delighted, and asks the obvious question, aren't you worried I'll take these and not fight? You're 8th on the strong ranking, I tell him. You won't run from a fight. And if you did, do you think you could outrun me past Jia Nan Academy and the Black Corner region both? He laughs so hard his belly moves independently and says that's the most respectful threat he's ever received. On the morning we march, 100 armed men in matching gear form up in the square outside our compound, and the inner academy comes out to gawk. Then 2 more groups arrive, and the day gets away from me. Pangate first, 30 students behind Guchen and Minger, and my cousin announcing that he's coming along. I try to refuse. Pangate is a freshman faction, and Stormwolves eat freshmen. And Minger, smiling, produces the counter-argument. They're not coming to fight. Guchen has spent 2 weeks refining healing pills, and Pangate will run casualty care. A 5th-rank alchemist on the medical line. Cousin, you absolute treasure. Then a much larger commotion, and Moon Spirit arrives. 20-odd of the Academy's most sought-after female students behind Yun Qi, with Gu Jie at her shoulder giving me a look that could etch glass. Yun Xi's argument is delivered in that mountain spring voice with an edge under it. Ren Gong gave Moon Spirit a discount when Moon Spirit needed one. Moon Spirit pays its debts. Also, and this is Gu Jie's contribution, delivered directly, did you forget your fiancé lives in that faction, or did you simply decide not to tell her? I try, briefly, to explain that I was managing risk. Both women look at me until I stop. Effect on my 100 men of 20 beautiful, high-ranking female students joining the expedition. Immediate, total, and slightly embarrassing. The volunteers for the vanguard triple. Somebody starts a chant. Lei Bao would be proud. Men are men in every species. 150 students, 1/6 of the entire inner academy, march into the deep mountains behind me, and I walk point as the radar because I have the strongest soul perception in this crater by a distance, and there are things out here that eat expeditions. 2 6th-tier auras get routed around, 5 or 6 5th-tier. A Crimson Fire Centipede ambush costs us 4 poison students and 0 deaths because Gu Chen's line clears fire poison in minutes. By noon, we reach the valley, and the wolves come out to meet us, hundreds of them on the slopes, eyes like lanterns in the shade, a dozen at 4th tier. And out of the gourd-shaped inner valley, 3 stories of white fur and blood-red eyes, the Demon Storm Wolf King, 5th tier. It talks, which 5th-tier beasts generally can't, and what it says is the standard territorial speech. Leave now, and I may let you live. Hand over the emerald blue crystal, I tell it, and we'll go. It doesn't take that well. The battle that follows is the biggest thing the Inner Academy has done in living memory, and Rengang holds the line beautifully. Swift shadow boots against wolf speed, guardian armor against wolf claws. Duan Heng and Xian Ren tying up the 2 4th-tier peak alphas. Pangate pulling the wounded out, Moon Spirit anchoring the flanks. My 100 men, 2 weeks ago a merchandising operation, are fighting a wolf pack to a standstill. Then, the Wolf King goes for Gu Jie. It's a deliberate choice. It picks the target that will break morale fastest, and it crosses 40 meters in a blink, claws out, for a 6-star Great Dou Master who cannot survive that. I read the intent 1 second before it moves, and I'm already folding space. The claw comes down and hits the Divine Might Black Lightning Spear, and I'm standing over her with my left arm around her waist and 100 lightning patterns lit up like a city at night. Gu Jie, who in the half-second before I arrived had closed her eyes and thought, she tells me later, and I make her stop talking, that if she died helping me, he'd at least remember her. That was never on the table, wife. I hand her off to Ming Hu with a squad and take the Wolf King myself, and here's the part I'd have paid money for. I fight a Do Wong grade 5th-tier beast hand-to-hand, on purpose, without soul power, without Viper Elder, without the Queen in my sleeve. Fist against claw, over the valley, for 11 minutes, because Lei Gong body great perfection has never been properly road-tested, and I want to know. It knocks me out of the sky twice. I wipe blood off my mouth and laugh both times, because I'm trading blows with something that could break a Do Wong and I'm still here. We finish it as a draw. It's magic whirlwind kill against my 9 heavens lightning cloud split, 2 earth-rank techniques detonating over the valley, a shockwave that flattens the far ridge, and both of us on the ground afterward, spent, staring at each other with a certain grudging professional respect. Then I release the 7-colored sky-swallowing python, 30 feet of tier 5 snake with a queen asleep inside it, and the balance changes permanently. While the python pins the Wolf King, my men cut me a lane and I go into the inner valley alone. The King's Cave is a treasury, magic cores by the drawer, herbs, gear, centuries of hoarding. I ignore all of it because in the corner, growing out of a crack in the rock, is a 7-colored vine that radiates soul attribute Qi, 7-colored ancient vine. The third of the 4 main materials for the Rongling Holy Grail, found by accident in a wolf's basement 2,000 miles from where I started looking, and on a raised platform the size of 3 heads together, humming with the space power that formed it, the emerald blue crystal. I take both. And then Viper Elder says, quietly, that I'm about to leave the actual treasure behind. Because emerald blue crystals form where beings of Dou Zun grade or higher have died. And a crystal that size means either something died here very recently, or something enormous died here a very long time ago and has been leaking space energy into this rock for centuries. I dig for half an hour with the black spear and a jade shard, and I bring up 2 skeletons. One gray-white, one fire-red, both roughly human, both radiating the residue of Dou Zun peak power. 2 monsters who met here, fought here, killed each other here, and have been feeding a crystal ever since, and nobody has ever found them because they were buried under a wolf. Viper Elder's hope, a body for his resurrection, dies quietly. Dou Zun peak isn't enough for a Dou Zun soul, and we both know it, and neither of us says it. But I take them anyway, because in the back of my library there's a craft from my second life called the Spirit Puppet. humanoid weapons forged from the bones of the powerful, tireless, painless, and as strong as what they were made from. 2 Dou Zun peak puppets, someday. I put both skeletons in the ring and go home. The Wolf King concedes the field, rather than fight a Tier 5 python it can't beat, and 150 students walk out of the deep mountains with no dead, none, from an operation against a 5th-tier beast lord, and camp under the stars like an army that's won something. Back at the compound, I dump the Wolf King's entire horde on the hall floor in a heap and tell every member of all 3 factions to take 1 item each. 15 days of fire energy to every Rengang member on top of it. 50% off all our weapons, permanently, to Pangate and Moon Spirit. The noise that goes up nearly takes the roof off, and by morning, the 3 biggest factions in the Inner Academy are effectively 1 block, which is the actual thing I bought today. Xian Ren asked to join Rengang on the spot. That's the 8th and 10th ranks in 1 faction, plus me at 34 and climbing, plus 150 members after the recruitment surge. Rengang is now the single strongest student power in Jia Nan Academy, and it's been 3 months since I walked in the gate as a freshman with no fire energy. Then, 2 quiet items. First, I go into seclusion for 3 days and feed the emerald blue crystal to the flash void piercing sky lightning. It matures. And when I come out, I lift a hand and the air in front of my fingers ripples like water. Spatial power. The thing that only Dou Zun grade beings on this continent can touch, in the hands of a 6-star Dou Ling. Crude, small, mine. Second, the queen wakes up. Devouring Sky Python has been sluggish since the wolf fight, and one evening the snake on my arm goes still, and a voice like cold honey asks whether I really do think of her as a pet. Queen Serpentina unfolds into a woman in purple in the middle of my room and asks after her body. The Grail needs one last material, I tell her. A 6th-tier soul attribute magic core. Everything else is in my ring. Within the year, Your Majesty. She's quiet for a moment. She came to nag and got a schedule, and then she says thank you, which Viper Elder informs me later is roughly the 4th time in 400 years. And that's when a man hammers on my door with the news that will define the rest of my week. Gu Jie has been stopped in the street by Wu Lin, and Ming Hu went to help her, and Lai Mountain put Ming Hu through a wall. Here's the shape of it, delivered breathlessly. Wu Lin is the little sister of Wu Jin, 3rd on the strong ranking, the man they call Domineering Spear, one of the 3 genuine monsters of this academy. She saw Gu Jie wearing a necklace and demanded it. The necklace is a wolf's fang. Gu Jie picked 1 ordinary tooth out of a treasure pile of 5th-tier beast lord surrendered, the cheapest thing in the heap, when she could have had a magic core and sat up all night carving it into a necklace because it was a gift from me. She said no. Wu Lin's escort tried to take it by force. Ming Hu broke his arm for it, and then Wu Zhen himself arrived and put my captain through a wall for the crime of defending my wife's necklace. I open the door and my face apparently does something notable because Queen Serpentina, who has killed more people than this academy has students, tells me later that she felt a chill. Let's go meet Li Mountain. The Inner Academy's arena is the biggest venue in the crater, and by the time Wu Zhen and I walk out onto the central platform, it has stopped being possible to see the ground for people. He's built like the spear he carries, Dou Ling Peak, 1 foot into Dou Wang, from a real family in Zhangzhou where the continent's actual powers live. 3rd ranked for 2 years running. The only students he considers his equals are Ling Ling and the 2nd-ranked Lin Shuya, and he tells me so on the platform, politely, as a courtesy. To survive a 5th-tier Wolf King is an achievement, he says. Don't build a personality on it. I'll take 3rd place as compensation for my man, I tell him. The one you put through a wall over a necklace. Below us, Wu Lin is telling Gu Jie how badly this is going to go for her. Gu Jie, arms folded, says 4 words back, I believe in him, and doesn't look away from the platform once. Up on the terrace, 2nd-ranked Lin Shuya leans on a railing and grins like a man who's been bored for a year. Behind me, Duan Heng and Qian Ren exchange a look and quietly wish Wu Zhen luck. Wu Zhen plants the Lai Mountain Spear, a black shaft of a weapon that he does not draw for ordinary opponents, and gives me the compliment of using it. With your record, he says, you're worth this. Then he tells me to draw my spear, and I say, sorry, I don't need a spear to deal with you. The arena makes a noise. Wu Zhen's face closes like a fist, and he says flatly that I'm insulting him. Then I'll fight you with a different kind of spear, I tell him, and close my eyes. When I open them, silver floods out. I've spent 3 months in this academy carefully never showing anyone my soul power. 5th rank. Dou Wang grade, cultivated with a technique this continent forgot, in the head of a 6-star Dou Ling. And when I let it off the leash in an open arena, the first people to react are the strong-ranking students in the stands, heads snapping around, chairs going over, 100 geniuses standing up at once. Li Hao, 7th ranked, says out loud, what kind of soul power is that? And Lin Shuya, who has not stopped smiling since he arrived, stops smiling. Dou Wang, he says quietly, to nobody. That's a Dou Wang soul. The soul energy coils up over my head, and it doesn't disperse, it condenses, tighter and tighter, into a shaft 10 feet long, black and translucent and freezing, floating point down above me. Soul transformation, spear of the forest. An earth rank soul skill from my second life. And the reason I asked whether he'd like to see a different kind of spear. Senior Wu Zhen, I ask, how do you like my spear? To his eternal credit, he doesn't run. He takes one look at a thing he has no defense against, decides that a man ranked third does not retreat from a freshman, and puts everything he owns into the technique he spent years polishing. Great rock splitter, golden Dou Qi liquefying down the Li mountain spear's length. An attack the watching elders will later describe as brushing the edge of earth rank. It's genuinely magnificent. The golden light fills half the sky. I flick a finger and the Senluo spear goes through it, not around. Through. Soul power doesn't argue with Dou Qi, it eats it, and the golden light comes apart from the inside like fog meeting sunlight, and the spear keeps going, and Wu Zhen takes the remnant across the chest and leaves the platform in a flat line, through the barrier, into the stands. He doesn't get up. The arena is completely silent for about 4 seconds. Then it detonates, because the third rank has changed hands, and the man holding it walked into this academy 3 months ago with no fire energy and a borrowed room. 2 people who aren't cheering. Lin Shuya, second ranked, sitting very still with one hand hidden in his sleeve because it's shaking, doing the arithmetic on whether he could have caught that spear and arriving at no, and quietly concluding that if the freshman wanted second place, or first, the only thing standing in his way is whether he can be bothered. And, in a shadowed corner of the arena, an unremarkable old man in black robes with an aura folded down to nothing. Hong Ming, Grand Elder of the Inner Academy. He watches the whole exchange, and what he says to himself afterward is the sentence I'd have paid to hear. In a straight contest of soul power, I'm not sure I'd beat that boy. The academy has noticed me. Good. It's about to matter. The next 3 days are noise. Ren gang swells to 150, 12 Dou Lings among them, 3 of the top 10 in one faction. Outside these walls, we'd rank as a second-rate power in the Black Corner region on our own. Every student in the crater is talking about the same 30 seconds. And in the middle of it, Ming Hu comes to find me with a message from the Outer Academy. A girl named Gu Lin, who says she's my cousin, has been at the gates for 2 days demanding to see me or Gu Chen. Gu Lin, Wutan City, the clan. We're on the griffins within the hour. Gu Chen and Minger and Gu Jie and me. Elder Su waives the exit requirement when he sees our faces, and we come down at the Outer Academy at dusk and follow Gu Lin to a room where a man is lying on a bed with his skin the color of paper. Second brother, Gu Chen says, in a voice I've never heard from him. Gu Hui, the middle brother of the 3, second in command of the Ren Tia mercenary group, the cousin who once dragged a bullied servant's grandson into an offender's house and made him apologize. I remember it through the original owner's eyes, and it's the reason I like him. He got here on the last of his strength, and what he brought is this. 2 months ago, the Cloud Mist sect found the Gu family in Stone Desert City, and they weren't alone. Gu Hui describes the others, men in black, carrying black chains, Hall of Souls. Hunting my cousin's family for the heirloom they don't know they carry, the Tuosha ancient emperor Jade, sitting in Gu Chen's ring, which he has never once mentioned to anyone because he doesn't know what it is. The Gu family was massacred, not destroyed. Xuan Bai and the middle family got there in time to save what was left, and Gu Jie's mother is alive. Her father lost an arm. Gu Jie makes a sound in the doorway that I'm going to hear for a while. Gu Chen sits down on the edge of his brother's bed and puts his face in his hands for a second, and when he lifts it, there's something in it that wasn't there in Wutan City. My cousin has just learned the same lesson I learned in front of 2 tablets. The world will take your family while you're busy being impressive somewhere else. Gu Hui heals up over 3 days on my cousin's pills and breaks through to Great Dou Master doing it, and then announces he's going to the Black Corner region, not the academy. He wants a place without rules, where a man with a talent for ruthlessness can build something fast, because the family needs an army, and armies don't grow in schools. Gu Chen argues, I don't. Instead, I wait until the morning he leaves, and then I hand him 2 things. The first is a blood-red pill the size of a dragon's eye, with a dark spot in its center, like a small eye looking back. Gu Chen recognizes it instantly and nearly comes out of his chair. A life-devouring pill, grade 7. Great Dou Master to Dou Wang, instantly, at the cost of 3 years of life, and at the end of the 3 years, you die. I lay out the loophole in front of both of them. Reach Dou Jin inside the 3 years, and the effect burns off clean. It's considered impossible. It's considered impossible for people who don't have a 5th-rank alchemist for a brother and a venerable in his ring. And Gu Chen, after a silent conversation with the old man in the ring, nods slowly and says there's a pill that buys 10 more years if it comes to that. Gu Hui licks his lips, looks at his little brother, looks at the pill, and says, the family's on the edge of extinction, and it can't all rest on you 2. Then he swallows it dry. The change is immediate, his aura climbing past Dou Ling and up, that red glint settling into his eyes, something colder standing up inside him. The second thing I give him is a black iron token with a single character on it, Yuan. I built a faction in the Black Corner region, I tell him, Shuchen City. It holds a city, and it's stronger than the Gu family ever was, and this token means the holder speaks with my voice. Take it. Take the deputy command of Tiger Hall, and, I hand him the second pill, give this one to Duan Wei, my hall master, with the same explanation and the same free choice. Gu Hui stares at the token, then at me, and starts laughing, a rough, delighted, slightly unhinged sound. I always said you'd be somebody, he says. I didn't know you'd already be somebody." He walks out of the academy gate that morning without looking back, toward the most lawless region on the continent, with a pill in his blood and my seal in his fist. Yuan Mansion is about to get the general it needs, and my cousin's brother is about to become the second most terrifying thing in Shichen City. Before we go back, we settle the rest of the family. Gu Lin and Gu Feng get a set of swift shadow boots and guardian armor each, and enough of Gu Chen's pills to make next year's inter-academy selection a formality. The old grudges, the duel, the snubs, the marriage schemes don't come up once. Turns out a massacre clears the family's paperwork. We fly back to a crater that's talking about one thing, the strong ranking tournament 3 weeks out. It's the Inter-Academy's great annual bloodletting, the top 50, in the arena, in front of everyone. And the prize isn't glory. The top 10 become elder candidates, and elder candidates get the one thing no student can buy, access to the bottom floor of the sky-burning Qi refining tower, where the fallen heart flame actually lives, and the cultivation speed stops being a discount and becomes a cheat. Everyone in the academy is training. I'm not, because I'm not going to be here for the qualifying rounds, and I know exactly what's coming afterward. Here's what I remember from a book I read on a dorm bed in another life. Shortly after this tournament ends, the top 10 students go down to the bottom floor to break through, and the fallen heart flame chooses that exact moment to make its once-in-a-decade attempt to break the seal. And a man called the Medicine King, Han Feng, 6th rank alchemist, the disciple who murdered his own teacher for a cultivation manual and left the #1 alchemist on this continent a soul in a ring, arrives at the head of a coalition to steal the flame in the chaos. Shenzhou's traitor, my cousin's future nemesis. And, from my perspective, a scheduling conflict, because when that happens, this academy becomes a war zone and the bottom floor becomes inaccessible for a very long time. I have 1 month before the story arrives. I intend to spend it in the room the story is coming for. The bottom floor of the tower is sealed by a spatial lock, a barrier laid down by a Dou Zun of the Academy's founding generation, which even a Dou Zong cannot break without the key. Viper Elder confirms it with something like professional admiration when I bring him down to the 6th floor's quietest corner and show him the folds in the air. Then I take out the flash void piercing sky lightning, matured on a Wolf King's crystal, and I don't break the lock. I fold past it. A door-shaped seam opens in the air. Viper Elder makes a noise I've never heard from him, a mysterious thunder that opens what a Dozong can't, he says, and then, thoughtfully, with that, one day, no Dozong will be able to hold you either. I step through into a cavern the size of a cathedral, empty of students, with a shaft in the center of the floor 100 feet across going straight down into red light. And the moment I sit down at the edge of it, the fallen heart flame tries to kill me. Everything above this was the leakage. This is the source, 20 meters away behind an energy seal, and the heart fire it lights in my chest isn't the polite tempering warmth of floor 6, it's a furnace door opening. My skin blisters, my blood boils in the vessels, meridians twist. Even with a celestial thunder body under construction and Lei Gang body at great perfection, I'm about 90 seconds from being a smear that used to have opinions. I let the vermilion bird out to hold it back, and for one glorious moment, it works. Then the fallen heart flame, ranked 14th, a mid-tier heavenly flame, a genuine monster, takes the presence of a rival personally, and the temperature doubles, and my thunder starts losing ground. This is the thing about my bird. It ate the 10,000 beast spirit fire, which was ranked 22nd and barely more than a beast fire. The fallen heart flame is 8 ranks and several centuries above that, and it is currently pushing my strongest weapon backward inside my own chest. So I bring out the other one. The flash void piercing sky lightning uncoils into my meridians beside the vermilion bird, and space power floods the battlefield inside me, and the fight changes character completely. Because the fallen heart flame has no answer for a thing that folds. Every time the heart fire surges, the space thunder opens a wrinkle, and the surge goes into it and comes out nowhere. Only the top few heavenly flames on the list can burn the void itself. Number 14 isn't one of them. 2 mysterious thunders, working as a pair for the first time in this world, one to grind and one to fold, pincering a heavenly flame inside a 19-year-old's body. It takes a day and a night, and the pain is beyond anything the transformation of a lion or the forging of a body ever cost me. And at some point, I actually pass out mid-fight, which is a thing I did not know was possible. When I open my eyes, the heart fire in my chest has gone quiet. Not extinguished, tamed, docile, circulating through my meridians, tempering my Dou Qi at exactly the rate I want, like a furnace that's decided to accept a foreman. Viper Elder, who has been silently watching a fight he could not have helped with, says one word: alliance. My 2 thunders beat a mid-tier heavenly flame together, and now I own the best cultivation engine on the continent. I break the divine Qi seal all the way open. Everything I've banked since the day the bird ate a fire, a year and a half of stored mysterious thunder energy, the reservoir that took me from great Dou master to here in pieces, comes out at once, and the fallen heart flame refines all of it, and I sit at the edge of the shaft and burn. A month. No food, no sleep, no visitors. The Academy's entire administration is busy with the tournament, and nobody comes down to a floor students can't reach. 7-star Dou Ling. 8-star Dou Ling Peak. And still climbing, with the last of the reservoir pouring through a heavenly flame that used to be my enemy, 1 wall away from Dou Wang, the rank where a cultivator stops drawing on his own strength and starts drawing on the world's. Far above me, in the inner academy's plaza, a bell rings. Grand Elder Hong Ming steps up onto the high platform in front of every student in the crater, and his old voice carries out over the arena, and half the strong ranking drops out of the sky onto the sand. Those ranked above the top enter the arena. The strong ranking tournament has begun. My name is on the list. My seat is empty, and 100 feet under everyone's feet, at the bottom of a sealed floor, with a heavenly flame purring in my chest and a year of banked lightning burning through it, the newly third-ranked student of Jia Nan Academy is one breath away from becoming the youngest Dou Wang this school has ever produced. 2 years ago, I was a sick boy holding 700 gold in a rag, and the strongest man I'd ever seen was a Dou Ling I couldn't have touched. The Medicine King is coming for this flame. Lin Xuan is counting the months on a bounty. The Hall of Souls has my cousin's family in its ledger and my name in the margin. Somewhere in the high peaks, a girl in saintess robes is waiting for a debt to be collected, and somewhere far east, an army that hunts a god-grade bloodline is still marching, still asking questions, still getting closer. Let them all come at once. I've got a tournament to win, a queen to rebuild, a school to defend, and a little sister who's been promised her family back. And then, malign scourge, Ling Hua, I'm coming home to the major 1,000 worlds. Wash your necks. I've picked up a habit from my cousin.